This boy is just a simple peasant boy living a normal life with his parents, but he has no clue that he is about to join the top-tier academy for necromancy and will become one of the greatest necromancers the world has ever seen. Taking it back to where it started, he was just putting in another day of work with his dad and having a deep conversation about the values of life. His dad isn't just the Lord of Leshel, he's also widely recognized as the great master necromancer. In the past, humans used to dominate this world, but after just 10 necromancers wiped out 1,000 soldiers during the war, they pretty much took over the kingdom. On the flip side, you have the priestesses, who are basically the natural enemies of necromancers. The funny thing is that the boy's mom is actually a priestess herself, yet they live peacefully despite being on opposing sides. One night, while he's in his room, a letter suddenly smacks him right in the face. He looks over at the window and sees some random girl breaking into his room. He asks if she's lost, but she replies that she's actually there for him. His parents rush in looking terrified and worried, but it turns out they actually know this girl. His parents reveal that she's the legendary Nephthys Arkbold. Our protagonist, Simon, is totally shocked to hear that, because Nephthys is the one who turned Emperor Talhern into a corpse puppet, and now she's standing there with a proposal to take Simon straight to Kizan City. His dad asks for the letter so he can read it himself, and he confirms that the contents are definitely the real deal. He also mentions that the place is basically the headquarters for necromancers, noting that it's a super long trip with several stops along the way. Simon still had a ton to learn about the art of necromancy, but he didn't need to worry since his dad was there to coach him. The very first step was mastering specific breathing techniques. So Simon spent the next few weeks training hard with his father, constantly infusing mana directly into his body until he could circulate it smoothly, without any issues. A week later, Simon was already on the road heading to the city. During the journey, he kept practicing how to channel his energy, working on materialization using his mana, eventually gaining total control over his manipulation skills. Another week passed before he made his first stop in Langerstein. As he wandered through the city looking for his assigned guide, a random guy suddenly walked up to him, claiming that he was the guide Simon was waiting for and promising to take him right to the address on the list. After walking with the guy for a while, Simon realized this bald dude was definitely trying to scam him. The guy immediately pulled out a knife, demanding that he drop all his belongings on the ground. Simon simply looked at him and said, "I refuse." A man standing behind him said he clearly didn't get the situation and lunged at Simon with his blade ready to strike. Simon calmly dodged the attack without breaking a sweat and immediately grabbed the attacker's hand, squeezing it so hard that the guy ended up writhing on the floor. The rest of the bandits were totally freaked out by Simon's strength. Just then, a woman started walking toward them, asking what exactly was going on there. The thieves wondered what some useless girl thought she was doing, having no idea that she was actually a powerful necromancer. She used her powers to summon skeletons from the ground, completely immobilizing the bandits and warning them that she never wanted to see their faces again. Then she turns around to face Simon and tells him that she is his actual guide. She grabs his arm, saying she'll take him to the meeting spot, and mentions that her mom is waiting for them. A few minutes later, she was scanning the area for her mom until she found Nephthys casually eating ice cream. Simon looks at her in disbelief, realizing Nephthys is actually a mother. Nephthys tells them that she'll be taking them to the new academy. His guide introduces herself as Lorraine Archbold, explaining she's also a Kizan student. Then they headed to the mall to buy all the necessary supplies for their first year. Once they arrived, the first thing on the list was getting all of the textbooks for the academy. Lorraine started grabbing one book after another, leaving him wondering if all that stuff was really necessary for year one. Suddenly, a girl with pink hair walked right in front of Simon and tripped, falling face first into his stack of books. Simon helped her up and asked if she was okay. The girl quickly thanked him for the help. But just as she was about to walk away, Simon asked for his wallet back. She made a face like, "Oh crap," but then immediately looked super excited about the fact that she actually got caught. She tossed the wallet back and left, saying that one day she'd be going to Kizan school too. Lorraine came back saying they were done there for the day. The sky started to get dark, so they enjoyed the city a bit by playing some target shooting games, and afterwards they lit up their sky lanterns and watched the beautiful spectacle of the night city. After such a busy day, she had to leave, or else her mom would yell at her. He thanked her for being such a great guide, and then went back to his place to get some rest. The very next day, he was handing over his boarding pass for the trip to Kizan City. That's when he started hearing a commotion going on between two travelers nearby. Just as the bully was about to throw a punch, Simon grabbed his arm mid-air and told him to cut it out. The bully told him to go to hell, so Simon just squeezed his arm tighter, making the guy scream out in pain. While Simon was still holding onto the bully, Professor Seelig asked what was going on. Simon explained the situation to him, and the professor simply snapped his fingers, making the bully vanish like magic. The professor told everyone not to worry and that he was fine. Everyone boarded the vessel to head to Kizan City. The professor then used a spell that created a red dome around the entire ship. When the boat weighed anchor, the sea started getting rough, until a giant whale suddenly burst out of the water, swallowed the ship whole, and dove back down to the bottom of the ocean. Even the undead sea creatures follow the necromancer's orders. Gotta respect that? The crew knows their stuff. All the students are still super confused, trying to figure out if they're really inside a giant whale. This happens at least once a year, when the students head to Kazan to kick off their new adventure, and this mode of transport is just wild. Even though they're in a whale's belly, it's pretty chill, like a city. A random extra with glasses starts hyping up our hero, saying he was epic in that situation. Though it's kinda awkward for everyone, the extra says Simon had the guts to do what everyone wanted, plus he's super humble. The name of this poor guy who can't read a medicine leaflet is Rowan, and he's gonna be a new student too. Trying to chat, Rowan asks what kind of entrance exam our boy took. Since the extra had to shape darkness to get in, our hero knows he did zilch. He just got a letter from Nephthys, that's it. Thinking spilling the truth might be unfair, he says he did the same as the extra, shaping darkness. A sound alert tells all the students to get back to the ship as they're almost there. Everyone thinks the trip was super quick. Simon's heading back with his new buddy when he spots something odd. The water outside's getting more and more wild. At the front of the ship, the old man's watching everything, using his dark magic to keep everyone safe. Another alert goes off. The ship's gonna hit some turbulence, so everyone needs to sit down. The poor extra with glasses probably wrecked his undies. He's so scared. Things get so wild it feels like the boat's gonna flip. Inside, it's clear safety's not a big deal. Everyone's gotta stay seated, but no seatbelts. It's every person for themselves. Their only option is to brace for the impact that's coming. A flash of light happens and our boy's super impressed. After that quick underwater trip, they finally see the outside again. Simon's totally amazed by this. He even calls the glasses-wearing dude to check it out too, ignoring that the poor guy's almost fainting. Finally, the old dude decided to snap his fingers, using his epic grandpa energy to steer the ship right. But boom, it crashed into the beach, like hard, so the not-so-smooth journey ends, and the students roll into Kazan, supposedly safe and sound. Instructors are all set, telling everyone to line up for their uniforms. Boys' dorm on the right, girls on the left, no time to waste. They gotta change and meet up in 5 minutes. No slacking. Simon throws on his uniform, remembering his dad saying it was super cool. He heard whispers about the jacket having a battle spell, stronger than armor, no cap. The students gather again, and surprise, surprise, the girl's uniform is just elegant. Our main guy realizes his hand's gonna be busy, if you catch the drift. Then, Mr. Glasses shows up, saying our boy looks dapper in his manly uniform. Like they've been bros forever, he says their dream of joining this academy is finally real. But with so many in uniform, Simon wonders if they're all newbies too. His new buddy says there are 1,000 first years, all fresh meat. By second year, it's down to 300, and only 150 make it to third year. Only the top 30% move up. The competition's savage. Mr. Glasses mentions some students already shining. There's Cern, the typical blonde, heir to the ivory tower, and all the other big shots are here too. Then someone catches our boy's eye. A big dude, half giant, because I'm not fat, I'm half giant. Mr. Glasses also points out the year's star, a stunning girl with dark hair. No shocker, it's Lorena, in on special terms being Nephthys' kid. Everyone knows she'll be the top student this year. A prof steps up, asking for attention to kick off the enrollment ceremony. He congratulates them for getting into this crazy place. Expecting the best, he warns about the forest, then introduces the professors. All are famous necromancers. Mr. Glasses only saw them in mags, and he's hyped. First up is Professor Bayhill, who seems to enjoy flirting with students. Our hero notices his parents' friend, Nephthys, isn't there. But Mr. Glasses says she's too important for the freshman gig. Maybe they'll see her by year 3. Now the student rep will make a vow, and everyone stands. Mr. Glasses says the top-ranked boy and girl will do it. Our boy wonders who'll be called. First up is Cern, the typical blonde, and the boy rep is none other than our main guy. He can't believe it, needs a second call to snap out of it. Simon and Mr. Glasses are shook. No one saw this coming. This choice leaves everyone stunned. No one knows our boy. Now he's in the spotlight, trying not to freak out. Just gotta read the vow. With the typical girl, he does the formality. Tie all crooked, go figure. After the big deal, Simon's a bit anxious. Everyone's buzzing about him. First day at the academy, and he's already in the thick of it. Checking the freshman manual, he dives into summoning, his dad's fave trick. If he nails it, he could be as clutch as his dad for the territory. Epic stuff. Class is finally kicking off. People think necromancers gotta be all dark, rock-loving, and edgy, but that's old news. The new ones are smart, practical, stylish, and trendy. This new wave of summoners is led by Professor Bayhill. He's pretty young for the gig he holds, at just over 20. Years old, this dude's already the big cheese of the Raven squad, and yeah, he's super popular with the students. No surprise there. Now he's stepping up to the plate, ready to teach a subject that's got everyone buzzing. The students are hyped to have him around, like he's a rock star or something. Knowing it's the first day of class, Bayhill's all about the intros, so everyone can vibe and get to know each other. He calls on Vittoria, who's all, "It's an honor to be in your class." But the prof's like, "Nah girl, introduce yourself to your classmates, not me." So she gives it another go, no biggie. Then it's the main character's turn, and suddenly, all eyes are on them, even Hector's. The prof's digging the intro vibes, and once that's done, it's time to dive into the basics. He kicks off with a big question for everyone. Wants to know what's up with Katarogia, and honestly, what even is that? Sounds made up. Apparently it's about curses, and the prof's curious if anyone's got the 411 on that. Vittoria jumps in, explaining a curse weakens the enemy while keeping the caster strong. The prof's into it, but not everyone gets that curses aren't just about weakening foes. So he starts asking for some real-life examples. Picture this. 2 knights, same skill level, duking it out, waiting for the other to slip up. The fight drags on, neither backing down, until one knight's all roar, with a look like he's had too much caffeine. The other knight freaks out, creating a chance to strike. Once hit, his moves are off, and the fight's no longer a tie. Injuring a leg, tossing sand in the eyes, helmet wax to distract, the battle heats up until finally, one's down for the count, head rolling away. Bahil asks if they get the logic, even in the wildest brawls. A series of moves to weaken the enemy leads to victory. It's all about baby steps. Now he's going to show them how modern necromancers roll. Drawing a stick figure on the board. Just one move is all it takes, and boom, victory's theirs. Curses are like the fast food of black magic, quick and easy. A tiny effort can totally shake the opponent. After this, the prof heads to a front row student. The kid's all, wait, what? But then sees a big red magic circle. That's enough to knock him out of the game, and the prof whips out a knife he had stashed, showing the class how necromancers do their thing. Everyone's mind blown, thinking curses are the coolest. Bringing the kid back to normal, Bahil's not sure what they'll focus on, but bets most will stick with him next semester. Our main character's definitely pumped. Bahil's all about them finding their own groove while cursing enemies. It's the easiest path to victory. He reckons curses are the heart of modern combat. Why? 'Cause priests are a thing, and curses are the best way to beat them. After this, the prof's got another question for the class. While they can curse, priests can bless. One weakens, the other strengthens. So he asks why curses trump blessings, and Vittoria's ready to answer again. Curses are quicker to cast and can stack up. The prof digs her take but says it's not quite right. Truth is, curses are slower, 'cause they gotta break through resistance. Scanning the room, the prof asks if anyone else wants a shot. Hector steps up, saying no one trains while weak. Bahil's so into this answer, he asks for Hector's name, not wanting to forget him. Hector's stoked. Turns out he's spot on. Curses are useless with enough training. Alright, buckle up, 'cause this is about to get wild. So these guys are training under super chill conditions, but their skills totally depend on how they're feeling and where they're fighting. Humans are kinda sensitive, you know? Even tiny changes can mess up their game. So, no need to go all medieval and chop off an archer's arm to win. Just give them pink eye, make them feel queasy, mess with their depth perception, or distract them with something shiny. Easy peasy, right? These tricks can totally save a student from getting skewered by an arrow. And necromancers? They've got a whole bag of tricks to mess with the enemy. They just gotta think outside the box. When they're tired or hurting, they don't train for curses, they just Netflix and chill. So instead of bulking up, they should focus on weakening others. Then, some assistants roll into the classroom. Time to learn about curses. Simon didn't think they'd dive right into the action. The gear's already on his desk, along with a tiny plant. Since this is the top-notch academy, our hero's gotta bring his A-game. The prof says the gear will help them get the hang of it, but since they're all geniuses, they shouldn't rely on it. They're practicing the exhaustion spell. Everyone's gotta hold the device and channel darkness into the mold. It's all about focus, 'cause the magic's success hinges on the main rune. Runes are like magical cheat codes. They unlock all the effects. Once the magic circle's complete, it's time to float it in the air. Our dude does it super carefully. His circle's floating, and he's stoked. But then he sees other students with way cooler circles. Soon, his circle goes all wonky. The prof says it's 'cause the darkness wasn't refined enough, making the circle weak. For those who nailed it, it's time for the real deal. The plant's the target. Poor plants, right? If they change, the curse worked. Some students are hyped 'cause they nailed it. But our hero? Struggling with the magic circle. The prof notices the skill gap. Those who aced it gotta do it again, faster, without the device. But our guy? Nada. Feels like he's the only one flopping. Then he remembers Lorena's comment about his darkness looking too much like mana. That's why it's all gassy. He needs to get a grip on his core. So, he's going back to basics. If the darkness isn't refined, no magic circle. Simon's absorbing more energy, sending it to his core. Now it's solid. Time for round 2. His magic circle's on point. Time to make the plant suffer. The curse works, and the plant changes. Our hero's pumped. Finally nailed it. But Hector notices something different. Class wraps up. They've practiced enough. The prof suggests those who struggled should practice or hit the dorms. Those who aced it will test it out. Bahil mentions the special admission student in class. Calls our hero to the front. Thinking about the next part, he wants a worthy opponent for our guy. Picks Hector, who's got good grades. With everyone ready, it's rule time. Only the exhaustion curse allowed. Whoever hits the ground first, loses. Hector tells the teacher he's going device-free. Bahil's impressed. Despite his rugged look, our hero thinks Hector's gotta be super smart and dedicated. But the teacher totally knows the student ditched the device 'cause he made a big deal about it in class, saying they shouldn't rely on it. Hector's just trying to show off for the teacher. When it was our main dude's turn, he was all in for using the device. Bahil's throwing some serious shade at our guy's skills. Finally, they're all set, and the teacher's like, "Good luck, kiddos." the young ones are hyped and ready. Finally, the signal's given and the battle's on. Our hero's chill, crafting his magic circle, making sure not to mess up. Midway, he felt something super weird in his body. Hector's already done with his circle, throwing curses at our guy. He's crazy fast without the device, and his curse game is strong. Our dude's feeling wiped out, finally getting what the teacher meant. Simon looks stressed, struggling to finish his magic circle. Under the curse, his circle's all wonky. If he uses it like that, the curse won't work, so he's giving it another go. But Hector's curse is hitting harder, almost knocking him down. Hector's just spamming curses like it's a video game. He's stacked his score 5 times, and the other students are getting nervous. Plus, the top candidate's looking like a flop, can't even make a circle in battle. Hector's telling him to give up, saying it's painful to watch. Our guy's silent, but Hector's ready to make him embarrass himself. Simon's fighting the urge to have a public wardrobe malfunction. The teacher's watching everything closely. Hector's got mad skills and the mindset of a top student, but our hero's just seen as a nobody. The teacher's puzzled why Nephthys picked this guy as number 1. The 4 chosen that year were supposed to be prodigies, especially the top pick. All Nephthys's choices have been legends, but the teacher sees nothing special in this kid. What stands out is the boy's stamina. Most would have hit the floor by now, but he's still up after 9 curses. He's clutching the device, standing when he shouldn't be able to. Pure determination. But if his talent's just physical, there's not much hope. Still pondering, the teacher spots something cool happening. Our hero finally nails a decent magic circle. He flips the curse back at Hector, catching him off guard, and the teacher notices something even more epic, which makes our hero super stoked. Hector's already down, feeling the pressure, can't even keep it together, but he doesn't want to be the guy who lost after 9 curses. With all his pride, he attacks our hero again. The device drops with our guy, ending the showdown. Hector's declared the winner. While the students cheer, the teacher praises them for a great match. Student brawls are probably the teacher's highlight. Finally, he wraps up the class for the day. A student from the chapter wants to ask questions, but the teacher tells her to wait. Says she can hit him up in his office later for answers. He doesn't want to waste time with a brown-noser now. The teacher's thinking about our hero. He noticed something cool about that curse. Way stronger than the 10 he got hit with. It was a perfect move. Bahel's now hopeful about this young talent. No matter what, he wants the hero to master curses and be his student forever, no matter what anyone says. Bahel's set on it. After class, our hero's totally wiped. The academy's pace is intense, but a side character says it's cause he's a special admission student. In this academy, competition's fierce, not just among students but teachers too. Those who slack get booted mid-semester or face pay cuts without warning, but those who crush it gain major influence. All the teachers are on a mission to snag the best students, and our boy is the hot ticket everyone wants. Him and that girl who's also getting all the buzz. Her name's Malin, and she's top tier, so if our dude goes head-to-head with her, he'll get a real taste of his own skills. Turns out, our boy already sparred with her and took an L, leaving the teachers scratching their heads because he was supposed to be the next big thing. Simon gave a nod to the background dude for the info dump. Then he finally asked who he was, and the background dude got all salty because they all did intros in Professor Bahill's class, and his name's Dick. Oh, and our main guy is the talk of the school. Everyone's buzzing about him. They're on lunch break and our dude looks wiped out. Simon said it's all because of the duel he had to throw down. But honestly, he thought it was a blast, which left Dick all kinds of shocked. Even though it was a bit wild, the class was super fun. All of them have been a ride so far. Dick doesn't get why our boy's so hyped. They're not there to party. And Hector's already making waves. He's got students rallying around him to build up his rep. Plus, he's the eldest son of some big shot family, super popular with the nobles. Our guy's not into that scene. Dick told him to at least keep an eye on things because politics are a big deal here. If Hector takes over, anyone not in his good books is gonna struggle to find a squad. Simon noticed this background dude knows his politics, so he asked why Dick's hanging with him and not Hector. Dick said he's just a regular kid from a merchant family. Simon thought that was weird since he heard everyone's supposed to be equal here. But Dick said some nobles still love to show off, and our guy said he's not about that life, which got Dick interested. That's why he asked our MC to team up with him. Even though our guy lost that fight, Dick thinks Simon's got the top spot for a reason. Students with private tutors seem ahead now, but it'll all even out. He's convinced our guy's got some hidden talents waiting to pop off. Simon was shook hearing all that. He's clueless about these cliques his buddy's on about. But he's down with the idea of being friends. Dick was super impressed with that offer. It's a rare word to hear in this academy, and he got all emotional. Still, he's got to jump on this chance. It'd be awesome if they could be more chill with each other. Now they gotta hustle to the next class. Simon asked what's up next. To his excitement, they're diving into the art of summoning. Finally, he'll get the lowdown on the tricks his dad uses to boss around skeletons. And that's boosting his student spirit big time. Walking into class, he instantly grabs the attention of other background characters, who think he's a total fake. Some are doubting he's got any real talent. Hector, though, is keeping it cool because only he knows he almost lost his cool in that duel. Dick told our guy to ignore the gossip because it's coming from background characters craving attention from the story's illustrator but aren't worth it. Simon's all pumped for the start of class. Dick found his hype kinda odd. While they're chatting, someone else starts heading to the classroom. The students are guessing if that dude's the teacher because he looks kinda lost. He's got too basic a look to be a teacher here. Introducing himself, Aaron said he's going to teach them the art of summoning, the core of all necromancers. Their roots aren't exactly noble, starting with wizards who raided graves. They've probably heard all sorts of tales about summoning, that it's tough or doesn't get the love it deserves, about the biases the students are carrying. The teacher confirmed most of them are true, leaving our guy surprised. He's getting the vibe that this teacher might not be into the subject. Aaron said the stuff they've learned so far is probably more exciting than this, but he's here to break down the pros and cons so they can make their own calls. He's kicking off with the downsides of the subject, revealing it's super pricey. If they think of a number, it better be tiny. Studying it costs more than any other subject, no cap. And raw material is a must for learning. They can't just off people, so they gotta buy bodies. Sometimes they drop more cash on materials than on the reward for the gig. If someone wants to go pro in this, they should forget about getting rich. Another downside is they rely heavily on creatures, since they battle with them. Without the creatures, a summoned being's power is basically toast. Most summoners now recycle the bodies they use, but they're pricey, so imagine what happens when they get wrecked. The summoned's strategy is toast along with their gear, leaving them benched, just watching the chaos. The last downside is the biggest deal. Summoned beings are weak sauce against priests. And cutting to the chase, it's not useful for the current war vibes. The only time summoners can flex their full power is during epic conflicts, cause there's loads of materials to use. During peace times, with tiny skirmishes, things get tricky. That's why curses and spirit control are getting all the hype. Summonings are weak against priests. One spell can wipe out a whole army, which is super costly. Mid-explanation, Vittoria raised her hand. She's got a burning question. The girl is hyped to know the perks of those techniques, but the teacher wasn't thrilled about the interruption, saying he hadn't given the green light for questions yet. But answering her, they have numbers, tons of tactics, and creature backup. Our boy wanted the deets on the perks. The teacher said it's up to the students to pick that subject or not, but they gotta remember one thing. They shouldn't stick around if they can't handle it. And if they plan to whine to the teacher in year 2 that the subject got too pricey, they really shouldn't think about being his students, cause that's a loser move. If they want to join this class cause it's easier, with less competition, the teacher knows exactly what to do with them. Just then, some monitors rolled in, noticing the teachers giving that speech again. The conclusion, about what he'll do with students wanting an easy ride with little competition, they'll get personally booted by him. What they just got now are bones from the island of the Ratmen. Our protagonist started checking out those specimens. They look humanish, but way cheaper. Summoners usually kick off with those creatures, showing his students how they look when built. For real, dude, the illustrator made the rat's ear look like bone. It's cartilage, my dude. It's time for them to prove they're here to learn. The skull was already put together to make life easier. It's kinda weird handling the bones, but they're all clean. Under the skull is where they should place the magic circle. Our protagonist already found this part. As soon as the magic circle's done, something's gonna happen, and the teacher didn't even need to say, cause a bunch of his students started freaking out. He was about to tell the newbies to chill, cause the undead will start moving, but he kinda delayed that tiny simple heads up. Our protagonist is trying to control that little creature. Dick asked our boy if he's got experience with that, and he said he's seen quite a bit. Aaron told the students to get used to it, cause they're gonna be necromancers. For the skeleton to move, it needs a body, and its summoner needs to know this structure well. In the human body, there are 206 bones, but that rat man has only 53, which is way easier. In this scene, the author went overboard. The rat man obviously doesn't have just 53 bones. Now they need to find the second vertebra and connect it with the skull. The bones auto-connect. It's their thing to snap back to their original form. If they do it in order, it's a breeze. Some students gotta really focus on this bone puzzle. And the teacher told them not to mess up the assembly, cause the spine's a big deal. The student who's always asking questions seems to be nailing it. The teacher said if the skeleton's put together wrong, it won't move well. This can make them break at a crucial moment. Hector already got his creature assembled. So, there's this girl with blue hair who just joined the squad. But some students are struggling, so the teacher's checking them out. Our main dude finally built his first creature, powered by darkness, no less. He's admiring his little rat dude. Dick's stressing cause his skeleton's all jumbled up. Our guy spots a shoulder joint mess up, so he jumps in to help his buddy fix it. Teacher's like, time's up folks, let's see what you got. As always, he picks our main dude who's so over it. Now he's gotta pick someone else. Shocker, he picks Hector to join in. They've got 10 minutes left in class. The challenge? Assemble the skeleton to grab the necklace. Winner takes all. No touching or magic allowed, just the summoned creature. Both teams are ready to roll. Finally, the teacher kicks off the task. Simon's feeling super confident. He starts piecing the bones together with focus, but then he spots something weird. One of the monitors is erasing the board. Cause no extra info allowed for this task. Our main dude remembers the bones are numbered, but his set? Totally blank. Teacher explains practice models have numbers, but market ones don't. Aaron warned them this path's a tough one. A real necromancer's gotta handle life's curveballs. Hector's chill, assembling his skeleton, while our main dude's getting jittery, thinking he can nail most of it. First piece? The vertebra meets the skull. Teacher's watching like a hawk. Notices this kid's never built a skeleton before. Meanwhile, the kid who's been on protein shakes since birth has it memorized. Relying on pure memory and smarts, probably took a prep course. Now the special admission kid's about to lose it, making the teacher wonder if he prepped at all. Aaron thinks Hector's the only one with real talent. Finally, the first skeleton's moving. Hector's almost done, sure he's gonna win, determined to crush our main dude so they never compete again. Wants to make him a laughingstock, like chill dude, you don't even know him. Hector's ready to wipe the floor with our guy's pride. His Ratman skeleton's combat ready, taking steps towards the prize, grabs the necklace, closing in on victory. He's got 5 minutes to hold on to it, or he wins. All this just amps up our main dude's anxiety. Simon knows his classmates took prep courses, so he's kinda accepted he might not win. Maybe he won't use what he learned today, so he trusts his gut, dismantling his skeleton. He's gonna rebuild it his way. Some classmates think it's weird, like he's given up. Everyone's saying he's got no talent. It's wild he's the top student this year. Simon knows he needs that necklace. It's not about the perfect skeleton, so he simplifies his summoning structure, tweaks it with the script's help. Teacher's shocked by this wild move, then sees the craziest thing ever. It's the bone structure of a gray rat, the species humans evolved from. Our dude nailed it in his own way. Teacher's blown away by this raw genius. A student without prep did something epic, using his own experiences to solve this big puzzle. Some students start cheering for him, others are still trying to wrap their heads around it. Turns out, the format doesn't matter, our guy just needed to stall. Hector's not happy, losing the spotlight. He can't figure out what just went down in class. Now, the extras are totally hyped for the main character. The epic showdown between the summons went down, but our hero's skeleton got wrecked. Hector's all smug, thinking he's got this in the bag. But then, boom, our hero's grinning like he knows something we don't. Turns out his little skeleton's got some serious brain power. It clung onto that necklace like a pro, and bam, snatched the jewel right off Hector's skeleton's neck. The whole battle just flipped on its head. All the students are like, whoa, did you see that? Nobody can figure out how our hero pulled off that necklace heist. Hector's whining, saying it was totally unfair, like, dude, that's not how it works. He thinks they should have taken the necklace with the whole skeleton, not just a piece, just a guy. But our hero's like, chill Hector, you're jumping the gun. He spills the beans that his epic plan isn't even done yet. With just a flick of his fingers, something wild happens. The creature our hero summoned morphs back, rocking the necklace. Now our hero's feeling like a champ, and Hector's so mad, his face is a tomato. Bet his hemorrhoids having a meltdown. Finally, the prof's about to announce the duel's winner. And boom, our hero takes the crown. Simon scoops up his little creature creation, ready to party. Some professors are huddled up, chatting about how this year's students are loaded with potential. The Ivory Tower's next big thing is definitely gonna shine. Even that half-giant's making waves among the regulars. In the first days, profs can't snag students for their classes. Someone's curious about Bahil's take on this year's students, especially our hero. But since he lost a class competition, he's not convinced the kids all that. He admits the kids got mad resilience, tanking a ton of curses that day. Professor Aaron joins the convo. Bahil knows he taught that day too. Everyone's buzzing about our hero, waiting for Aaron's 2 cents. Bahil's all ears for what's coming. Aaron cuts to the chase, calling the kid average, but with a twist of creativity. The top student of the year? Nothing to write home about. Bahil catches on quick. Aaron's downplaying to keep the competition away from our hero. And if Aaron's pulling this, he's definitely interested in the kid. Bahil's known this quirky dude forever, so he knows Aaron's comment is a big thumbs up. Chosen by Nafit and now catching the lazy oddball's eye. Bahil's itching to get our hero on his team, so he asks his fellow prof if he's sticking to last year's vow, since he swore off personal mentoring. Aaron's onto the game, but before he can answer, Nefit swoops in. Everyone's on their feet, showing respect. Bahil greets her right, pulling a popsicle from his stash. Nefit snags it like a ninja, but reminds him she's no kid. She knows he's got the knack for impressing her. Another prof's already set up her chair. Now Nefit's curious about their thoughts on this year's students. From the extra profs, she hears the usual, the year's packed with talent, and they're pumped to start recruiting the newbies. Nefit's digging the feedback, and since it's day one, she lets the profs clock out early, but the quirky prof wants a private chat with her. Everyone's taken aback, but Nefit's game. She's curious about what he's got to say. Bahil's watching closely, knowing his rival's diving right in, as usual, but he knows the director won't spill the beans easily. Meanwhile, the students are tackling a new challenge. They showed up late to the dorms, now they're on a room hunt. The dorm secretary says all the 2 bedrooms are gone. Same story on the other floors. Simon's like, let's scope out the other floors, just in case. The secretary offers to tag along, ready to help him out if needed. As she strolled along, this super rude kid just crashed into her, telling her to move it. He's so full of himself, can't even say sorry, claiming a mere secretary shouldn't be in his way, or she might break his stuff. She's trying to apologize, but this dude just keeps being a total jerk, until someone finally steps in to sort things out. Simon asked if that extra could see she was busy, chatting with him. Dick jumped in to back up our hero, saying he saw the whole thing. But this student doesn't bother with regular folks, thinking being noble makes him all that. However, his sidekick soon recognized our hero, the top student who got in under special circumstances. That was enough to spook those silly extras, who backed off real quick. The secretary thanked our hero for the assist. Now they can get back to room hunting in this place. They found a room with 2 beds on the 4th floor. It's got a sweet view, and it's near the main hallway. But the secretary needs to check if anyone's inside. She found rooms with single beds, close together, and asked if that'd work for our hero. Our MC is down to chat with his new mates to see if they want to share a room, but the secretary's got a message to deliver. One of those students is named Kajun, and he's been here since last year. Even though it's the first-year students building, the poor dude flunked, and now he's giving it another go. Since the secretary only handles this building, she just knows the gossip, and heard that many don't want to be near this guy. Dick thinks they should keep hunting for a better room, but our hero decided it'd be cool to meet this new character. Without any fuss, he swung open the door to that room. Simon's already saying sorry for waking his mate, who seems to be snoozing. He said he'd like to crash in that room too, and wants to know if it's cool for the old resident to share a roof with them. The room's resident seems pretty unique, and he realized they're new students. Only then did he remember the enrollment ceremony was today. Time flies, right? Surprisingly, the tough-looking dude was super chill, saying they don't need to be so formal, as he's also in the first year, saying they should just call him Kajan, no biggie. He also dropped some advice for the newbies, even though he doesn't know how long they'll stick around. First, don't get mixed up in his stuff, and second, don't make a racket before he crashes, but once he's out, they can party all they want. After dropping the wisdom, Kajan wrapped himself back in his blanket to keep snoozing, totally ignoring the 2 newcomers. Simon told the secretary he'd stay in that room while she asked if he was cool with it, but our hero doesn't think this gray-haired dude's a jerk. Even so, if he has issues, he just needs to hit up the building's office. Dick's still wary of that other guy, but our hero said they were told to do anything, as long as he's asleep. While they're hauling their stuff to the room, Dick decided to drop all the books on the floor, giving our hero a mini heart attack with the noise. Turns out, the gray-haired dude wasn't lying about his advice. He's still snoozing. Maybe he's not a bad guy, as long as they stick to his quirky rules. Dick said they should hit the bathhouse on the lower floor for a soak. Our hero totally loved it. The hot water's super chill. Dick found that excitement kinda weird and asked if our hero's some mountain dude. And yep, he is. Even so, he was told not to get too hyped about the bathroom buttons, or other students might start rumors about him. The country kid, being the top student, already gets enough attention. Some think he's a fake, so he doesn't need more spotlight. All in all, being at this academy is awesome. Everything depends on their performance, which is key to staying here. Dick said they're still in a safe zone, but soon, half the freshmen will vanish. After this phase, they start getting graded constantly, and are also approached by teachers, who can kick students out with full authority. During this time, they can't do that. And there are other rules too, but Dick's brain is like a sieve, and he totally messed up on day 1. When the testing period wraps up, people get the boot daily, either for breaking rules or just not having the skills. For those who survive the first year, landing a job is a breeze. And if he graduates from this academy, he's basically set to be a big shot, almost guaranteed. The only thing they can't do is join the royal fam, but hey, nothing's stopping our dude from charming a princess from a smaller kingdom. Simon asked if his buddy wants to be a noble. Dick knows there are perks, but it's not on his bucket list. What he really wants, being from a merchant fam, is to stack that cash. That's why he's gonna be super busy from now on. If our main guy ever needs cash, he just needs to hit him up, and while they're chatting, a trapdoor pops open, launching a suitcase into the air. Dick freaked out, but it's just the protagonist's stash. It's a rat skeleton kit. Since our dude skipped prep courses, he snagged one just in case. Dick's amazed the protagonist wants to study now, after such a packed day, but our guy doesn't want to forget what he learned. Seeing Simon's interest, Dick asked if he's gonna build it right now, but the protagonist said he's going with his gut. He started piecing it together, bringing to life a little 4-legged rat, just like in class. Simon said he can make it better. Took longer this time, and one leg's looking wonky. Holding the rat's head, our protagonist apologized to the little critter, taking it apart completely with some serious force. Dick, shocked, asked what was up, since the rat seemed pretty well put together. Simon's recalling the teacher's tips. Some skeletons like to keep their OG form. The fancy term for this is restorative force, also known as the attraction field. Simon's super focused, thinking about these lessons. All he needs is to remember the right order. Putting those pieces together shouldn't be hard. This time he just used the restoration command. No touching the bones. Something zoomed past Dick's face. It's the creature putting itself back together. Dick's blown away by what's happening. The skeleton's back in action. Feeling sleepy, Dick asked how the protagonist pulled that off without prep. But he knows he needs to crash. He's wiped, so he asked what Simon's up to now. Our dude said he wants to practice more. Hearing this, Dick said he's hitting the hay. He also learned from the protagonist that tomorrow's first class is about darkness dynamics. While Simon fiddles with the rat's head, its eyes lose the red glow, turning blue. Now that he can practice more, Simon wants to follow the diagram. He needs to tweak the knee joint so the creature can walk on 2 legs. But that's not exactly easy. Our guy's jotting down notes on all his tries. The assembly formula is something every necromancer needs to nail in their career. Lots of trial and error involved. Exactly what the protagonist's doing now. Every task has a purpose, and he's doing that assembly over and over, realizing past generations were seriously awesome. This time he switched up some bone positions. Noticing the creature got uncomfortable, so he's gonna revert. But our dude's pumped about the progress he's making. knowing he should dig deeper into the topic, instantly thinking of the skeletons his dad summoned to help people, or the ones Lorena used to stop bandits. Simon still doesn't know what's missing. That's why he's hyped for the next class on that topic. The next morning, the teacher said darkness is the core of every necromancer. He's Professor Eric. He's breaking down how this energy is key to dark magic, teaching the basics. Everything kicks off with the language of runes, which packs power, coming from the eternal flame. At first, no one asked why that fire never went out. This was because those who asked got treated like heretics, until one day they noticed the ashes from that flame made symbols, looking like letters. Finally, they uncovered the miracle behind it. This is the academic scoop on how runes came to be. The mages eventually polished this knowledge to what it is today. The professor sketched 2 magic circles on the board. One can be turned on, the other can't. He's breaking down how the runes do their thing. With the correction gadget, students can handle the dark like pros. Finally, that snooze fest of a class wrapped up. But he still had the nerve to give homework to imaginary people. They gotta ace that magic circle, figuring out how to tweak the formula behind it. Plus, he's picking 3 students for a hands-on demo next class. Dick, after that class, is wiped out, struggling to remember the formulas and wondering why he even needs to nail the basics. Simon admitted he didn't get half the class, but he vibed with the way the prof explained stuff. Dick remembered our dude is still wowed by the dorm bathroom. Now they're off to the next class, magical combat, happening outside. The students are hanging around for the prof until someone spots something coming. Dust is flying everywhere, and they all feel a rumble. A herd of hippos is charging at the students. Now surrounded by these beasts, the prof finally says hi. He's the bald prof, riding one of these beasts, and told the students to hop on too. Dick told our main guy that the bald dude's a big deal at the academy, always camping around the mountain. Some students are too scared to climb on these beasts, but some think they're too fancy and demand a carpet to get on. The bald prof realized he's got a problem, so he took a huge leap into the air, landing right on that snobby student's back. Even then, the young noble keeps being a jerk, saying the prof's just a servant. This just made the bald dude mad. These new students have zero chill. He started calling him out in front of everyone. After getting schooled, the young noble said sorry for being a fool. Dick told our main guy he's a rare nice noble. Most are jerks like that dude. The bald prof said they're running late, so his class needs to hop on the hippos now. Since the beasts are strong, they can carry up to 3 students. Climbing on was tough. Dick almost didn't make it. A girl is also trying to get on their hippo. The main guy reached out to her, asking if she needed a hand. The girl thanked him for the help, getting pulled up like she weighed nothing. With everyone set, the bald dude told them to hang on tight. It's time for the herd to roll out. The beasts are way faster than the students thought. While the girl thanks Simon for the help, her hair ends up in his face. Some students are freaking out, almost falling off these beasts. The prof said willpower's part of the training, they gotta try not to fall. 'Cause if they do, they'd get stomped by the herd and definitely not make it. This usually happens twice a year, and it's a pain for everyone. Still, the herd keeps going, stressing out all the students. After that wild ride, all the students are stressed out. Some can't even get up from the ground. Simon decided to take a water break. The girl he just met is amazed by something. She got distracted by the flying creatures, but turns out that's the prof's backyard. A super buff woman showed up. The buff woman will teach combat magic to these students. Flashback time, a giant multi-headed creature wrecked everything. It's undead. This buff prof is a legend. She snapped all 100 necks of that creature to win. She's Hong Peng. Now she asked the class to stand up. Still no clue what happened to the bald dude. The students are still super confused. Finally, the bald dude showed up, saying the class should form 4 lines fast. While the students try to get in line, Simon's trying to figure out where everyone's headed. The prof started running ahead of them. All the students had to follow her. The basics of combat magic is being fit. Simon is blown away by the buff teacher, who runs like it's nothing. Even though they have bodies too, the teachers here are on another level. The buff one said it helps boost the darkness in their bodies so they can learn combat moves with their bodies. Necromancers who use combat magic are called battle necromancers. When they hit a certain level of training, like Mr. Baldy over there, darkness just flows out of them like a silky ninja cape. They can even turn it into clothes, calling it a black mantle, which sounds super cool. It's their special thing, and now they're heading into the forest, with the teacher warning them to watch out for those sneaky trees. Dick's all jealous of the young ones who are total wizards at combat magic. Our main dude spots some. Classmates swinging through the branches, having a blast. Meanwhile, Dick's struggling to even jog, looking like he's about to pass out from exhaustion. Simon's doing alright though, since he's used to running around mountains back home, and he's loving it. The teacher's leading the pack, showing them the way. They reach this massive cliff, and she tells them to jump using only their darkness powers. Some of them are like, no way, that's impossible. The buff guy says there's a trick. Instead of using their hands, they should channel the darkness through their feet. She's gonna show them how it's done. She jumps like a superhero, soaring through the air as if gravity took a day off. And if they do it again, they can move without solid ground. The teacher's doing flips like a pro gymnast. Her students are totally blown away. She tells them to try it, using darkness through their feet. It'll feel like they're bouncing on springs. As soon as she finishes, she hops to the other side of the cliff. Now she's waiting for her students to follow suit. The first brave souls leap with all the excitement of a kid on a sugar rush. They jump to the other side. Everyone makes it, though some barely scrape by. The teacher warns them that if they delay releasing the darkness, things could get sketchy, so they should let it go sooner. Our main guy's focusing hard to nail it. Dick says overthinking messes with practice, so he just charges at the cliff. This makes our protagonist super nervous. Midway, Dick realizes something. Hector zooms past him, jumping with way more oomph. Both land safely on the other side. Hector's fan club is all hyped, saying he made the highest jump yet. Dick's annoyed by this show-off, finding it hard to like him. Over there, Hector's trying to hype up our protagonist to do the same, but Simon's visualizing the technique, imagining springs in his shoes. Finally, he decides to sprint, releasing energy through his soles. On the other side, Hector's watching closely. The whole class is shook by the jump. Our protagonist's leap is epic. It's the highest in the class. Simon's feeling more at home at the academy. The teacher's watching, clearly impressed. She tells the protagonist he did an awesome job. Now, our guy's celebrating with his buddy, while Hector, the salty one, is fuming over someone else's win. Now that everyone's made it across, they wait for those who took a dip in the river. Once they're all back together, they can move on. And Simon's really digging this whole thing. Dick whips out a little notebook, asking if our protagonist wants to check it out. It's a list Dick made of students they should recruit for their squad. Since groups start next week, they gotta be ready. Simon's amazed by all the info, asking how Dick pulled it off. And Dick's all, trade secret, bro. While our protagonist's barely keeping up with classes, his buddy's been scoping out the classmates. Maybe that's why he got close to Simon, knowing they'd vibe well, unlike with Hector. According to Dick, most of their classmates are super talented, but there's a twist. That girl who rode the hippo with them is probably getting kicked out once the protection period ends. 2 students flunked the cliff jump, and she was one of them. The teacher calls everyone out, saying they're running late, so they need to hustle down the path. Simon's loving it. All this action's got him pumped, and he's having a blast. But our guy notices something. A herd of hippos is charging at the students. When they look for the teacher, she's vanished, leaving the students freaking out, not knowing what to do. Simon's like, uh-oh, this is bad news, fam. But hey, he just learned a new trick, so he's gonna use his epic jumps to save his own skin. With his shadowy ninja skills, Simon dodged the stampede like a pro. He thought the student protection period was chill, but nope, it's getting wild out here. Some kids are definitely gonna get wrecked if they don't dodge fast. Right then, Simon spotted something. His classmates are doing their best, some throwing curses around. Others are chilling up in the trees. While Simon's still in free fall, he bumps into that dude who tried to snatch his wallet. Simon lands safely, realizing he was stressing too much about everyone else. Even Dick's good. He's up a pole like a monkey. Simon's like, why was I even worried? Competing with 1,000 geniuses is nuts. Dick sees Simon's shook but tells him to chill. Everything's under control. That buff teacher's got druid powers, and the hippos swerved away from the chill students. As everyone's catching their breath, some instructors roll up saying, no time to chill, folks. The hippos are coming back, so they gotta keep moving. The teacher's waiting at the next spot. The students keep sprinting through the woods until they stumble upon something pretty cool. In a field full of flowers, the buff teacher's waiting, saying it's all clear here. The flowers are so pretty, everyone's totally mesmerized. Once they're there, the teacher lets them take a breather. She says no snacks till after class, but they're so wiped. She calls the academy, pointing to something super interesting. A carriage rolls up, and it's got their lunch. Food's here, and everyone's hyped. They're munching away in the middle of the field. Dick's like, this is wild. Taking a snack break isn't a thing here. While they're chatting, the bald dude walks up to the teacher. Simon starts spilling tea about the academy. He's heard Hong Ping's a classic teacher. Dick's confused, and Simon's not admitting he heard it from Lorena. The teacher tells them to wrap it up. They've got 10 minutes before they're back at it. As some start getting up, Simon notices something else. He's got a feeling this is just the start. The teacher asks if everyone's got their class bracelet, telling them to let a bit of darkness flow through it. Suddenly, those who did feel something weird happening. They all know what a curse is. It's time for the next challenge. An instructor waves a flag. They gotta climb that hill while cursed with exhaustion. Time to gear up. The teacher's watching those who lag behind. Simon's wondering if this is even legal. It's like a bad prank. Some students can barely stand, but they gotta get ready to climb. Finally, the race kicks off. Everyone's struggling up the hill. Some are crawling to make it. Simon's trying to hold on to rocks along the way. Every step's a struggle. Plus, his head's spinning. He's getting dizzy. But Simon knows it's all about grit and determination. He can't fall behind now, or he'll never keep up with the others. So he's determined to finish, no matter what. Hector sees Simon pushing through like a beast. Even though he's using tricks to ease the pain, Hector notices Simon's gaining ground without shortcuts. So Hector's like, I'm gonna crush him in this race. They're both nearing the finish line, while the teacher's hyping everyone up. Both are almost at the final stretch. Simon and the jealous dude are ready to snag first place. Everything happens in a flash. They seem to arrive at the same time, only to find out Malin's already there, and she's not even tired. The teacher praises her for crushing it and asks how she's so chill. Malin's like, I cracked the curse endurance code. Simon and Hector are totally speechless. They had no clue they could ditch the curse like that. One of the instructors went to the teacher to spill the tea that someone got hurt. The teacher cruised down the hill, hyping her students up, which made Dick even more jittery. After getting owned, Hector was visibly bummed out. Even though he snagged second place, he wasn't vibing with it. Our poor main dude stalled so much he forgot to move forward. Hector went straight to chat with Malin. He grilled her on her winning strategy and, feeling a bit insecure, said if he wanted to do that too, he could. He kept poking at her, saying she knows zilch about the world cause she's been chilling in the ivory tower. Malin asked if he wanted to throw hands, but Hector said, nah, he just wanted to drop some truth bombs, and by acting that way, she lost the teacher's trust. Malin clapped back, saying he's really twisted, bugging someone just cause he came in second. Must be some hidden crush. After getting roasted, Hector bounced, claiming he wasn't into her. Third place goes to our main dude, who looks totally wiped, so he crashed under the nearest tree to chill. The other two students there were eyeing our boy closely. Meanwhile, other students are wrapping up the task. Dick pulled it off, but almost at the cost of his own life, and Simon told him to quit being so extra. But feeling the burn, Dick said if he sees a hippo running, he's diving headfirst into its legs. Back with the students, the teacher told them to get up again. Since her class was totally beat, she set up a teleportation circle with the academy. Finally, it was time for our main dude to use the artifact. He was super shook by its bluish glow. Getting zapped to another place, our boy face-planted awkwardly. Trying to get his bearings, he realized he didn't recognize the place. It wasn't the academy. Actually, it looked way more like his home. But the teacher apologized for the jump scare. Asking him to chill, Hong Peng promised she'd spill the beans. Some tweaks were made to that circle to react with the darkness of a certain someone. She was talking about our main dude, and as he vibed with that artifact, he got zapped to another spot. While pouring some water for the boy, Hong Peng asked if he could guess who might have done that. But totally confused, Simon said he had no clue. It's a teacher's job to keep students safe from random dangers, so she brought the boy straight to her crib, and she's gonna take the chance to chat with him cause she wanted to do it away from the squad. During the protection period, teachers can't just roll up on students like this, but some are already bending the rules. And now that she's chilling with the main dude, she asked if he's down to specialize in her subject. If he goes for it, she'll take him as a disciple. Being directly responsible for his training, he'll be a direct disciple with full responsibility for his growth. A teacher can only have 3 students like this, and she wants to offer this rare shot to him. Now she wants to know what the main dude thinks about this. After mulling it over, Simon said he didn't get the offer cause he hadn't shown her anything special. Some students were way better than him, and when climbing the hill, he wasn't first either. Not to mention it's only the second day of class, so he doesn't get why something so major was offered to him. The buff teacher said students stress too much about ranking, but teachers are scouting for talent. Knowing how he used darkness to jump, the teacher realized it was his first try, being the one who nailed the highest leap. When he climbed the hill, he used just his physical endurance, unlike his peers, who used other tricks. Even if he thinks he hasn't shown anything special to that teacher, he's already proven everything needed. And she wants to know if the boy still needs more hype to be convinced. For the talent he has to master the darkness will shine in combat classes. He has the potential to crush it in just a few years. In fact, the teacher believes she can make the main dude stronger than anyone else. Now our boy is speechless. Finally, he decided to thank her for the awesome offer. But sadly, he has to pass on it for now. And curious, the teacher asked why. Simon said that, right now, there's another area he wants to dive into more. That brought a smile to the teacher. Being turned down right away, she won't push the invite, making it clear she's not giving up on him for good. So, Simon's got a whole year to pick his path, right? And during this time, his teacher's gonna try to sway him, which totally catches Simon off guard. The teacher spills that she's super curious, wanting to see just how far Simon can go. And guess what? He doesn't even have to be her student for that. She tells him he can hit her up for help anytime, then she starts flexing her magic skills. A magic circle pops up on the ground, and she tells Simon to keep their chat on the down low. This time, she promises Simon's getting into the academy for sure. As she lets him go, she says they'll catch up in the next class. Inside the magic circle, Simon waves goodbye to the buff teacher, but then, someone outside starts calling her. It's one of those nosy monitors, dying to know what Simon's answer was. The teacher says she got turned down. The monitor's not having it, saying she should have offered the spot to Hector, who's super talented. He can't wrap his head around why she's so into Simon. Cutting to the chase, the teacher says Simon's a total genius, and she's seen loads of geniuses at the academy, but none of them are quite like Simon. When Simon gets back to the dorm, he surprises Dick, who wants to know why he took forever. Simon says there was a hiccup with the magic circle. Switching gears, Dick's got some epic news to spill. When he stepped into the magic circle, he felt this wild energy in his body. Dick ended up in a totally different spot, leaving him super confused. But soon enough, he realized he was in Professor Bahil's office. Even Simon was shocked and asked what went down. Dick says the professor made him clean the whole office. But the real hype is that Dick knows professors scout potential students by messing with their transport routes. And now he thinks Bahil's got his eye on him. Being a professor's direct student makes life way better at the academy, and getting kicked out becomes way harder. Dick's buzzing with excitement over this. While he's sharing the news, some jerk butts in, saying it's ridiculous for a commoner to become a student. But Dick, not missing a beat, tells the fool he's just jealous. Annoyed, Hector tells the wannabe merchant to watch his mouth. But Dick's a pro at comebacks, saying Hector got owned by Malin and never gets tired of being dissed. He tells the jerk to quit acting all high and mighty, cause everyone's talented there. And clearly he doesn't get how things roll at the academy. Hector's ego's so fragile, he's already shattered. He decides to use magic against Dick. In seconds, Dick's struggling to breathe, and Simon's super worried. Hector, while attacking, calls the commoner a piece of trash and tosses him to the ground. Now he's gonna keep the fun going. All while Simon watches, feeling totally helpless. But Dick's not defenseless and ups the ante, daring Hector to try harder. An extra tells Hector to chill, cause curses are a no-go there. But the jerk's all in, shoving his crew aside. When he looks forward again, he's shocked by a kick from Simon. That's enough to make him back off. Hector was expecting Simon to step in, and Simon's got that look like he's about to get a personal skeleton. Showing his fragile ego, Hector starts summoning darkness in his hand, ready to take things up a notch. Before it gets worse, someone throws something at Hector. The object hits the ground hard. It's that weird dude with the gray hair, stepping in to shut down the chaos, saying he might break some necks to make it happen. Hector knows exactly who Kaijin is and didn't think he was still around. The extras nearly lose it cause they know Kaijin's rep, the extra beater. Totally freaked. One of the extras tries reminding Hector of the rumors, so they decide to bail. But being a classic jerk, Hector warns everyone to watch out, cause he holds grudges. But Simon's crew doesn't take him seriously. Simon thanks Kaijin for the assist, but the gray-haired dude tells Simon to zip it too, cause he's being too loud. Simon's totally convinced now. Kaijin's the real MVP, no cap. So, in the dorm, our dude's chatting with Dick about their first weekend at the academy. Dick's all, bro, you gotta have plans. Weekends are the real deal here. Simon's thinking of hitting up Rochester, the closest town. Dick's got his merchant hustle on, so he's got stuff to handle. They get a tiny scholarship, but it's not enough for all the gear. A bigger one would be clutch, but Dick's not holding his breath. That's why he's flexing his superpower ASAP. He tells Simon to find a side hustle too. Teachers won't just hand out free stuff after the protection period ends. If Simon wants to level up his summoning skills, he's gonna need some serious cash. Our boy didn't think it'd be this crucial, realizing staying at the academy's gonna be tough. Dick's planning to scope out the city, and once he's settled, he'll hook Simon up with a gig. Finally, he pieces out, saying he'll be back after handling his biz. Simon's like, what if you get caught? It's mad late. Dick's all, even with all the rules, the academy's big on independence. Just gotta stay low-key. Simon watches as his buddy bounces. He's got a stash of sweets ready to thank Kaijin, but the dude's MIA. Now Simon's pondering his next move. Munching on his sweets, he notices someone peeping through the window, and this girl's curiosity is off the charts. Simon finally clocks that he's being watched, and he's shook to see it's Nephthys outside the window. He's like, how'd you get here? Nephthys says she was just passing by. But the real shocker? She climbed up to the 4th floor window. Once inside, Nephthys is all, it's cozy in here. Next thing, she's munching on the sweets too. Simon's like, go ahead, have 'em all. While snacking, she asks how his first academy experience was. Simon's like, it's been a blast. He's vibing with the teachers, classes, and some classmates. It was rocky at first, but making a friend made it chill. Nephthys is relieved. She thought he'd have a harder time fitting in. Chatting with Simon like this reminds her of when Richard was a student there. This info leaves Simon shook. He never imagined something like that. Nephthys instantly regrets it, recalling Richard was a total chaos magnet, a walking disaster, and a know-it-all who was super cocky. He'd prank teachers, ditch classes, and Nephthys was always on his tail. Simon's mind is blown. That doesn't sound like his dad. He's a whole different vibe. To top it off, he didn't even graduate. He bailed halfway. But Nephthys admits there's never been a student like him at the academy. He was a special case, and since Nephthys was younger too, she didn't know how to handle it. Leaning on the bed, she gets a bit nostalgic, thinking about her younger days. Then she's back to saying Richard turned the place upside down. If Simon looks hard enough, he might find traces of his dad there. Nephthys says this could make his school life a bit more lit, but she's gotta bounce. If she takes too long, she might get in trouble, but she promises they'll meet again soon. She thanks Simon for all the sweets. As she hops out the window, Nephthys leaves a little note for Simon, but he thinks she forgot it. Trying to give it back, he realizes she's already ghosted. So, she must have left it on purpose. Simon finally opens the note, and it's a map, with a skull marking the spot, not even looking like treasure. Maybe it's a clue about his dad's antics. Simon decides to check out the forest in that area. In the dark, he starts feeling kinda spooked. Maybe it's not the best time to dig into his dad's past. Simon's not supposed to be out all night, so this adventure could get real dicey. At the forest's edge, there's a sign. Watch out for monsters. And not knowing what might pop out, our boy's nerves started doing the cha-cha. But checking out the area, he saw he was on the right track, map-wise. A wolf's howl made him jump out of his skin, but it could be something scarier, so Simon ducked into the bushes. He spotted the monster's eyes glowing red, like evil Christmas lights. Now, the beast charges at our boy, thinking he's a tasty snack. Simon blocked the first attack with his trusty hunting knife, but he quickly realized this beast was super speedy. He couldn't even tell what it was, cause it was dark as a goth's wardrobe. Getting a better look at the shadowy figure, Simon realized he was up against a werewolf. Judging by its size, it was still a teen wolf. If he wasn't a student here, he'd be out of there. But knowing he had to fight, he called up his skeleton crew. He also grabbed some gear from his stash, which he handed over to his bony buddies. Now with his mini Ratman army, made of 2 super flimsy dudes, he figured running wasn't an option. The werewolf looked ticked off, like it just got roasted by a toddler. Still, the beast decided to attack. Simon told the Ratmen to go savage. One managed to scratch the beast, which in return, popped the rat's head like a balloon. That made our hero wince in sympathy. While the werewolf was busy, the other Ratman landed a bigger hit. Simon told his skeletons to seize the moment. He rebuilt the fallen Ratman like a Lego set, all while the sword dug deeper into the werewolf's hide. Time to make it wish it never left the kennel. The fight was short but wild. This werewolf won't be howling at the moon anymore. Simon took advantage of the opening too. Thinking the wound wasn't enough, he had to make sure the beast stayed down. He drove his sword deep into the monster's body. Breathing a sigh of relief, Simon was glad it was over fast. That was his first real fight at the academy. Practicing with skeletons paid off big time. If it were in Leschel, Simon would have just booked it. But after 3 days here, he could take down a werewolf. This made him realize he could get even stronger. 3 years here might turn him into a beast-slaying machine, but he had to focus on the now, dealing with the carcass to avoid attracting more monsters. Thinking about this, he saw one skeleton start falling apart. The poor thing was too beat up. Maybe it couldn't be summoned again. With just one skeleton left, Simon knew he had to be way more careful. So they kept moving through the forest, finally reaching the map spot. But surprise, surprise, there was nada, not even a blade of grass. This got Simon deep in thought. The only option was to dig. Maybe something was buried there. Bringing a shovel from the dorm was a genius move. After a bit of digging, his shovel hit something solid. Simon couldn't tell what it was. It looked like a big dark rock. Clearing the dirt away, he found a small object. It had an opening just big enough for his hand. Thinking it might be some magical gadget, he poured some of his darkness into it. Boom! A blue glow lit up the night. Our boy was shook by what was happening. An underground passage appeared, with a staircase leading down. Simon, who was freaked out before, now felt pumped. He called his skeleton buddy to check out the new zone. In the forest's underground, Simon found himself in a secret spot. It looked like a hall, with an altar in the middle, a skull chilling on top. Simon still didn't get what this place was. Maybe it was some forgotten ruin. Checking out the details, it seemed kind of familiar. Those letters on the wall were runes. Super old words. This just made the ruins even more mysterious. Maybe he was inside a giant magical gizmo. The rat man started making noise. Simon figured it found something cool. It was pointing at the skull on the altar. Simon reached for the object right away, and soon he realized, even for someone with a bit of knowledge like him, yo, check this out. That artifact's super old and mega dangerous. No clue why it's chillin' there. Suddenly the whole floor's shaking and bones are doing the cha-cha. But then, boom, everything's back to normal, though our dude's totally spooked. In the bone pile, he spots the one that goes under the noggin. With nothing better to do, he figures, why not try this bone puzzle? He can't tell if this undead's a baddie, but Simon's curiosity is off the charts. Piecing this thing together is going to be a wild ride. He channels some dark energy into those bones, like a boss, and it takes a ton of it to get that skeleton together. Black flames are swirling around the undead, spooky vibes. A creepy glow lights up its eyes. Simon's like, it's working. Now that the skeleton's awake, he can keep building it. Time to scoop up all those bones scattered everywhere. Carefully, our hero's putting together the skeleton, thanks to his recent crash course. Being human helps him figure out where the bones go. But Simon's jaw drops at how huge this thing is. If he knew it was this tall, he'd have done the arms first. With the skeleton all set, Simon's thinking it looks pretty rad. But now he's stuck, not sure what to do next. While he's pondering, a massive blue light flashes above. A mysterious voice starts booming from the skeleton. And once again, the walls are shaking like crazy. Simon's clueless about what's going down in this hall. Magical runes are popping up around the skeleton, which is now hyped to be back. The power's cranking up around its body. Intense vibes. In a spooky tone, the skeleton demands to know who disturbed its nap. Staring right at our hero, it asks if he's the one, and he better speak up. Our guy says he's Simon Valentia, and the skeleton's like, whoa, I know that name. Way friendlier now, it realizes he's Richard's kid. Simon says he's the son of that dude, and the skeleton's totally surprised. That darkness is super familiar, only Richard could wake it up. Our hero asks who this skeleton is, and it heads straight for the sword by the altar. It introduces itself as Fear, master of the battalion, once ruling the continent with Richard. Our guy's shocked this creature's linked to his dad. Fear's got questions, like who brought Simon here. He says Nephthys gave him a map. Face-palming, the creature's like, of course she'd pull something like that. So, it's settled. Time for Simon to make a deal with it. Unleash the battalion. With this, Simon could crush his foes, everything at his feet. But there's a catch to this tempting offer. The only path is one of chaos and destruction. part of his destiny. Simon's gotta decide his next move. Cause the skeleton wants to know if he's ready to lead the battalion. Before answering, Simon's got some questions too. He's clueless about this undead and the battalion's news to him. First up, is this battalion powerful? The skeleton digs this question, preferring doubt over fear. Fear promises the battalion strong enough to wreck the academy right now, but Simon's dad split them up. Fear got sealed here, but now Richard's kid woke him up again. If Simon can gather the scattered crew, no one's stopping him on the continent. Simon's all ears, soaking in every word, deciding to make a deal with this creature. The skeleton's stoked, grabbing Simon by his shirt, then plops him on a table, ready for action. Tells him to stick a hand in its core. Once the deal's done, life's gonna flip. But if he's scared, he can bail. But Simon's confident, cause that army was his dad's. So it makes sense he should own it too. Watching Simon, Fear sees he's chill and respectful, a potential top-tier leader. Richard totally brainwashed the kid, no cap. The skeleton, all spooky, said it was time to seal the deal. Told the kid to try not to kick the bucket during it. Simon was low-key freaked out by this part, so he nervously asked if it was super risky, but the darkness was already creeping in. In a flash, Simon was out cold on the floor, and his rat man was losing it. Fear asked the tiny creature if the master was a goner, but the little rat was chill, saying it'd be all right. Simon finally blinked his eyes open. Still in that creepy hall, Fear was there waiting. Our dude wanted the 411 on the contract, and the big creature said it was a done deal. He asked if Simon felt any different inside. Simon knew something was up in his core. Fear said his core got a major upgrade, bigger and more stable. The change was huge, and he felt more at ease with the darkness inside. Fear gave him props, saying he's now one of the 7 commanders of the battalion. Our guy tried to stand, but his energy was low, almost face-planted. Fear told him to chill and recover. His body went through a wild transformation. Simon realized he'd have to crash there for the night. The skeleton said he might feel off for a bit. Taking advantage of the creature's presence, Simon said he had more questions, like what even is a battalion? This question left the skeleton totally shook. He couldn't believe the contract was made without the kid knowing what a battalion is. It's mind-blowing. Even for an undead, he'll need ages to figure out this kid's brain. Before explaining, Fear asked what Simon knew about the undead. Our boy said he knew the basics, being a newbie and all. This left the skeleton even more shook, typical Richard vibes, so he started explaining. The undead are split into 3 groups: the summoned, the natural, and the battalion. The summoned are necromancer puppets, made with dark magic, following orders. They vanish if the magic fades, which happens over time. The natural ones are like zombies, the classic undead. They hate living things, so humans call them monsters. Lastly, there's the battalion, a mix of summoned and natural. They can pop up on their own, having a core, but also follow orders like summoned ones. There are only 7 battalions in the world, meaning 7 necromancers can control them, and our boy just became one of them. Usually, a necromancer can lead a small squad. As they level up, they can summon more creatures. Curious, Simon asked about the grads from that place. They must summon tons of undead. Fear said true, but still thinks a small summoned army is weak, since summoning depends on the summoner's darkness. The more creatures, the harder and more tiring it gets. Simon remembered one of his summons got wrecked on the way, which is why his head hurt. Fear said summons are linked to their summoner. Big damage can mess with the mage. But battalion undead move solo, no limits, letting the protagonist command millions. About those legends of massive armies, that was the battalion. Simon's now hyped to be one of the 7 powerful ones. Fear asked if he had more questions, but our boy seemed good. Now they're in the same squad. Fear said they should start planning the future. Fear said, with the contract, they're in special circumstances, asking if Simon plans to leave the academy. Simon said, nah, not planning to. His dad thinks he can learn a lot there, and Fear agreed. But the boy wanted to know what these special circumstances were. Simon asked if it's about the battalion members being split up, and Fear said yes, but there's something bigger. Right now, his battalion is a public enemy to all necromancers. Basically, they're all on the run, all because of a crime his dad committed. But our boy had no clue. Then he remembered, right at the start, his dad couldn't tag along for the whole adventure, and he had to keep the truth on the down low. So Simon's all, yo, skeleton dude, what did my dad do? Fear spills the tea, saying it's something unforgivable in the dark magic world, and his squad was in on it. The big no-no? Treason. Richard fell head over heels for a priestess, and their squads were still beefing. In the heat of it all, Richard had his crew protect his girl, even turning on his own peeps. His squad took out a bunch of necromancers, which is why they're on the run. Even though they're scattered, the hunt's still on. Simon asks if Fear's salty about it, but the skeleton's all, nah, weak feels like that don't fly with us. But if Richard's kid pulled the same stunt, he'd be super ticked. Anyway, Simon's got no reason to feel bad. That's just how the old commander rolled. The monumental jerk, the king of fools, the ultimate goofball. Seeing Simon's face, Fear's like, no need to sugarcoat it. Richard's the worst, made students cry, ticked off teachers, and skipped all the classes. Yet somehow, this goofball passed on his genes. Then Fear realizes he's chatting with his old commander's kid. Simon drops his mom's name, Anna, and the skeleton's jaw hits the floor. He can't wrap his head around it. The poor guy's shook. His new boss is the son of a buddy and a big-time enemy. He's baffled how this even happened. But soon, he spots the signs. The kid's upbringing screams, "Not his dad." It's so wild, Fear's sure he'll have nightmares. He wishes Anna would just poof from his mind. Rolling on the ground, he's still trying to piece it all together. Simon, all hyped, says he's stoked to team up with the skeleton, and Fear's like, "Don't grin like that cursed lady." Accepting the new normal, Fear gets back to explaining, telling the kid to level up with the Academy's lessons, and about the squad, keep it on the DL. Cause being Richard's kid, the old-timers know what's up. Plus, if other necromancers catch wind of his squad, things could get messy. Even stronger folks might come sniffing around, and that's risky. So, Simon gets that leveling up is a must-do ASAP. Fear says he needs to soak up all the knowledge, and slowly, the squad will get its groove back. They gotta figure out how to run the squad under these wild conditions. Fear's already got a plan and tells Simon to focus, but instead of spilling it, he points behind him. The Ratman skeleton goes to check it out. Now it clicks. Fear was the one who gave that order. Since they share the same dark vibes, Simon's summons are part of the squad too. He's the boss, but Fear's the second in command. But those summons aren't officially squad members yet. Since Simon's clueless, Fear starts channeling his energy through the skeleton, and a whole lot of darkness starts taking over. Simon watches the whole thing, eyes glued. That little dude's getting powered up. The Ratman's bones are floating now. Finally, he's part of the squad. Simon still doesn't get the ritual. The Ratman looks the same. But when he peeks into his eyes, he sees they're buzzing with energy. Fear says the Ratman's now a natural undead. He's got a core. It might not look like much, but the change is epic. Simon realizes taking the Ratman to the Academy would blow his cover. Chilling Simon out, Fear says he doesn't need to squad up all the undead, except for OGs like Fear. Regular summons can handle the usual stuff. Fear tells the Ratman to hang with him, and Simon can go back to his usual life. But if a summon gets too banged up, bring it to him for squad duty. Now Simon's mission is to get stronger. If his summons are beefy, the squad's power levels up too. Simon notices the Ratman's acting like a pet. Fear says that's how natural undead roll now. Even so, Simon's still the boss and can give him orders. Fear says soon the Academy will start dishing out missions, and Simon can explore the continent again. When the day finally hits, Fear promises to roll with our boy, helping him piece together all the scattered bits. Simon's totally blown away by all the knowledge. Fear's been keeping tabs on Richard's school life, like a pro. He asked if our boy's down to hear these tales. Simon's all in, super hyped. Diving into the undead stuff, Fear mentions sometimes the summoners clueless about their own creatures. What drives the undead is their own belief. In human speak, it's like a mega-strong willpower. For instance, a grudge, the protagonist's summons can tap into this will, recalling it. Even if the protagonist's MIA, this undead can do its own thing, sticking to this will. Even if the protagonist forgets the beef, the undead's got it on lock forever. Fear's gonna drop more knowledge bombs along the way, so our protagonist vibes with his creatures even more. About the attack, the key is to beef up one's own will. Fear's example? The wall's the enemy. Our protagonist's gotta hate that thing more than pineapple on pizza. Like he's out for revenge on it. Fear's hyping up the protagonist's beef with that object, until finally the Ratman's like, "I'm done," and goes full rage mode. No orders needed, he just decides to go ham on the wall. The Ratman's ready to wreck all the bricks. Simon's jaw hits the floor at the result. A top-tier necromancer's gotta master his own will, tapping into his darkest feels, cause those are the real MVPs for powering an attack. Now the protagonist's gotta learn to hit pause on his creatures. Simon's throwing orders at the Ratman to chill, but nada, nothing's happening. The creature's ghosting the protagonist's voice, which makes him feel super awkward about the whole thing. This ticks him off, so he drops a supercharged order. This time, the Ratman's all ears. Simon warns if he gets ignored again, it's gonna be bad news for the Ratman. Fear's impressed with the kid. He's already nailed the absolute order. Apparently this isn't your average kid. Richard's son's a total beast. Despite the chaos, Simon's a bit bummed, thinking it's a flop, cause he couldn't keep his summon in check. The Ratman was so into smashing the wall, he almost wrecked himself. Fear surprises our protagonist, saying he did awesome. But on the battlefield, there's no time to waste. He's gotta learn to control his summons with quick commands. For a first go, that was solid, even if the scene was a bit wild. Simon's gotta head back to the Academy. Can't be MIA for too long. Fear hands our protagonist a little gadget, a way to keep in touch. That's Fear's backup form. This way they can keep chatting. Our boy should hit him up if things get dicey. Before bouncing, Simon promises to be back next weekend. The tiny brooch is now pinned on the protagonist's gear. It's been ages since Fear hit up that academy. Knowing they're still in the student protection phase, Fear's pumped to see what's next. Sensing something's brewing in that spot, our protagonist's facing a mega tough test. Right now, Simon's having a brain meltdown. The night before, he made it to the room all chill. But Dick wanted a quick meetup. Our protagonist knows it's crucial. The next day's classes are chill, but in dark magic class, something sketchy's going down. A massive group project. Once the group's set, it's locked in till semester's end, so it's a big deal. They need 4 peeps, and it'd be clutch if each had a special skill. Dick's average at everything, but he's a bit better at darkness dynamics, while our protagonist's into summoning. Between them, there's a cool balance. In total, they'll tackle 9 subjects, plus how to dodge the holy power of priests. Among the subjects, curses, summoning, and darkness dynamics are the hot picks, and the 2 have already nailed the key subjects. They need someone who gets curses. The other subjects aren't plot relevant, so they're skipping them. Our protagonist's relieved, cause hearing what he'd need to learn in the other subjects, he was shook. Dick's already got a short list of potential squad members. They've got to make this call wisely. Pumped with motivation, they feel they're closing in on success. But while chilling at the table, our protagonist starts feeling let down, until he catches Dick's whisper, curious about what that girl's doing with them in the first year. Her name's Jane, the big boss at the academy. She can even boot 3rd years. She's the vice principal. To Dick's horror, she just called him out by name. She warned him that if he keeps chatting during the test, he's gonna be in hot water. Dick quickly said sorry for the slip-up. The other students were shook, realizing they gotta watch themselves. Jane mentioned she only teaches 3rd years, so the newbies think she's just passing through. But she's running the show this semester, and she hopes there's not a massive knowledge gap, telling everyone to get back to the test. Back to our main dude, he realized it's so tough that even messing up is hard. Cause to mess up, you gotta know something. That's life at an elite academy. No point having a big squad if they can't solve problems with a pen. Simon's not backing down now. He's decided to soak up as much knowledge as he can here. After what felt like forever, test time finally wrapped up. Now it's time for the vice principal to have a blast grading those tests. Some of her helpers are pitching in too. Nefty popped in to see what's up. Then Jane asked why the principal was hanging around, since she's got a packed schedule. Nefty said she was just taking a stroll. Jane wasn't buying it. Giving the principal a playful tap on the head, she said she couldn't slack off at a time like this. Then, she told her helpers to keep grading in an empty room. Nefty said Jane was a sweet kid when she was saved from the slum, and Jane said that sweet kid vanished after the grind of work. And if the principal's sticking around, she should help grade some tests too. Amidst all those papers, Jane spotted something wild. This one student bombed the basics but still tackled the tough questions. That's why she decided to hit the principal with a question. Jane wants to know why she got stuck with the freshman, showing off our main dude's test. Nefty just gave her a confident grin. Nefty asked why the names are hidden. Jane said it's a blind grading. She doesn't want to accidentally play favorites. Actually, she's already found some cool stuff. That student was a disaster in basic knowledge. Nefty grabbed that test, saying the person behind it is a total goof. Meanwhile, Jane's grading a genius's test. He aced the basics but went for question 20 in the second part, the hardest one. Cause it needs a super complex answer. That student probably didn't take any prep courses, he answered with what he learned here. Nefty checked the answer and saw the student used summoning knowledge to get there. The right answer should be 1,200,000, but this kid got 1,200,146, which is pretty close. Jane's got another question for the principal. Why she got stuck with this class? Showing off our main dude's test again. That's when the principal flashed a confident smile. Playing it cool, she said she doesn't know why Jane's making these guesses. Even so, the vice principal stays super serious. Thinking to herself, the principal's pretty slick for her age. The next day, students are checking their scores. Dick's a bit freaked out. The results came out super fast, and some students are already thinking about switching their focus. As for our main dude, his grades are a disaster. He thought he was ready to see those numbers, but after seeing them, he regretted it. Dick said, at least in summoning, our boy's got skills, and it's way better to be awesome in one thing than meh in everything. Simon asked if his buddy did well. He scored 74 in darkness dynamics, staying average in the rest. Simon's impressed his buddy's also a hard worker, and the guy said he does just enough to not get kicked out. Now they gotta switch up the group's game plan since everyone's scores are out. Forming a squad would have been easier before all this insider info. Recruiting students now is gonna be way tougher. Jane went to the freshmen and gave them just 30 minutes. It's time to form groups of 4, which should last till the end of the semester. Alright, so now black magic classes are all about teamwork, and students gotta solve stuff together. But they'll still get graded solo, and if they can't vibe with the group, they might get dinged. So, picking the right squad is super important now. Everyone's freaking out, trying to snag the best teammates. In the middle of this madness, our main dude is just staring at the list of potential recruits. One name's already been snatched by another crew, and the 3rd, 4th, and 5th names gone too. Things are looking rough for him. He needs someone who's a curse master, and Simon's on the hunt. His options are kinda slim. So he shoots for the stars. He asks Malin if she wants to roll with his crew. Everyone's shook by his bold move, cause no one's dared to ask her yet. Malin thinks he's hilarious and wonders if he thinks being special means he gets a free ride, acting all connected. She only trusts numbers, and she's grilling Simon about his grades, which are, well, not great. She knows he's only good at summoning. While she's going on about this, Simon promises her something. In just a month, he'll have better summoning grades than her, and if not, he'll bounce from the academy. Malin's kinda blown away by this wild bet. She tells him to take it back, or he'll just embarrass himself. But our guy's all in, saying it's totally doable. That leaves her speechless. She knows she has to stay on top no matter what. Her only rival is Hector, who she can't beat in combat class. To make her plans work, she needs a killer group, and truth is, she's not great at summoning. But our guy seems promising, since he beat Hector without even trying. Now she's thinking if this is the right move. Standing up, she asks him something, wants to know if he can really keep his promise, and Simon's like, absolutely. No matter what, he'll stick to his word. Malin decides to trust him and joins his crew. Dick's super impressed, calling our guy a real politician. Malin's curious about who this extra is. Simon says he's in the group too, but tells her not to stress cause Dick's just average. That kinda freaks Malin out. Knowing the group's kinda meh, Malin asks if Dick's any good at darkness dynamics. He's got 74 points. So it's not all bad. They just need one more member. Since she's good at everything, she's not too worried about the new recruit. But if she could pick, she'd want someone good at hematology, cause it's tough. All the other extras are buzzing about the most promising student joining our guy. Malin starts chatting with him. She's never heard of his last name, Valentia, and asks where he's from. Simon says Leshil region. Flipping the question, Simon wants to know about her family. She's surprised, asking if he's serious. Malin says she's from a big deal family with deep roots in the Ivory Tower, but she's a bit annoyed. Simon knows that's the Magic Tower. At least it was called that 300 years ago. The Magic Tower's where CERN, another special student, came from. Since this topic's touchy, Malin asks him to drop it. Seems like a sensitive subject. Simon sighs, realizing nobles are complicated. Dick finally comes back, apologizing for the wait, but he found a teammate with 87 points in hematology. The girl's name is Ursula, and she might not even be human cause she's got wings. She introduces herself all formally and promises to help the group succeed, but Simon tells her to chill. Ursula says she's only 16, and Dick tells her to relax. Age doesn't matter here. There are 20-year-olds in the group. She says she'll be more chill, and Malin seems to recognize her last name. Ursula's actually the last name of a big deal vampire fam, which totally freaked Dick out. But plot twist, that girl's mom? Just your average human. Dick's now saying sorry for his over-the-top reaction. Simon gets it fast. She's an illegit kid. To intro himself, Dick says he's a regular dude from a merchant fam, the White Cow crew. And Ursula's like, oh, I know them. Dick spills more tea. He's kid number 3 out of 8, and all the cash goes to the oldest. He got shipped to the academy because they think he might be a dark mage, but he's really there to scope out the market. Now Simon gets why this dude was so hyped to hit the city. He's got biz to handle. Dick's dream? Graduate, start his own company, and get a nod from his dad. The new squad's wishing him luck, but Malin's just me about it. At least they're starting to vibe a bit more. Now they gotta fill out this form and give it to Jane. They also gotta pick a squad leader, and Malin just snatches the form from our boy. Simon throws it out there that she should lead, and she's like, duh, who else? Last thing, they need a name for this random crew. The author clearly loves Naruto, so they go with Team 7, but not everyone's feeling it. Simon's peeping some extras beefing hard. Looks like some folks are still struggling to click. The extras are all about roasting the clueless. Our main crew just watches the drama unfold. Dick sees the insults heating up, knowing each student has their own skills. If everyone's good at the same thing, it's a hot mess. A blonde girl tries to bribe her way to a squad, needing members, and it works, leaving the extras solo. Money talks, and there's not much they can do. Simon sees the world as a wild jungle, but he's gotta focus on his own game. Dick says they're still in the student safety zone. Everyone's a rival, and if extras are already flopping, it's better for the main crew. Falling behind here means game over. Malin's shook by how unprepared the others are, thinking they haven't done squat. Those with bad grades should have hustled in other ways. The 30 minutes finally tick down. Jane calls the groupless students up front. Looks like these poor souls won't be at the academy next week. Jane asks if they're bummed out. A rough start doesn't mean a tragic end. It's just a sign to keep grinding. Then she lets the students head back to their seats. Time for a big announcement. The safety period ends next week, and there's a group task. They gotta take down a monster. Our main dude's pretty freaked by this. The beast they need to beat? A Cyclops. Students start buzzing about it. Not everyone's sure they can handle it. Jane calls for quiet. She's gonna lay down the rules. The students will hit the dungeon with their squad to take down the beast together. But only one student will fight head-on. The rest will back them up or weaken the beast. Curses, poisons, whatever it takes, it's all fair game. Summoning creatures is cool too, just no direct attack magic. Dick's deep in thought after hearing all this. Jane says the fighter will wear protective gear. The grade depends on the hunt's outcome, speed, and teamwork. Before facing the beast, they gotta max out their skills. Jane asks if anyone's got questions, and surprise, Vittoria's first up. She wants to know if the beast's real or fake. The teacher assures the creatures are freshly caught, which reminds her of a tiny detail. Before the test, students gotta sign a form, accepting the risk of life. A student asks what if they flop, and the teacher says they'll get a bad grade. First fail is when the fighter can't go on. Second is when the teacher calls it too risky. When one of the students throws in the towel, the test wraps up too. Malin told her squad to think up a strategy with caution, while our main dude is super jittery. Dick's curious about who should step up to fight. Malin's convinced she's the strongest, so she wants the spotlight, much to the main dude's dismay. Simon's been pondering this. The test's all about magic skills, since only one student needs to throw down directly. Ursula suggested dodging attacks is smarter, cause blocking a heavy hit drains energy. Malin's thinking the total opposite. Dick pointed out another hurdle is getting past the creature's thick skin, which is like armor. Boosting the body with darkness is super tiring. Ursula asked, what's the best game plan for victory? Malin's all about letting her take the fight. With a few classes left before the hunt, Jane said the squad needs to present their battle plan, and next week they'll put it to the test. She suggested they start chatting it up with their squad. Dick's curious about their game plan. Malin whipped out a magic circle in her hands, showing off her cool trick Black Flames, which should do the trick. Dick was totally shook by this, cause it's a tough move to nail. Buzzing with excitement, Malin's ready to share her plan with the squad. She'll use her flames to roast the creature, while her squad throws curses to weaken it. When the enemy's wiped out, she can toast it to ashes. After hearing that, Dick said teamwork's key. They gotta collab more to score high. Simon's curious if the girl can juggle fire while dodging hits. And that's a solid question. In combat class, she tripped over her own feet, showing her coordination's kinda meh. Because of this, she's now in a heated debate with Dick to defend her bruised ego. Until the main dude decided to slam the table. He said he'll grab the creature's attention with his summons. If the squad can back him up with support magic, they might just nail it. Simon's curious about what Ursula can do with her hematology skills. She said she'll help with curses. Dick said he'll do the same, using the exhaustion curse. Jane told the squad to prep a 10-minute presentation for the next class, detailing everyone's role and the spells they'll use. Dick's impressed with the main dude's smarts. He's a natural leader and sorts things out fast. Maybe that's why he got in through a special way. As class wrapped up, Dick told the main dude to join him at the cafeteria, cause today's lunch is burgers. Malin hated being left out. She wanted an invite too. After this mini meltdown, she needs to find her seat, cause everyone else already had lunch. This is the first time the teacher's introducing himself to them. Meet Professor Jamaica, the toxicology class boss, and judging by his sleepy eyes, he must know a ton about toxins, especially the sniffable kind. Super chill. With the patience of someone from another dimension, he said he'd kick off the class. The students quickly zoned out, cause Professor Jamaica's talking pace is super slow, but he seems to know loads about how to mess people up with toxins. Time to learn how to whip up weak poisons, and this perked some students up. Mid-explanation, Professor Jamaica coughed a bunch, at least 8 times, and a bit of blood came out. The extras were super worried about this scene. Could be a withdrawal crisis. Professor Jamaica's gonna need to take a break. Another teacher will take over this class, but some students were still snoozing. The teacher spotted this right away, and decided to chuck a book at the poor student who was napping. Totally outraged, she ordered the jokers to wake up pronto. Sleeping in this class is a major no-no, and this teacher's top-notch. She won't stand for her ego getting bruised. Missing you, Professor Jamaica. At least he was chill. Scolding all the students, she said they shouldn't snooze in a class like this. They can't forget the basics. They gotta keep showing respect to the teachers. The name of this unlucky soul is Lang, and she'll teach in place of Professor Jamaica. Saying the students will learn to make a weak poison, they gotta stash their notebooks now. The secret behind this recipe isn't the ingredient control, but the flexibility of the poison maker. First step is to light the cauldron's fire. A student asked how much of the mystery powder to use, and the teacher said it should match the high she wanted to feel. Right away, the girl started pouring a bit of the poison. The smell hit the protagonist's nose, and his head spun like a fidget spinner. His feet felt light like they were made of clouds. For those who made blue smoke, they had to raise their hands. Dick did it, and this poison freezes the nervous system. Then the teacher asked about those who made green smoke. As expected, it's a super strong hallucinogen, and that's what the protagonist whipped up. The students didn't know that tweaking the ingredients could lead to wild results. The teacher told the green smoke crew to ditch their coats because she's handing out more ingredients. She said they should skim off the thin oil layer from the cauldron. Now they gotta mix it all again until it's sticky, but watch out, the fire can't be too lit. A girl asked the teacher for help. Her mix turned yellow, and she got props for it, meaning her poison is top tier. It could even be sold, and the other extras were stoked about it. Other students are firing off questions, and the teacher's answering them all. Dick decided to chat a bit with our dude. He figured out that Lang is a super talented teacher, until someone asked if our protagonist was zoning out. He said nah, but spotted a small vial on his desk. They should take these poisons for the Cyclops battle. Any help is clutch. Malin said the fool's joy was short-lived. That weak poison won't cut it against big monsters, which kinda bummed the boys out. As our protagonist is still checking out those notes in the book, he realized the poison's made with mushrooms. The same ones his mom used to cook all the time. Now Simon's got questions for Malin. She peeked at the recipe the protagonist was eyeing, and she got super hyped about it. Ursula, after checking the recipe, was also pretty pumped. If they can whip up that poison, it could be a game changer for everyone. It can make muscles contract on their own, messing with the nervous system and strong enough to take on big monsters. Mixed with curses, the result might be epic. They need to make the target drink the poison or get hit with it. A summoned creature could handle this. Now the students gotta craft this poison. The biggest snag is the ingredients. The basic ones are at the academy, but the mushrooms, plants, and slime blood are a bit trickier. Dick said he can snag them, all if he hits the city because he's a top-notch negotiator. Simon said he knows that mushroom well because they're everywhere in his homeland. He also found some at the academy. When he went to the Forbidden Forest, his friends were shook to hear this. They couldn't believe he'd been there. It's super dangerous, but Simon said the mushrooms were near the entrance. Dick might get in trouble for going to the city, so Simon's also taking risks. He'll grab the mushrooms ASAP. Malin said the protagonist fool might get attacked by a monster, which would mess up everyone's grades. Faced with this issue, Ursula decided she'd tag along with him. Just a reminder that this could be super risky, Ursula said that's why no one should go solo. Simon agreed to go with company, saying they'd bail if things got sketchy. Dick heads to the city to snag the missing ingredients. Malin will grab the basic ingredients from the lab, while our protagonist and the vampire girl head to the forest. By the end of the day, everyone will regroup to mix the ingredients. Our protagonist's squad seems super dedicated, but they don't know they're being watched by a mysterious figure. At the end of class, the students were let go. That mysterious person who was watching our protagonist went to Hector. The dude turned around to see who was talking to him, and this mysterious extra has some juicy info to spill. That night, the protagonist went to the forest with the vampire girl, ready to hunt for mushrooms. Earlier, Dick showed a secret path to the protagonist, so he can sneak into the forest safely. The guards have wrapped up their patrol, but he's gotta be quick to dodge trouble. Simon's all set for this new adventure, and to his surprise, Ursula's more hyped than expected. She said she loves night walks. Must be a vampire thing. Now they gotta keep hunting for those mushrooms. Ursula took a sec to thank the main dude, the one who had her back in combat class. She legit couldn't climb on the hippos, and no one else was down to help. Simon was the only one who stepped up, becoming her hero of the day. Simon said he just did what anyone would, but doing the bare minimum made him a big deal. Now, Simon's itching to switch topics. Turns out he found a jackpot of mushrooms. They're everywhere. Since they have no clue how many they need, he decided to grab them all. That search was quicker than a TikTok scroll. Taking a breather, the vampire's curious why our main dude's at the academy. He said his parents sent him, but now he's making his own goals. After diving into summoning, he decided he wants to be a necromancer. Now he's curious about the vampire's goals. Before she spills, they hear noises from the forest. Someone's lurking. They gotta hide like ASAP. Some masked peeps are snooping around, probably looking for students. Those are the academy guards. Ursula knows they usually hunt monsters and keep things chill. Getting caught would be bad news. Simon's confused why this patrol's happening. Dick said it was done. Ursula's freaking out, not sure what to do. Simon tells her to chill. They can still get out of this. He told her to trust him. She needs to bolt when he gives the signal. Simon hit up Fear, saying he's in a jam. Time to rally the troops. Part of the plan was to gather a bunch of rocks. He also did some summoning. They gotta use everything to make a break for it. Putting the plan in motion, one of the rat men took off. The noise got the guards' attention, who quickly noticed another rat man on the move. This gave the main dude a chance to bounce too. The guards' dogs heard the commotion, heading straight for the students. Simon told the vampire to cast a spell on the dogs, hoping to slow them down. She nailed it, taking down those hunting dogs. The poor pups dropped like they were super sick. Other guards saw what went down. One's already aiming an arrow at the intruder. Ursula almost got a new haircut, and it's freaking her out more. Simon said it's cool, their uniforms were spotted, so they won't get seriously hurt. The guards keep yelling for them to stop running. Until something epic happened, someone unleashed some wild magic. While the guards are stuck, our main dude's stuck too. He's at the edge of a cliff. The only way out is to use the jump move from combat class. But the vampire's scared she doesn't think she can pull it off, saying the main dude should go without her, promising she won't snitch to the guards. With no choice, Simon had to carry her like a sack of potatoes. Time to leap off that massive cliff. The main dude started channeling darkness under his feet, pulling off a sick jump, landing safely on the other side. The vampire couldn't believe it. But once on the ground, she realized it was real. It was so intense she was frozen with fear. Simon was worried, but Ursula admitted she thought they'd get caught. Even so, she kept her cool, thanking the main dude for saving her. Simon said that's just what friends do. Having dodged the guards, they gotta head back to the academy. Feeling relieved, Ursula thanked the main dude again. Without him, they'd be toast. After that heartfelt moment, they need to get back safely. There's a slim chance they're lost, but Simon's sure they're on track. On the way, Ursula heard some noises, and she quickly told the main dude, who thought it was just owls. But, according to her, it was a person's voice. So they decided to check it out. What they found was mind-blowing. Ursula freaked out again, saying they should bail ASAP. That got her super worried. Simon's clueless about what's going down since they're on an island. So there's this altar, right? And in front of it, there's a priest doing some kind of prayer thing. And then, boom, the priest locks eyes with our main dude. Sensing danger, Simon's all, we gotta bounce, or this story's gonna end right here. But before they can jet, the ground shakes like crazy. Our hero's still wondering if the priest caused that earthquake. And get this, the priest used darkness to summon a cross. Spooky, right? Things are getting super sketchy. cause this mysterious dude might be a traitor to the academy. Compass spots the priest using both sacred and dark powers. Simon's thinking, this guy's definitely a traitor. Those powers don't mix. Even though he's clueless about what's happening, he knows one thing for sure. If they hang around, they're toast. During their escape, the useless girl's leg gets hurt, but she keeps running, even with spears flying at them. Our hero gets injured too. One of those chains snags the girl's leg. Simon realizes things are going south, fast. He just lost his buddy, who's now in the clutches of that mysterious dude. Ursula's tied to a tree, and the priest's using chains to attack our hero. But our guy's dodging through the forest like a ninja. He can't keep this up forever though. Still trying to defend himself, he grabs one of his items. Now he's got a sword in hand. With this, Simon can fend off some of those attacks. But after one clash, his sword's toast. Now he's got to dodge the chains old school style. He barely avoids getting his neck skewered. Time to unleash his star power. He chucks something at the mysterious dude, hoping to at least unmask this priest. The mysterious guy dodges the throw, but if it hit, he'd be missing some teeth. Now the priest knows he can't slack off against this kid, so he makes a bunch of crosses appear everywhere. The sky's full of them. Simon realizes, I can't handle this solo. Time to call reinforcements for this forest brawl. Fear shows up in a flash, already handling the danger, which seems beneath him, honestly. Fear swoops in to save the day, asking if the kid's alright. He tells him to stay out of the fight. He'll handle these weird priests solo. Fear's getting more hyped with the battle. It's been ages since he got to throw down, and he's loving it. While the chaos unfolds, Simon rescues his useless friend. Luckily, she's not too banged up, but she fainted, probably from fear. Poor thing. While escaping with her, Simon asks Fear about the sitch. Fear says it's tricky. That human's super strong. If his powers weren't partly sealed, he'd have handled it already. Simon says he's got a plan, but needs Fear to follow his lead. Fear's down to obey, thinking Richard's kid can't be dumber than his dad. A massive explosion rocks the forest, from Fear and the priest's clash. Simon's plan worked. He told Fear not to chase the priest, cause the noise drew the guards. Impressed by this genius move, Fear says he's proud of the kid. He's really something. Plus, Fear assures he's fine. But the same can't be said for the unconscious girl. Knowing it's urgent, he's ready to help these kids. Simon didn't know his creature could heal. Truth is, he can't, but it'll be way easier to bail with him around. Still unsure of what's next, Simon's surprised by a sudden speed boost. He clings on tight to avoid face planting. From here on, he's flying solo. Fear's getting suspicious of the whole deal, wants to dig deeper. Simon, hair all wild, thanks him for the assist. As they part ways, Fear tells the kid to stay safe too. They just made a pact, and he doesn't want to lose it. With the girl in his arms, Simon's pondering his next move. In this situation, he can't just count on the academy's help, but he's clueless about where to treat her. In the infirmary, he'd face a million questions, making things even messier. If that priest's a backstabber, he saw our hero's face and might come for payback. Simon needs someone he can totally trust, so he hit up the secretary's office in his building, that super polite extra. But as soon as she spotted our hero, she was totally shook. Simon approached her for some help. The secretary was freaking out, wanting to know what happened to the girl, and mentioned girls aren't allowed in this dorm. Knowing she might be hurt, she said the girl should hit up the infirmary, but our hero said no way. Without spilling too much tea, he assured her it's super complicated. That's why he wants to handle the girl's health right there. The secretary's now in a tricky spot. Since the girl's health is top priority, she asked him to lay her on the bed, but she still wants the deets on what went down. The secretary noticed most injuries are minor, except for a nasty cut on the leg. If another student did that, it needs sorting ASAP, cause she knows one thing in this job. Students do whatever to survive, and some are savage. Simon told her it wasn't a brawl. Apologizing again, he can't spill the beans on what happened. The secretary decided to drop it, but she also needs to patch up our hero's wounds, saying health is key. Without it, students can't survive this wild academy. Now the secretary's fixing up our boy's injuries. Since Ursula's not in serious trouble, the secretary will get someone from the girl's dorm she trusts to take her back. Simon said he'll never forget her help, and she told him to catch some Z's. Leaving her office, he apologized for all the chaos. Now alone, the secretary sighed deeply, wondering how long Simon will last here, cause he's a rare breed. Our boy finally made it back to the dorm. Dick was waiting, all anxious, wanting the scoop. Simon said they got chased by guards and lost, but asked if everything was cool. Dick said he also had guard drama and barely made it. After chatting with Malin, he mentioned the guards, and they planned to make the poison the next day. At first, she was bummed, but soon got the seriousness of it all. Dick still doesn't know what happened to Ursula, cause our hero kept it hush-hush. So the boys are ready to crash. Simon's used to priests thanks to his mom, but for Ursula, it must have been wild. So our boy will chat with her the next day. In the morning, Ursula's all bubbly and happy. Simon wants to check if she's good, and she said yep. Yesterday felt like a dream to her. They roamed the forest, picked mushrooms, got chased. Some spooky stuff, so it feels dreamlike. Her thinking it wasn't real is a relief for our hero, so she doesn't get freaked out. Still, he has something to tell her. The priest bolted after spotting the guards. He might have seen our boy's face, but not hers, so Ursula can't spill the beans. Simon is set on finding out who that priest is. But Ursula doesn't want him going solo, cause she's in this too. Seeing she doesn't want to be left out, Simon said he'd ask for her help when the time's right. Ursula was stoked, saying she'd back him no matter what. During class, the teacher said some students leaned too much on the correction gadget, so now they'll practice easier spells. Bahil will teach his crew the curse transfer. The plant given to the students reacts to darkness. They gotta make it bloom. Our boy started trying, but it's super tough for him. Not to mention they gotta beat a scary monster next week. Bahil checked in on our hero to see how he's doing, showing mad interest in his progress. Replying to the teacher, Simon said he's giving it his all. Before bouncing, Bahil gave him some tips. He needed to tap into his own core more. Since he's a newbie at this, the darkness isn't solid enough, which is why it can't shape upright. Learning to use your own core is like super basic, but at the academy, he won't get this kind of hands-on experience. Plus, everyone's got their own style. But this teacher's all in, asking if he can help our boy out. Next thing you know, he's zapping some of his energy into the protagonist. People think curses are all doom and gloom, but the teacher's not buying it. He cranked up the protagonist's senses with a curse, making him feel everything. For him, it's all about helping students find their groove. Just gotta focus. Breathing easy, storing that energy in his core. Simon's gotta figure out what it's like to have mana doing its thing inside. Slowly, he starts feeling the energy flow, and it's a whole new vibe. Following the teacher's lead, he figures out what's next. Simon's learning to get his own energy flow going. Bahil said to see his core as a living thing that needs guidance. Putting these tips to work, Simon's mind blown by the results. Now he's got to do it solo. No need to force it, just let it flow. Watching Simon's progress, the teacher's like, "You're crushing it." In no time, he's got that technique down. Bahil dials back the sensitivity from the curse, dropping another tip. Darkness has a memory, like muscle memory, copying its owner's moves. That's why he's got to keep practicing and build good habits. Now that they're this far, Bahil suggests trying out the curse for real. He's got Simon's back, so no stress. First up, complete the magic circle. Simon starts conjuring a bit of darkness with his hands. This time, his magic circle's on point, and the teacher's hyped. Time to fire up the curse. The energy spreads, heading for the plant on his desk. It blooms instantly, but surprise, surprise, it's like a tree now. The other students are shook too. Bahil's like, "That's your potential, dude." All he did was give a nudge. Bahil says Simon got a sneak peek of his future solo skills. Because his darkness is something special. Bahil wants the young prodigy to think hard about how to show off his talent, so he can find his path and unleash his full potential. After hearing that, Simon's got a question. He wants the teacher's take on the curse he cast. Bahil's impressed, saying Simon's got a cool head, analyzing himself without losing focus. But that curse needs more feels. Simon wonders if it's the same when commanding the undead, catching the professor off guard. Keeping it cool, Bahil confirms it's exactly like that. Emotions are key for dark magic, but Simon's spooked by the professor's intense look. Before the professor bounces, Dick's got his hand up with a question. He wants to know if Bahil can help him too, because making that flower bloom is tough. Bahil tells Dick that waiting for handouts is lazy, so he should keep at it. Malin's trying not to laugh at that scene. Meanwhile, Simon's thinking about his own potential, deciding he'll nail that technique before class wraps up. Later, Dick asks the vampire girl if she thinks the teachers are playing favorites with Simon. After all, Simon only nailed that curse with Bahil's help, and it's happening again. The buff teacher's all about teaching Simon, like he's getting a private lesson in class. Now the vampire girl's watching closely, checking if Simon's getting special treatment. The buff teacher keeps giving one-on-one tips, telling Simon to control the darkness with his feet. He nails a kick, basically the Chuck Norris of Korea. The teacher's stoked with the move, as Simon's got it down, but he's still got to tweak a few things. Move the heel more, use the lower back, keep an eye on the target, and keep controlling the darkness. Simon promised he'd be more careful next time, but the teacher was all, "Nah, you're doing great, just keep practicing." While he thanked the teacher, his classmates were all eyes on him. Malin told Dick to quit staring and start improving himself, but Dick was like, "Chill, I'm just observing." He also told Malin to zip it, reminding her she messed up last class with her magic, calling her a troublemaker. As the two bickered, the vampire girl was brainstorming ways to make them stop. Malin decided to call in the protagonist. She wanted him to teach her that cool technique too. Since the teacher wasn't coming over, it was up to the protagonist to help, cause he's better at this stuff. With a monster battle next week, Malin needed all hands on deck to level up, so Simon offered to help her with her stance. Malin was super pumped to keep learning. Truth is, she's a bit of a klutz, and her moves are all stiff. Simon joked she's a hot mess, and Malin knew it too well. The protagonist advised her to chill out, even if she's not feeling it, so her moves would flow better. Now she had to fix her footwork, but she was struggling with even the simplest tips. Dick was shook, wondering how such a promising student could be so off. Simon told her to focus the darkness in one foot, but she was doing it wrong, needing more core strength for a solid kick. Even the protagonist found teaching tough. Not everyone's got that gift. Frustrated, Malin told him to adjust her posture by touching her, but she said it way too loud. Now the gossipers thought something was up, cause it sounded too juicy. Following her lead, Simon showed her where the darkness should flow with his hands, and if she wanted to avoid more awkwardness, she'd better listen and realize it's just a lesson. Guided now, Malin had to put those tips to work. She kicked, and it was way better this time, but she lost her balance and hit the ground. Simon saw the bright side, noticing her progress despite the fall. The gossipers realized Simon was just teaching Malin, and since he was good at it, they wanted his help too. Meanwhile, Malin was bummed she wasn't better at it. In the next class on summoning, the teacher talked about Skeleton's epic healing powers. He was about to show them how it works. With a simple hand move, the pieces flew together. They formed a complete skeleton, a basic concept to grasp. Even when apart, the pieces held some darkness. They just needed to activate this energy to pull the bones back together. Time for the students to try, but not everyone nailed it. Some were seriously struggling, and our protagonist was deep in the books. Malin asked if it was cool for him to ignore the class like that. Simon responded with action, assembling the skeleton with a flick of his fingers. Malin saw firsthand how good he was at it, but she warned him not to get too smug, reminding him of their bet, and he was all, "I'll totally score higher than you." With a big sigh, Malin said she'd ace the subject if she could nail question 20. Simon asked if she meant the test with Professor Jane, cause that last question was a breeze. Malin couldn't believe he answered it, especially without prep, and asked what he got. Blowing her mind, Simon said 1,200,146. Now she wanted to know how he got that answer, but the teacher's shadow loomed over them. He wanted to know what they were up to right then. Simon explained he'd finished the skeleton, so he moved on to the next topic, hence the book. The teacher gave him a stern look, and told him to stay after class, which freaked Malin out, making her start to apologize. When class finally wrapped up, our main dude was left chillin' with the teacher, who, after shutting a book, asked for some company. Outside, the teacher was all, "There are things I just can't stand, like students who can't learn, even when they try." Then he told our guy to whip out his skeleton. First he brought out the pieces, and the teacher was like, "Assemble it now," watching closely as our dude got to work. Noticing Simon's got mad skills for this kind of stuff, that's why he's gonna teach him a technique that's next level. Simon was all confused, thinking he'd get scolded for zoning out, but the teacher was like, "Surprise, this is an extra class." Now that the teacher's done explaining, Simon felt way more chill, but he doesn't want to waste too much free time here, so it's go time for our hero. Aaron showed him a skeleton made from demon bones. Not wanting to repeat himself, he told Simon to pay close attention. The teacher wiggled his fingers, and those bones started grooving too. He's gonna show an attack move using restoration power. The bones zoomed to a tree and smacked it hard. That's bone piercing, folks. After the bones stuck in the wood, the teacher waved his hand again. Totally trapping a squirrel trying to bail, that's the bone prison. Now he's gonna show one last trick, moving the bones in the air again. He pulled off a defensive move using restoration, the bone armor now totally covering him. Simon was obviously blown away by that epic skill show. Aaron said it's all about skill. The skeleton can be a weapon, prison, or armor. Everything shown so far is practical restoration stuff, usually taught in year 2, but since our dude's got skills, the teacher gave him this bonus class. He's down to teach him how to master it, starting with bone piercing. But first, there's a habit our hero needs to fix during restoration. The key is sending the skeleton to the right spot. So far, his technique uses the skull as the movement center. He needs to tweak it, shifting focus from the skull to a specific spot, using his willpower. Our guy remembered Fear saying how crucial will is. Time to make it happen. Simon's gonna try assembling the skeleton a bit ahead of him. Slowly, the creature starts forming. The bones are rearranging in front of him. Since he tweaked his technique, the assembly was kinda slow. Now that he needs to learn bone drilling, Aaron told him to see it as a new move. He also suggested gripping the bones a bit when moving them, for deeper hits. By shaping darkness on the bones, small blades can be made, and the teacher showed how. For non-sharp bones, they can be used differently, maybe to trap an opponent. A super creative way to use them. Simon decided to try this out too, making the bones latch onto an object. The force on the wood was so strong it snapped. Simon was hyped to nail it on the first go. Aaron said this is a cool way to use broken pieces. Now he needs to keep training for real battles. Knowing Professor Jane picked a Cyclops for the newbies to beat, Aaron asked if our hero would represent his group, but found out Malin would. The teacher thought this was smart. Support's key, and our guys got more to learn. Everything so far was just a bonus class. Finally, they said their goodbyes, with our hero saying thanks. Back with his crew, Simon apologized for being late. His friends were worried, thinking he got in trouble. But surprise, they found out he was in an extra class. At first, they didn't buy it, thinking Simon was in shock and didn't realize he was being punished. At least their poison project is going great. The mix is spot on. Now they just need 20 minutes of simmering. They can also use it in dark magic class to boost their grade. That night, Simon and his crew are totally wiped out, prepping hard for tomorrow's big presentation. Professor Jane noticed they've got a damage dealer, 2 supports, and a summoner, but they're missing that creative spark. And she's super curious to see what Group 7's gonna bring to the table. The poor students were ready to tackle a bunch of questions, but they already flopped on the theory part. Eyeing the students, Professor Jane asked how they split the roles in their squad. Malin explained their main goal was to quickly take down the creature, so they kept the roles pretty basic. Our main dude hears this and nods along, but he's starting to feel the jitters. Then, Jane asked Simon what he thinks about it. The boy thinks she's fishing for a different answer, but since they're still in the safe zone, Simon's sure it'll be chill. That presentation's all about getting some technical feedback on their strategy, and our guy wants to keep the confidence high and show teamwork's the real MVP. He admits they could have been more creative with the dark magic, but safety's the real deal. The hunt's gonna be smooth and safe. They'll make up for the creativity gap with practice. Jane seems to dig that answer, but she's not done with the questions yet. Now it's Ursula's turn to face the music. Being a hematology student, she should be on the attack, but that spot's taken by the curses student. Now Ursula's gotta back up the team with curses, and Jane's curious what she thinks about that. Group 7 knows this one's a toughie. They're crossing fingers the vampire girl can nail it. Simon tries to whisper some tips, hoping to hype up his friend, until finally she decided to gather all her courage. She said that the Cyclops' physiology is very particular. They've got super tough skin, and hematology's more about physical damage, so it wouldn't hit as hard. Malin's got the Black Flame, a mega powerful elemental spell, and that's their ace for the win. That's why Ursula thinks Malin should be the attacker in the group. After hearing this, Jane asked what they'd do if the monster was different. This made Ursula start to stammer a lot, not knowing what to answer. But, at the height of her nervousness, she said she would be the main attacker, but it ended up sounding differently. She implied she would be the main supplier of psychotropics. The whole class fell silent after that. Even our protagonist was left speechless. Only then did the girl realize what she had said. Holding back a smile, Professor Jane seemed to understand the proposal and said she would keep that information. Finally, she turned her attention to Dick, who was eager to respond to her. But instead of asking a question, Jane advised the boy not to talk during class. Later that same day, the students went to the cafeteria. They already have several assignments to do, and this part of the group is a bit confused. Simon is sitting at a table waiting for his colleague to arrive. No matter what happens, it is extremely necessary for them to meet that day. Among the students, someone seems to be drawing a lot of attention, since everyone knows who this black-haired girl is. Finally, Lorena appeared in the story again, and she is bothered by the attention from the extras, immediately asking if anyone has something to say to her. That made the poor souls decide to leave, giving Lorena some privacy. Simon found it very strange. Lorena is now very intimidating, almost like a different person. He still remembers the moments they spent together before entering the academy. They shopped all day, and she was quite friendly. Visibly embarrassed, Simon tries to talk to her, saying it's been a long time since they last saw each other. Lorena remained silent for a few moments, but she ended up responding to the protagonist very kindly. She seemed to have missed the boy. After asking how he is, Simon seemed to have forgotten how to speak, as he was surprised by that change in energy. In fact, to talk to her, our boy received a letter from Lorena herself, and the girl who did this favor seemed more excited than Lorena herself. Simon took the opportunity to say that the girl looks very pretty in the uniform, more than he imagined. Lorena immediately asked what he meant by that and if he considered her old. Simon immediately said that wasn't it. In the city, she seemed like a professional, and seeing her in student clothes now is a bit strange. However, Lorena did that just to tease the boy, and now she's smiling a lot. Anyway, Lorena wants to know why the protagonist wanted so much to talk to her. Simon spills the tea about a traitor in the academy, sharing his wild forest adventure. Lorena's all ears, soaking up every detail. Simon thinks it's a bit much to believe, but Lorena's like, nah, I'm buying it. She's curious about the cross he saw, so Simon starts describing it. An altar with a big ol' cross, and a lady tangled in thorns. Lorena's like, that's Diva, the goddess those Efnel priests worship. Simon's clueless about Efnel. Lorena explains it's the sacred uni, run by the Pope himself. Saints are big shots here, chosen in Efnel, turning into the Sacred Federation's secret weapons. Lorena's so mad she cracks a cup with her grip. She's fuming, wondering how a priest dared to sneak in there. She asks Simon if anyone else knows. He says his vampire buddy does. She was there too. Lorena thanks him, saying she'll spill the beans to her mom. She thinks it was smart to tell her. If true, this priest is as powerful as a professor, narrowing down suspects. If Simon had blabbed to a professor, they might have trashed the evidence, making things tricky. Once the director's in the loop, the investigation can roll. Simon feels a weight lift off his shoulders, but Lorena, all hyped up, wants to head to the Forbidden Forest. They gotta dig up more clues. Simon's pumped, but when they get there, he's gobsmacked. Everything he found is gone. The clearing's empty. While Simon's brain is buffering, Lorena checks it out. No traces, making it even shadier, showing this priest's got mad skills. Even without seeing the fight, she can tell by the spotless scene. What really grabs her attention is the core inside the academy. They think it's a force against the divine. Simon's got a burning question for Lorena. After the core's opened, he wonders if divine power can be used. Lorena says nope. She can't explain why, but that's the word on the street. Sacred power comes from faith in God, and darkness is labeled as cursed power. So naturally, these forces are always beefing. Lorena thanks Simon for his help, warns he might be in danger, and suggests he chill for a bit. But Simon's not about that life, thinking if the priest didn't see him, he's good, and being chased would just add more drama. Lorena's not thrilled with that. She says risking his neck for evidence is pointless. Simon, trying to calm her down, says if he suddenly changes his routine, the mole might catch on. Lorena's about to mention the guards, but Simon's like, same deal. If guards tail him, it'll just scream he's onto something. They're up against a hardcore priest who cracked the core. A fanatic like that is totally unpredictable. So Lorena makes him promise something. If she spots anything fishy, Simon will be protected, even if it cramps his style. Plus, she tells him not to do anything dumb, and they head back to the academy. When they get back, it's late, and Simon's thinking he can't keep that promise. Skipping classes could tank his grades, and getting kicked out for bad grades is a bigger threat. No way he's letting that happen. Knowing the risks, Simon chooses his grades, because as Fear said, there's loads to learn. Next day, students are in a magic circle. This was supposed to be second semester stuff, but Professor Jane's speeding things up. It's a virtual battle sim. Called Avalon, it's the only one on the continent. It can recreate any monster, so students can level up their battle skills. Jane was all, yo, this place is like an ancient fortress of illusions, but it's been upgraded over time. Time for her to spill the tea on how the students are going to get graded on this task. Rules are just like real combat. Students get 3 virtual battles before the real deal, and the creature only goes after the one attacking. That person's rocking a protective vest, and when their score hits 0, game over. Students gotta use this to check their strategy and get a taste of what the real thing might be. Now, everyone's gotta head to their waiting rooms. Right now, Group 5's gearing up for battle. There's this red-haired extra, Cindy, in the mix, and the team's looking pretty solid. Finally, the simulation kicks off. Everyone hears these heavy footsteps. A massive, scary creature shows up for the students. Cindy's all set to wrap this up fast. She charges at the creature, ready to land some hits. But the simulation? Total flop. They lasted just over a minute and barely scratched it. Dick noticed the creature's attack wipes out half their life points. They gotta be quick with those curses. Even though it's just a sim, everyone's super tense. Dick checks if Malin's cool. She says she is, but she's clearly on edge. Now it's time for Groups 3 and 7 to get tested. And guess what? Group 3's got that jerk Hector. The poor dude looks like he wants to say something to the main character. He thinks Simon's gonna be the attacker for his group, but nope, Malin's got that job. Hector's all offended, thinking the main character's just helping a buddy, but Simon's like, they picked the best for the job, and Hector's fuming. Group 7's stepping into the sim now. The support crew's gotta stay put. The creature can't see them, so they can chill, but if they step out of the circle, they're out. One of the monitors checks if Malin's ready. She's visibly anxious, but says yes. Her friends tell her to chill. It's just a sim. She thanks them for the pep talk. Finally, the sim kicks off. Group 7's up for evaluation. The creature charges at them like a bull in a china shop. Malin's super focused, asking if her friends remember the plan. They're all, yep. Simon's thinking his friends got this. Maybe he doesn't need to stress. Everything's on track. He just needs to nail his support role. But then, bam, one hit. Simon and his crew can't even process what just went down. Malin's already down, like a pillow tossed on the floor. Even though they flopped, Professor Jane said they tried to work the plan. Their spells distracted the creature at first. But the other stuff? Not so much. The rest of the team kinda dropped the ball. Weakening the creature with curses, and all that dark class stuff sounds cool, but they need more practice. That's all the professors got on this assessment. Finally, the main character heads out to the waiting room. Hector managed to take down the creature, and it seemed like a breeze for him. His team only needed 4 minutes, scoring a solid evaluation. The main character's team can't even wrap their heads around how that's possible. While they're still processing, Hector, the smug one, strolls by. With a grin like he just won the lottery, acting like this sim battle's the biggest deal ever. After their epic fail, Malin's got something to say. She's determined they'll win when the real fight comes. During the second try, weakening the monster didn't go so hot. Someone told Malin to dodge ASAP. She's gotta use darkness on her feet like in combat class she tried, but it was a hot mess. At least she dodged the damage, giving the others a shot to weaken the creature. The curses are doing their thing, but Malin's got the coordination of a baby giraffe. After hitting the ground, she's about to get squashed by the creature's club. All she can do now is scream like she's in a horror movie. The second try was a bust too, but better than the first. They've got one last shot. Thinking about this, Simon's got something to share with his team. Our guys cooked up a genius plan, practically a guaranteed win. Dick and the vampire girl gotta whip out some serious curse magic, stacking spells like pancakes, but they've never done this before. Simon's all, no worries, I got this, ready to manage the chaos with his epic invocations. Time to get cracking. The skeletons are out there playing defense, trying to stall the beast. They're giving it their all to buy some precious seconds. Earlier, Simon nudged his buddy Dick to bust out his secret move. Finally, the vampire girl nails the first part of the spell. Dick jumps in right after her, but the clock's ticking. One of the hero's skeletons just bit the dust. No sweat, he's got more summons to throw into the fray, keeping the creature busy like a cat with a laser pointer. This gives the squad the time they need to finish all the spells. Simon seizes the moment to rearrange his bony minions. Then the big baddie spots the magic, those black flames. Fuming, it charges at Malin, stepping right into her trap. The curses are unleashed at last, teamed up with those black flames. The poor beast got no chance, too drained to dodge the hit. But it ain't over yet, Malin's gotta dodge too. She remembers the hero's tip. Following his lead, she dodges just right. Now she's gotta outrun the beast, with all those curses kicking in. Simon tells the vampire girl to blind the creature. She whips up a spell pronto. A magical blindfold wraps around the creature's eyes, stopping it cold. The hero's summons are on high alert. They've been waiting to chain the beast to some trees. Blind and stuck, the creature's thrashing around. Simon tells Dick to beef up that chain, make it unbreakable. Dick's on it, no hesitation. The creature's in a real pickle now. Frozen in place, it's time to wrap this up. Malin's gearing up her spell again, sending those black flames to finish the job in the most epic way. Finally, her fire devours everything. The squad watches as victory's in sight. After getting roasted, the monster's toast. Its massive form crumbles before the students. Third time's the charm, they finally nailed it. Even though they won, they didn't snag the top score. But for a crew that flunked twice, this win's a big deal. The teacher gives props to Group 7. Their plan was solid, but they had to tweak it on the fly, gaining mad skills. Still, they gotta speed up and chill on the summons. Stacking curses was a bold move, but they goofed a bit, so more practice is key. With this feedback, the students are pumped. Back in the lounge, some extras swing by to give props. Cindy's all hyped, saying the hero and his crew are total legends. While they're soaking up the attention, someone's lurking. It's Hector, the jealous dude with major self-esteem drama. Class wraps up, and the teacher wishes everyone a lit weekend. The hero's pals want to keep grinding. Ursula realized she can level up big time. She even got asked out, which shocked Malin. But Ursula turned it down. She'd rather keep practicing with her squad. Dick's out, got a business gig in the city. Malin's not buying it, curious about the hero's excuse. Simon says he needs solo prep time. He mentions someone in the city who helps with summons, but we know he means Fear. Simon finally meets up with Fear, apologizing for needing a favor. He wants Fear to check out his skeletons. The shadowy figure asks if Simon's here to train. Simon says he's got new summons to add and needs some gear. Checking out the pieces, Fear asks what went down for them to be so busted. Simon explains it was a battle sim. Knowing these parts need a fix, Fear suggests using a human skeleton. It might be tricky, so Simon's gotta stay sharp. In this lesson, he's gonna learn to handle a bunch of skeletons. But first, he asked how many our dude can juggle at once. Simon said 2's his max, any more, and his brain's like a scrambled egg. Can't keep up with the commands. Fear told him to chill. It's not a biggie. What really counts is how well you control them. This time they're gonna throw down with skeletons, only 2 at a time. Fear told our hero to kick things off. With his undead squad, Simon sent the bones into battle. They seem to be giving Fear's skeletons a hard time. But then, bam, something happened super fast. One of our hero's skeletons almost got skewered by a spear, and now it's getting totally wrecked, to the point of being completely off balance. Flat on the ground, the poor skeleton can't even defend itself. Simon was bummed because he got attacked by a skeleton not even in the fight. Fear said just like him, he was only controlling 2. Simon didn't quite get it at first, but after thinking it over, he realized Fear was switching control, only handling 2 skeletons at a time. Thinking the dude got it, Fear explained that's called cross-operation. It's to beat his control limit. If he can't handle a bunch, he should focus on 2 at a time, to plan his moves. Simon's deep in thought about this. He made the skeleton's hands go up, making them do a massive high five. Our dude thinks that's what Fear meant, but the dark entity found it hilarious. Teaching this kid is a blast, now they can get back to a real fight. The training's goal is to make the hero get the cross operation. Back with his crew, they're all wiped out, even though they've leveled up a lot. Malin said the hero's control over his summons got way better. His progress is super obvious. They know he can only handle 2, but our dude managed 3 this time. Simon said he picked that up in his private lessons. Malin's curious about this awesome teacher, must be a genius. While he tries to keep it on the down low, Fear started grinning big time. Realizing he's become a hit with the kids, Simon asked the creature to chill a bit. His head was pounding. Fear said he could teach them all, they just need to die and join the squad. Telling her friends, Simon said his teacher's not into public appearances cause he's super busy. Dick told them to quit bugging, our hero's gotta keep his grades up thanks to the bet with Malin. Determined to keep leveling up, the girl said she doesn't need those private lessons and will outdo the hero by studying solo. Finally, the protection period for the students ended, and things are getting wild. They've already hit number 19. Professor Bahil's grading some papers, booting students left and right, telling them to bounce from his class. Freaked out, Dick and Simon saw 20 students get the boot just that day. Outside, the students are sprinting around trying to figure out why they're losing so many points. At least in this class, things are chill. The only struggle is physical. But Dick's almost lagging behind in that race, which got our hero worried. He thinks Malin's pushing it too hard. But that just made the girl run even faster. The next day they've got to face the creature, and that's got the hero stressed. Simon started thinking back to the chat with the vampire girl as she trained with Malin. While one tried to learn more about curses, the other went all out on physical training. Malin knows she can use the black flames, but her fitness is still meh. Dodging attacks is the toughest part. After that, they hit the books even more. What blew the vampire girl's mind was seeing her buddy stay up all night, just studying. But it's all good. That sleep loss was thanks to a potion, which kept Malin wide awake. Knowing she's always hitting the books is pretty impressive. But our hero can't quite get why she's so driven. At the end of the race, Malin was stoked and called our hero to check something out. She wanted to show him her new jump skills. Using darkness on her toes, Malin seems to have nailed it. Even Dick was super impressed by this. But the girl's waiting for the hero's feedback. Simon said she's nailing the technique, which made her super happy. Proof that late-night studying paid off. She leveled up big time in just a few days. Malin said it's all thanks to her secret training, but her ankles are looking kinda busted. Simon warned her not to push it too hard. They crushed it in the simulation, so the real deal shouldn't be too tough for them. She knows this, but isn't about to settle for just a pass. All that hustle has a purpose. She's gunning for the top spot in her class. Their chat got cut short by the teacher, who announced break time was over. Now they gotta dash to the next spot without a breather, but our main dude's worried about his friend's determination. After class, the buff teacher came over to chat with him. Super hyped, she asked if he's been practicing his darkness control, and our guy said he's leveled up a ton. She noticed too, his energy flows smoother, he's definitely gotten stronger. She said he's got a knack for combat, but while they were talking, a monitor rolled up. He's got bad news. One of the students jacked up their ankle. Bet it's Malin. The teacher went to check it out, but as she left, she told him to keep grinding. Back with his crew, Simon realized Malin's MIA. The vampire girl and Dick were lagging at the back during the race and missed Malin. Now our main dude's on the hunt, clueless about what went down. Then some students started gathering, and the teacher's face screamed concern. The injured student started limping over to everyone. Our main dude and his crew were totally shook. Sadly, Malin's competitiveness cost her big time. Poor thing messed up her ankle. In the infirmary, they said the sprain's pretty gnarly. She'll need crutches for a bit, but she can still hit up classes. Physical stuff's off the table for a week, which bummed everyone out, especially Malin, who's not vibing with this restriction. She stood up, claiming she could still walk. But she didn't even finish before she was groaning in pain, showing it's not that simple. The doc said he's got a few words for her. Not a suggestion, it's an order. Even though everyone's super competitive, the doc's just doing his job, trying to keep this girl healthy. For any class where she needs to stand, Malin's benched. Faced with this, she started apologizing to her friends, and she asked for a little alone time. Our main dude's got something to say to her too. Feeling sorry for herself won't change a thing, but she's still blaming herself, thinking her injury's gonna mess up the group project. Simon said they'll figure it out, but Malin's still bummed, saying they worked so hard, and now she's wrecked it all. Our main dude's optimism feels like a bad joke, and Malin's already accepted the blame. Now she thinks she'll tank everyone's grades, and her friends might get booted because of it. Simon had enough and told her to zip it. Looking at his other friends, Simon's got a plan. If no one objects, he'll be the team's attacker for this evaluation. The students are now trekking through a dark place, giving props to the principal for keeping so many dungeons and ruins around. Dick said the principal's a collector, so it's normal for her to bring cool stuff here. This shocked Ursula, thinking it's wild all this stuff's been collected. Our main dude's with these students, and next to him is Malin, looking pretty down. Some gossipers are feeling bad for them, thinking Team 7's in deep trouble. If a team member gets hurt, it's a problem for anyone. Even with all the gossip, they're trying to stay pumped. They decided to trust the main dude's game plan. Finally, it's Team 7's turn to get evaluated, and some are curious if Malin will fight with her busted leg. Among all the students, there's a jealous one watching everything. It's Hector, the jerk, keeping a close eye on things. Simon asked his friends if everything's cool. Even though things got a bit hairy, it doesn't mean they're done for. They gotta do their best with what they've got. There's still hope. The fierce and nasty creatures waiting for the students, ready to cause chaos. Team 7's already eyeing the epic challenge ahead. As the creature breaks free, Professor Jane's all chill, saying no need to sweat it too much. If things get too spooky, just hit pause on the exam. Finally, the curse holding back the monster is lifted. The tests barely started, and the creature's already eyeing the protagonist like a snack. Simon with his skeleton squad is ready to roll with the plan. He's got to keep the creature busy, but oops, one skeleton's now dust. The next one's about to face a major moment. Our hero dodges being the next target. At least he's quicker than the girl with the twisted ankle. Dick's spooked by the creature's moves. In the sim, it was all about the skeletons, but now it's all about the protagonist. Simon's in the thick of it, super tense. From the get-go, he's been the creature's main target, and it's throwing some serious punches. Simon sends a skeleton to sneak up on the monster, but the skeleton's sword is more brittle than a stale cookie, snapping on impact. Simon's realizing this is way tougher than the sim, but he's bought some time. His crew's already casting the exhaustion curse. It hits the creature hard, and this is the moment Simon's been waiting for. Going on the offensive, Simon's ready to flip the script. He grabs a spear, looking for the perfect spot to strike. He throws it, just nicking the creature's face. Not a KO, but the monster's ego? Totally bruised. Even cursed, the monster's still a big threat to our hero, who's dodging another massive hit. Without his shadow skills, he'd be toast. Luckily, the buff professor's got his back, sharing some pro tips. But as he tries to escape, someone yells for him to look up. Everything's a blur, the creature almost snags him. His defense drops to 72%. Yikes. If it hit full force, this would be game over. Then someone spots something off with the test. The monster's acting all wrong. It's way tougher than what other teams faced. And even cursed. It's wild. The assistant asks Professor Jane to call it off, but she's a bit of a thrill seeker, wanting to watch more. Her assistant's all about fairness, but Jane's not vibing with that. Fairness isn't really the Academy's thing. Life's harsh, and on a real mission, quitting's not an option. The assistant keeps pushing, saying the students are newbies, but Jane's not listening. Experience is the real teacher. If it works, it works. If not, well, life goes on for the survivors. They're all Academy students after all. Even though she's tough, Jane believes in them, wanting to give them more time. The crew's already figuring out they need a new game plan. Hiding behind some rubble, Simon's got a hunch something's off. Dick's clueless why the creature's still raging, even after 3 curses. The monster's still on the hunt for the protagonist. Simon tells them to ditch the curse plan. It's a flop. Malin's not on board since curses worked for everyone else. Simon insists, can't explain it, but he's sure his buddies noticed too. Time for a new attack plan. Our boy starts to stand up. The creature spots him instantly. Simon tells his crew to do their thing. Their battle plan's toast now. Simon charges towards the chaos, telling his friends to back him up however they can, cause that's what he needs. While dodging the creature, Simon sees a teammate got the memo and strikes the monster's face. Ursula's the hero, always stepping up for the protagonist. Dick tosses some gear to our boy, swords, now in the skeleton's hands. This time they actually land some hits on the creature, which is too busy trying to shake off the spell blinding its eyes. Simon's out here trying to scoop up darkness like it's ice cream, just like Professor Bayhill taught him. Finally, he nails it. And our dude's got determination levels over 9,000. Boom. Skeletons popping up everywhere like it's a spooky party. Thanks to Fear's epic training sesh, Simon's ready to unleash a massive coordinated smackdown. The monster's getting skewered like a kebab, and those undead are totally raging. The monster that was all attack mode now has to play defense, and it's not happy about it. The crowd's watching, and they're like, whoa, Team 7's got some next level strats. Hector, the jealous one, is watching like a hawk, while Simon's getting all the admiration from his classmates. Simon's got this feeling, like he's missing something, like he can level up even more. Fear's words echo in his head, saying he needs a strong will to control the undead. Negative vibes are the secret sauce for this. Fueled by pure hatred, Simon's command is clear, that enemy's gotta go. The undead go full beast mode, attacking like they're in a monster movie. As Simon's vibes get darker, his friends are low-key freaking out, because the skeletons are using their own bones as weapons. Hardcore, right? The creature that was once a threat is now Simon's chew toy. In a last-ditch effort, the monster charges at Simon, ready to end him. Ursula's freaking out, and Simon knows he's got 0 time to react. But the girl with the busted ankle isn't out of the game yet. She's cooking up a powerful spell. A bright blue glow lights up the scene. The creature charging in gets turned into a giant popsicle. But Simon's gotta keep the pressure on. Malin's like, don't chill now. We gotta seal the deal. Guys, the creature didn't actually become a popsicle. It's just blocked by a massive ice wall. But this wall's not gonna hold forever, as the creature keeps smashing it with rage. Ursula whips out a dark blood domain move. She goes full savage on the poor creature that got yanked from the forest. After using up her power, she almost faceplants, but Dick's there to catch her. Now that she's done her bit, it's Simon's turn to finish the job. Simon's feeling confident, ready to handle it all. Remembering Professor Aaron's lessons, he starts lifting bone shards everywhere, using them like nails to wreck that creature. The crowd's super impressed, jaws dropping all around. The monster's flesh is now a canvas of wounds. Simon tells his crew to unleash the poison they brewed up. They chuck it right at the creature's wounds, no hesitation. Simon's over this fight, hoping the monster stays down for good. The creature's power is fading fast, but in its last moments, it starts gnawing like a rabid dog. Simon realizes the poison's a bust. He's gotta finish it off. Dick, trying to help, tosses something to Simon. It's a sword, and seriously, who throws a sword? That's more dangerous than the monster. Anyway, it's got a power-up spell that lasts 10 minutes. Simon's sure that's enough time to wrap this up. As he charges the monster, it tries to fight back. Then Simon feels something super weird, worse than any. Stomachache. He drops to the ground, legs totally useless. The crowd's cheering him on, hoping he pulls through. Even Hector's curious, stepping closer to see what's up. Professor Jane's worried. Her notebook hits the floor. All while Simon's stuck, a passenger in his own body. But this story's not over. Simon's gotta survive, and a magic circle appears under him. He hears a command. Jump now. With new energy, he dodges the creature's move. Thanks to that, he lands in a prime spot, ready to strike back. But the monster's not making it easy. Simon sees the stick coming. Another big hit lands. This time it's a direct smack, and Simon's defense is down to 7%. Pinned to the wall like some weird art piece. Simon's trying to figure out his mistake, but that's not important now. He refuses to lose. Time to unleash his true necromancer power. Simon, with a determined look, started piecing together his creature's bones, like a puzzle master on a mission. Suddenly, a bony hand grabbed the sword he was using, floating like a ghostly ninja in the air. This hand was no joke, slicing through the creature like it was made of butter. Simon, totally wiped out, hit the ground, feeling like a deflated balloon. But hey, the monster was down too, its head rolling away, giving Team 7 the ultimate win. Professor Jane announced the victory, and Simon was all about that celebration life. His squad hyped him up, everyone buzzing with excitement. Malin, grinning ear to ear, told Simon she owed him big time. Simon, seizing the moment, complimented her skills, making her blush like a tomato. She tried to apologize for yesterday, but Ursula and Dick were busy showering Simon with thanks. Kinda wild that Malin even apologized, right? Once the dust settled, Professor Jane was just glad everyone survived the chaos. But let's be real, in this academy, it's all about those sweet, sweet results. Time for evaluations, starting with Group 1. Their techniques were fire, but relying on one person? Rookie move. They messed up a bit. So yeah, points were lost. Jane told 2 students to hold hands, leaving them confused. She was like, sort out your beef, or it's gonna mess up your teamwork. Simon was shook at how much the teacher knew, and Dick was like, dude, there's more to be shocked about. Malin pointed out more groups nailed the task than the simulation, so grades are the new stress. Hector's group got props for teamwork and speed, making everyone wonder if he's the class MVP. Hector, the Envy King, was loving the praise. Finally, it was Simon's squad's turn. Jane called them a hot mess, taking forever and barely getting anything done. Their plan flopped, so they went full chaos mode. They got a D, but Simon still thanked them, cause he's a class act. But wait, there's more. The creature's autopsy revealed some wild stuff. Turns out, the curse and potions made the monster go beast mode. When the curse lifted, it got super aggressive, like a hangry beast. The admin realized Group 7 had it tougher than the rest. Everyone was shook, jaws on the floor. Teacher Jane said they faced a beast as tough as a red cyclops, so they're getting a fair shake with a different evaluation. Hector, the Envy King, was not vibing with this plot twist. Time for the real grades. Jane called Malin first. She was a strategy queen, her darkness skills on point, but got hurt pre-test. She scored a solid 80 points for her efforts. Next up, Dick, the MVP support, smooth as butter in the strategy. He also snagged 80 points from the teacher. Ursula, with her blood magic, dealt some serious damage, earning her 85 points. Finally, Simon's turn. He was the team's fighter, handling surprises like a pro, leading like a boss. His summoning skills were top-notch, and his creativity was off the charts. He never gave up, pushing for that win. For all that, he scored a perfect 100 points. The teacher even wished she could give him more. Simon's squad was on cloud 9, the extras hyping them up. But in the middle of the party, Hector, the Envy King, was telling his crew to zip it. Watching Simon's joy was like nails on a chalkboard for him. That night, Simon and his crew celebrated under the stars, chilling by a campfire. Whoa, plot twist. Someone snuck in some real deal drinks, the kind that makes you go, whoa, not before driving, buddy. The buff teacher was all chill about it, saying she'd be their guardian for the night, and the academy gave her the thumbs up. Even though the protection period's done, it doesn't mean the teachers are all bye Felicia to the students. Actually, these kiddos should keep grinding, and hearing that, they got a little pep in their step. Dick, wasting zero time, wanted to hit up the buff teacher with some questions. He wasn't sure if it was just him, but he asked if she was playing favorites with the main character. Malin was like, dude, rude much? But the teacher was cool with it, saying she's just a regular person and sometimes vibes with certain students. Dick, feeling a bit awkward, was like, let's just forget it and get back to the drinks, which made the teacher crack up, saying she was just messing around. She pulled them in for a group hug, saying she vibes with all of them. And guess what? She had some epic news to drop, making the main character super curious. Next week, they're all getting thrown into a real mission. The next day, Dick spilled more tea to the main character. It's a big deal at the academy. After the protection period, it's mission time, lasting 5 days. They could be doing anything from part-time gigs to monster hunting or playing bodyguard. Even the necromancer level tasks are up for grabs. Imagining the danger, Simon thought the rewards must be lit. And yep, depending on how wild it gets, the academy will rate them and throw some cash their way. It's a top-tier way to cover their supply costs. Since our dude's all about summoning, Dick said he's got a solid shot at making bank. During mission time, they gotta nail at least one task. If they flop, no cash, no rating, and they gotta write a sorry my bad letter to dodge trouble. They can stretch the mission time to wrap up a task, but then, no classes for them. Some students play it safe with easy tasks, while others go big, chasing that coin. Simon realized he needs a game plan, stat. While they were wandering around, Dick stumbled on something cool. The task envelopes are color-coded. White's a breeze, blue and red are medium, and black's hardcore. Priests are a given. Going too easy isn't always smart, cause it messes with their grades. This part's gotta be on point. Bad mission grades can lead to sketchy tasks, inching them closer to getting the boot. Dick told our guy to think it over and decide, so they can chat later. Simon thought about creature hunting on the island, but he needs a squad of 3. Fear mentioned they're heading to the mainland. Priority 1, rally the battalion troops. Simon wondered if they'd meet someone stronger than Fear, and Fear, feeling a bit salty, was like, I'm the boss, no one questions my power. But he admitted some generals were beastly. Simon didn't even know those ranks existed. Fear explained the troops are massive, so a command chain's a must. Simon realized the missions to find these generals, getting hyped about the possibilities. Clueless on where to start, Fear told him to chill. The generals are all wild, so they're bound to stir up trouble. Checking out the board, Simon asked Fear if anything weird popped up. Fear pointed him to the red envelopes. As Simon headed over, he bumped into someone. It was Hector, the jealous dude. He asked if Simon was hitting up the neutral zone, and Simon said he was just browsing. This zone's a no-rules zone. The academy's got zero pull there. With a smirk, Hector said he couldn't wait to see Simon there. As Hector walked off, Simon called out, telling him to sleep with one eye open, cause big mouths tend to get shut early. Our hero kept moving, leaving a pretty ticked-off Hector behind. Ignoring the drama, Fear spotted an intriguing request, a city overrun by zombies. But on closer look, all the requests were basic. Nothing screamed general level. Then, a blue envelope caught Fear's eye. A missing person, a mummified woman found. Fear seemed really into this one. Seeing a pic inside that envelope, Simon was totally spooked. Fear, though, was super hyped. He thinks he finally found her, an undead boss lady who commands a spider army, Erzabet. Elsewhere, with snaps of that body, a woman asked if this could be sorted out. A person with a hidden face said the goddess will save the people of that continent, and he promised to do this in the name of that goddess. After revealing his face, turns out it's a girl, Ellen, and she's in her 2nd year at the Sacred Academy, promising to fix that mess. Back to our main dude. He's taking a deep breath before knocking on a door. Announcing his arrival, he told the teacher that it's Simon coming to her. Teacher Jane let the student in. Reading some docs, Jane wanted to know if the boy came to chat about the mission, so she asked to peep at what he picked, and Simon handed over his paper. Without a second thought, Jane told him to pick another task, as that is not something a first-year student could handle. Determined, Simon said he really wants to do it, as he's sure he can nail it. After hearing these words, Jane started jotting down some stuff, sparking the protagonist's curiosity. She seemed to have given her own thumbs up, recognizing that the boy must have a solid reason to be confident, and there's no need to convince her. As a member of that academy, what he needs to learn is to be responsible for his own actions. She hopes she's not being played by this young dude. But upon seeing the approval, Simon couldn't hide his own excitement, and the teacher wished him a safe return. Meeting with Dick, our boy came to share the epic news. He really got that task. Even Malin was worried about it, and our protagonist felt grateful, which ended up making Malin blush, thinking it could be taken the wrong way. She's not worried about him, not like that. Switching topics, she said she took on an escort task. It won't be tough and will ensure a good score. Simon asked what she'd do if she ran into bandits. Malin already has a plan. She'll flash the school's crest, which will be more than enough. Our boy thinks it's a chicken move, while Malin called him a dummy, as that's why so many requests are made to the academy. As everyone needs to bounce now, they said their goodbyes, hoping to meet next week. It was then that the protagonist met someone. It's that mysterious girl, who's also a prodigy and whom our protagonist saw during the enrollment ceremony. Cern formally introduced herself to him as the successor of the Ivory Tower and a student accepted under special admission. Our boy also introduced himself, but was left speechless. Cern seems to know that the protagonist is looking after Malin. She said that Malin can be tricky at times but has a kind heart, and she just asked the protagonist to keep an eye on her. Simon found those words odd and asked why Cern was saying that to him. After all, Malin is a student of that place just like they all might be. She shouldn't be seen as a newbie, especially since her performance is top-notch and doesn't need any worry. An audible alert announced that the teleportation device would soon be activated, and students must stay within the safety markings. As she gradually disappeared, Cerna smiled at the protagonist, saying they'd catch up soon. This quick chat left the protagonist drained. It's super tiring for him to deal with nobles. Since both are from the Ivory Tower, he gets the concern, he just doesn't vibe with Cern's way of treating Malin like a kid. A skeleton inside armor started to whine to the protagonist, asking why he put it in such a tiny spot. Simon said there was no other choice. It was the only armor he could snag, and it's the only disguise available. As they are already heading to the designated place, it's time to start gathering intel. Fear knows that the client is the lord of that region and told the protagonist to meet him, presenting himself as a student of the academy. The next step will be to stretch their legs a bit. Fear said he did that a lot in Richard's company. The more they walk, the more intel they gather, besides being the best route. But since they only have 5 days, the protagonist is stressed. Fear said they could also buy info. Thief guilds can be clutch at this moment. Now the protagonist wants to find an informant. Fear said that where drinks are sold, info is also sold. Now that he has a set spot, Simon is pumped to start working. Upon entering the bar, he was immediately welcomed. This is where he's crashing. Our dude asked for a big room and some grub, tossed a gold coin and said, "Keep the change, bro." What he's really after is the scoop on where to find the Thieves Guild. A bit freaked out, the secretary asked why he's here, and our hero shot back, "Is this how you treat all your guests?" asking for a gold coin to spill the beans. Fear was vibing with the hero's style and doesn't spill secrets for free. Clutching his sword, Fear heard the hero smack the table, demanding info on the missing peeps. Time for this poor sidekick to spill the tea. Everything worked out, and outside, Fear said they could speed things up now. Most missing are dudes, but they only find girls' bodies, untouched. Fear said the entity uses the guys, and since it's not into girls, it just drains their blood. Something Erzabet would totally do. Fear's sure she's in town. Entering another spot, our dude got a warm welcome again. The guy asked what he wanted, and Simon said, "There's a secret menu here." Dropping a coin on the table, he said he'd like that special order. The guy said he'd take him inside. After heading down some stairs, Simon was in a whole new world with a bunch of armed dudes, until the waiter opened a door for our dude, and he was greeted by a woman inside. Curious, she asked what brought him to her guild. Cutting to the chase, Simon said he's here to buy info, and the stunning woman asked what he wanted to know. Simon said he's hunting for deets on the missing peeps, wanting all the intel she had. She said that's gonna cost a lot and wondered if a first year from Kizan Academy could swing it. Seeing his reaction, the woman told him to chill. She just guessed since the Lord's desperate to crack the case, making requests to all sorts of folks to solve it. Kizan's just one of many. And as he might have noticed, this place isn't loaded and can't afford a pro necromancer, so they hit up students. And those who roll in this time of year are the newbies. Taking her hand, then our hero had to flex a bit. He said her guess was spot on. Simon figured all these folks took the same route as him for info. Holding her hand tight, he said, "No one's cracked the case yet, and that's why it landed on him. No one here seems to have a clue about what's going down. Even though it's been happening for years, no one knows who's behind it." Simon's finding it super sus since no one's got the 411. Maybe everyone's bamboozled by some slick lies. Could be this guild's full of noobs, but Simon hopes not. After all he did to get here, he wants to believe this woman's got the goods. Letting go of her hand, he asked if he's wrong about that. And a bit more intense, he told her to spill the truth fast, or he might flip the place. The woman apologized to him, asking our hero to let go of her other hand. Since he wants the truth, she's got no choice, but the risk is all his. Heading to another room, the thief asked our dude to hang tight, giving Simon a breather, as it was too wild for him, while Fear cracked up. Seeing the undead grinning, Simon asked what's up. Fear said he had doubts before, but now he's sure, telling him to stay sharp. While Simon seemed clueless, someone behind them started to morph. From their body, a bunch of spiders started popping out. Fear said that thief is Erzabet herself. The spiders are closing in. Fear said these critters are Erzabet's kids. Back to the hero, the thief said the boy's got mad willpower. Too bad she won't see him again. Realizing things are about to get hairy, Simon asked for Fear's help, who's already drawing his sword. With a few swift moves, Fear took out some critters, getting Erzabet's attention right away. Fear was all, "What's this wild plan this lady's cooking up in our tiny town?" He mentioned the battalion's back, and it's time to quit the nonsense. But the thief just grinned. She wasn't about to head back to the battalion. Smashing the floor, she called Fear a fool, saying Richard used them and tossed them aside. Amid the chaos, Fear shields the main dude, telling him to duck. After all they've been through, the thief can't get why Fear's still with the battalion. While squashing spiders, the undead calls the thief a fool, saying humans messed with her head. The battalion's all about power and will. A general like her shouldn't get caught up in feelings. But the thief's fuming, saying Richard ditched them for some random woman. Since then, Erzabet's sworn to hate Richard forever. Spotting a chance, Fear strikes with precision. He's done with her arrogance, ready to end it all. Summoning his sword, Fear challenges her, asking how she dares defy the battalion's master. Seems she's forgotten the good old days. Seeing another attack coming, Erzabet starts moving too. Hearing she once crawled to Fear like a lost puppy, this just ticks Erzabet off more, and she attacks fiercely. Her strikes are sharp, slicing through everything. Erzabet sees Fear's powers taking a hit. His seal must have cracked recently. Making a hole in the ceiling, Erzabet says goodbye, leaving Fear fuming. But she leaves with a grin, eyeing the academy boy with interest. Simon's shocked. He didn't think the whole guild was Erzabet's doing. Now she's gone. They've got to handle these pesky spiders causing chaos. Until something new pops up, grabbing Simon's attention. It's that priestess girl, watching everything, wanting the monsters to brawl. Raising her staff, she says she's got to chase that woman. After dealing with the folks left behind, spotting a bluish glow, Simon knows what's up, as the girl waves goodbye. A bright light blinds our hero and Fear, leaving them clueless. When the light fades, the girl realizes she missed her shot. She can't spot her targets, but no worries. It's time to chase that giant spider. Fear didn't expect a priest to be in the mix too. Now our hero's clueless on finding Erzabet. Fear tells him not to stress. The woman's nearby. He can sense her darkness, and they'll track her down. The snag is they bump into a priestess. Simon thinks she's super strong, and Fear agrees. She's tougher than him. Judging by her uniform, she's from FNL. Probably on a similar mission, so she's likely in her second year or higher. Simon figures he needs to complain to the local lord, cause this task's way harder with a priest involved. Seeing Simon's worried, Fear spills the tea. Erzabet loved Richard, Undead in a battalion crave a human leader, and Erzsébet was super emotional, but Fear didn't think she'd still feel that way and turn it into hate. Now that Simon's in the loop, they gotta keep working, but before they leave, they hear cries for help. Some folks are tied up, scared a giant spider's gonna eat them. Simon rushes to free them. Fear sighs, saying Simon's too soft-hearted to be a necromancer. Scolding him, Fear says he should turn people into soldiers, but Simon hands a weapon to a freed hostage to help others, telling Fear that's a no-go. The undead says no one's watching, and if Simon liked rules, he wouldn't have gone to the Forbidden Forest. Anyway, Simon says he's just following his dad's advice. Fear's curious about what lesson that fool taught. Simon says his dad told him never to become a monster. The boy asked for more deets, and his dad said to keep important boundaries. Fear grinned, knowing Richard would totally say that, leaving Simon scratching his head. But the undead was all about changing the convo. If the battalion's boss decides, Fear's cool with it. In some ancient ruins, Erzsébet was spotted. She finally stopped her epic run. Our hero tracked her dark vibes. Erzsébet saw this coming, so she chilled, waiting for the dude. Before the showdown, Simon had a wild idea for the ex-general. He asked her to rejoin the squad. Erzsébet was like, no way, not after they backstabbed me. And there's more. She called him a rookie, picked by Fear for silly reasons. Simon wasn't having it, dropping the Valentia family bomb, son of Richard and Anna, leaving Erzsébet speechless. Simon reminded her she was once his dad's general, so it's only right the commander's kid makes the same offer, but Erzsébet told him to zip it. To her, the invite was a major diss. Hearing Anna's name was the worst, a woman she seriously loathes. Her whole vibe shifted to pure rage. Now, all she wants is to take out the hero, charging at him with fury. Yet Simon stayed super chill. Fear hyped the plan and moved as Erzsébet lunged. Some of the spider's legs got sliced off. The creature shrieked, feeling pain and rage all at once. Simon spotted a chance in the chaos. He popped open his virtual stash, snagged a spear, powered it up with his darkness, nailed Erzsébet in the arm, pinning her down. With her stuck, Simon said it's her last shot. Join the squad or face the end. Erzsébet stayed silent. Instead, she tried a sneaky attack, but Fear's sword blocked it just in time. It was a close call. Fear yanked Simon aside to shield him. A massive attack came their way. That light meant big trouble. Simon realized it was sacred power, barely dodging it. The priestess found them, all her targets in one spot. She vowed to finish them off that day. Tossing a pebble in the air, she said her goodbyes, launching another attack. Simon asked what's next. Fear said the priority is taking down the priestess. Erzsébet's hurt and hiding. Fear knows sacred power's no joke, but assured Simon can KO her with one hit. He'll handle the attack. Simon's job is to distract the priestess. The girl's hunting her targets, noticing Erzsébet's missing legs, making her job way easier. With the next strike, it's game over. The priestess fired a light arrow at Erzsébet. She watched it come, too weak to react. Then she saw something wild. Our hero used his body as a shield, like he knew plot armor had his back. Erzsébet, clueless about fourth wall stuff, was totally shook, badly hurt. Simon dropped to his knees, a big hole in his chest. Blood dripped, his eyes closing, until he finally blacked out, leaving Fear super worried. Later, a campfire flickered nearby. Simon slowly opened his eyes. First thing he saw was a spider. He jumped up, startling Fear, who was waiting for that. Simon wanted the deets on the priestess and Erzsébet, finding out they're still around. Erzsébet's all good, while the girl who nearly ended him was locked up. She was once cocky, now she's begging for mercy. Fear said after Simon's sacrifice, he teamed up with Erzsébet to win, easier than expected. Simon asked to put the girl down, since they were hired to fix this mess. Might as well hear her out. On her knees, the priestess thanked them for mercy. Simon said, hold up, she's gotta answer some questions first. So, Fear asked this girl if she goes to FNL, and she was like, nah, which totally bummed Fear out. She was rocking the uniform though, so it was kinda sus. Turns out, the uniform's a fake. She got kicked out 2 years ago, didn't even finish her first year. Everyone's like, why you still pretending? And she goes, I can't deal with it yet. Plus, I gotta help my fam with cash. That's why she's faking being a student at this fancy academy. Erzsébet's not buying it though. She thinks the girl's just trying to dodge the truth. So she starts ripping the uniform apart. And guess what? It's just regular clothes. Erzsébet's like, whoa, this uniform's as tough as Kizan's. Now the girl's kinda exposed, so our hero gives her a coat to cover up. He asks her name and she says she's Ellen. Simon's curious how she got this gig without being a student. Ellen heard some whispers at the border about a well-paid mission to take out undead. Simon wants to know if she talked to the big boss there. Ellen says she heard it straight from him. While they're asking for proof, Erzsébet's watching everything super closely. It's like she's seen this scene before, a necromancer chatting with a priestess. But back then, it was Richard and Anna. Erzsébet thought she'd forgotten all about it. Now Simon's got the papers Ellen had. Fear's wondering what he's gonna do with them. Simon's like, gotta chat with the Lord, see what I can score. Fear's stoked, saying the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Erzsébet jumps in too. She says she'll rejoin the squad, but there's a catch. She points at the girl they just beat and tells the hero to choke her out. Ellen's freaking out, obviously. Simon asks if Elizabeth's serious. With a dark vibe, she says that's her only condition. Before doing anything, Simon asks why he should off the girl. Elizabeth says it's to prove he's worthy of her loyalty. Simon needs to choose his words wisely. He questions why he needs to prove himself to her. Elizabeth's confused, and Simon's like, "You're wrong. You were in my dad's squad, but I'm my own person. He'll lead the squad his way." And from what he's seen, Elizabeth's not really qualified. She's all about her dark thoughts and emotions, missing the important stuff. Taking out the girl won't prove anything. It's just Elizabeth's excuse to get her way. She wants to control our dude, to satisfy her wild impulses. Simon can't trust someone like that. He says the new squad doesn't need insecure folks like her. As the convo wraps up, Simon bounces, leaving Elizabeth behind. Thinking chasing her was a total waste of time. Outside, Fear asks if Simon's really ditching her. Simon's like, "Nah, it's not just about being the boss." He sees Elizabeth super impulsive and clingy, and if they clash later, there's no other choice. Fear's curious if getting stabbed by the sacred spear was part of the plan. Simon just grins and says, "That's a secret." Ellen apologizes for what went down, and Simon's chill, knowing she was aiming elsewhere. Still, Ellen's worried. The spear went through his chest, where necromancers have their cores. But Simon's all good. Fear knows the spear hit the core, but can't figure out how Simon's still kicking. Their contract's fine, which should be impossible. It's like crazy luck. Everything's getting more mysterious. Then Simon snaps Fear out of it, telling him to keep moving. Finally, Simon meets the lord of the area. The bald guy introduces himself as Raymond. Seeing Simon's clothes, he guesses the journey was long, and not sure how to repay him, suggests he takes a break. Yo, so Simon's all, "Nah, I'm not tired," cause he just used a teleport gadget to pop over to that region. The bald dude's getting all flustered, offering to whip up a meal for Simon, but Simon's like, "Nah, got more questions, bro." It's super late, and the bald guy's pushing for Simon to catch some Z's. He calls for snacks and drinks, but Simon's like, "Nah, got serious biz to chat about, just us two." The bald dude's sweating bullets, trying to say the issue's already sorted, offering to pay Simon for the hassle. Simon's all, "That's sus, cause I just heard about more missing peeps this morning." Plus, Simon's not about to take cash for something he didn't do. Time for the bald dude to spill the beans. Getting a bit heated, the bald guy bangs the table, telling Simon to zip it, cause he's just a first year, and he's stepping up to account. Right then, troops roll into the room. Armed guards circle Simon, and he's not vibing with the threats. Time to show who's really boss here. Simon flexes some of his summons, ready to give the bald dude a real fright. The soldiers are shook seeing the undead. Fear jokes, "Looks like we're adding new skeletons to the squad, sweet." The bald dude's freaking out. Can't believe a first year's got so many summons. He's so spooked he hits the floor. Back to biz, Simon's asking if the bald dude's down for a showdown. Trying to flex his noble status, the bald guy's like, "You're bold for trying to scare me." He makes it clear Simon's got no clout to mess with the Black Alliance. No proof, nada. That's what Simon was waiting for. Fear's holding something. Seeing her, the bald dude knows he's in deep trouble. While trying to sort things out, Simon's like, "Oh, snag this priestess. She's out cold, cursed. If she spills the tea at the academy, it's gonna be juicy. Bringing a priest here? Total betrayal." Simon wants to know if the bald dude's in on this. On his knees, the bald guy knows he's toast. He starts begging, saying he had to fix this mess no matter what. Everyone's freaking out. He's pleading for mercy, worried about his people. The bald dude's like, "The prince is visiting soon. Can't have drama when he's here. His visit's gonna boost business." That's why he kept it all hush-hush, tried to fix it solo. After 3 months, nada, so he hit up a priest. But he never thought he'd actually get one. Owning up, the bald guy's like, "Punish me, not them." That region's prime real estate, near the Sacred Federation. Simon doesn't want it wrecked. Plus, he digs the city. He'll keep it on the DL to save the region, but there's a catch. The punishment's gonna be harsh, but the bald guy's got a leg up until a guard barges in. Loads of undead are swarming the castle. Checking the walls, the bald guy sees their spiders, no clue how they got there. Simon tells everyone to chill and open the gate, he's gonna check it out. The bald guy's worried, but Simon's like, "I got this." Even as a newbie, he's a necromancer, knows his stuff. Chatting with Elizabeth, Simon's curious why she's there. Elizabeth's all, "Wanna join your squad?" But this time, she's way more chill, begging for a shot, ready to prove herself. Simon lays down some rules. No human munching without a green light. If she's hungry, go monster hunting. In the city square, the bald dude's announcing the drama's over. Everyone's partying outside. Simon's got 2 rules for Elizabeth. No putting his squad in danger, and she's gotta listen to him, no questions asked. Elizabeth feels like she's diving into chaos again. Willingly, the deal's a total bummer, but given their history, she'd make this choice a million times over. Elizabeth's all in to stick by our hero's side, no cap. Her body and soul, totally his now. Fear's clocked that she's super into the protagonist. In return, she just wants one thing from the dude. His love. She's chill about it though, saying even a little affection is cool for now. Elizabeth's buzzing to seal the deal, and bringing her epic skills closer, she's making him sweat bullets. Finally, the deal's done. Simon had to put his hand on his new general's core. Elizabeth's baffled by how this guy can be so adorbs. Fear gave her a warm welcome. Erzabet realized it's been ages since she last had a contract. She threw shade again, saying Fear's super weak. Still, her new boss's dark vibes are kinda soothing. Time to hit the road again. Ellen's waiting outside. Simon gave her props for the assist. She asked how she did, and if anyone doubted her, Simon was like, "You crushed it." Thanks to everyone's hustle, Simon scored big, 500 coins, 10 times the original payout. And surprise, surprise, our boy tossed some coins Ellen's way. Knowing she's got a fam to support, it's only fair to help out. Ellen was touched, saying she'd never forget it. Simon asked if she's heading back to the Sacred Federation. She said she's off to a place called Loharan, and if our hero ever swings by, she'd give him the grand tour. But Simon's hoping they don't bump into each other on a battlefield next time. Fear was deep in thought, letting the priestess go and giving her cash. Simon knows tougher missions are coming, so building a network's smart. After sharing some coins, they're now partners in crime. Fear saw the protagonist earned her trust with kindness. And yep, that's what went down. Fear's still figuring out if he's a good guy or a sneaky mastermind. But our boy made it clear his mom's a priestess, and he's not hating just cause someone's different. No need for extreme moves. Simon's all about hitting his goals. Fear's gonna need more time to figure out what makes the protagonist tick. With time to spare, Simon's keen to keep training, since back at the academy, he can't use the battalion as much. Solid plan, Fear suggested learning from Erzabet this round. She noticed they were chatting about her spiders. Seeing it's a smart move, it's time for the protagonist to master them as Erzabet's new boss. She'll teach him the spider basics. Simon's hyped to pick up a new skill. These little critters' main gig is spinning webs, a skill that can totally lock down a target's moves. The web's also handy for getting around. After summoning some spiders, Erzabet told him to command them to web up a tree. Simon shut his eyes, focusing hard on the order. The spiders snapped to it, firing webs at the chosen tree. That's step 1. He can also have the spiders poison targets. These are the basic moves. While they're chatting, they hear noises in the woods. Monsters are nearby, perfect practice targets. Some spiders are already chilling high in a tree. As soon as the monsters stroll by, the web's unleashed. This put the creatures on high alert. The protagonist ordered the spiders to leap, and they did it instantly, heading for the forest floor monsters, webbing them up again, which totally messed with the creature's movement. One spider landed right on a monster's face, injecting its venom with precision. Erzabet gave Simon props for his spider control, impressive for a first-timer. She soon spotted a creature settlement nearby, with loads of orcs. This is prime time for Simon to level up his battalion command skills. Our dude started thinking about this. With some free time, it's time to snag a gig worth 500 gold coins. Hunting monsters, Simon's rallying his crew for the battle. Fear's having a blast, causing chaos everywhere. The spiders aren't slacking either, catching creatures off guard with their webs. They snagged victory super quick, totally crushing it. Simon loved leading the squad this time. Handling all those summons made him feel like a real necromancer. Erzabet said they only won because of the protagonist's epic leadership. Our dude played it cool, saying his crew did most of the work, calling Erzabet Erza, which is a relief, cause that name was a mouthful. And turns out she dug it, asking what he just called her. Realizing it was a nickname, Erzi felt on top of the world, and our protagonist was with me, desperate to shorten that name. But since she's happy, he'll keep the truth on the down low. Fear said it's his turn to do that too. Pointing at the bodies, he said it's time to turn them into skeletons. With all those orcs, the squad's gonna be stronger. But the protagonist said Fear's missing a tiny detail. Simon hasn't learned the trick to bring the dead back yet. And yeah, makes sense. He's just in year 1. Erzy said they could sell those bodies for cash, which reminded her of more ideas to pitch. She suggested sending a letter to the local lord to sell all that and make some dough. Thinking those creatures must have been a pain before, Simon figured he'd score an extra reward. This is super cool, but something's making Fear super antsy. How much longer till they hit the ruins, cause his hiding spot's super cramped. Ursula's the first to find our dude, and she's stoked he's okay. She spilled she was worried cause she heard he took on a tough gig. Simon said he got lucky. The girl's voice caught Urzi's attention, and she's already feeling jelly. While our dude's saying bye to his friend, Urzi popped up out of nowhere, wanting to know who that girl was who showed up. Simon said she's just a classmate, but that's not enough for Urzi, who's still totally annoyed. Said she won't mess with her, but isn't thrilled she exists. Anyway, our dude's relieved Urzi will listen to him. Now she needs to head back to storage, cause lots of folks pass by there. Thinking that's a hassle, Urzi just switched her look to a regular girl. Now she looks way more like the academy students. That way, she's way more helpful, and if he needs company, the protagonist just has to summon her. Simon said there are tons of surveillance spells there, but Urzi assured him not to stress. Besides changing her look, she's got stealth moves to dodge those spells. Her spiders are pros at surprise attacks. While they chat, Fear's gotta share space with all the spiders. Finally, Simon realized Urzi was a killer addition to the squad, and if he didn't like her look, Urzi can switch it up again, taking on Ursula's appearance. Our dude was blown away by her disguise skills, and to shock him even more, Urzi nailed the girl's vibe and how she talked to the protagonist. After getting a hug from her, Simon said that's enough. He got that Urzi's skills are top-notch. But Urzi kept going, saying she needs to check the protagonist's body personally, saying they could have a blast that way. Until Fear, super annoyed, yelled for them to hit the ruins fast, cause it was cramped inside. When they reached the ruins, Fear finally chilled out. In no time, the spiders and skeletons became buddies. Fear said there are 2 ways to boost the army, by upping the spider count, or our dude learns to revive the dead. Curious about the first option, Simon asked how new spiders come about, and if they need to be caught. Urzi said, as their queen, she just needs to lay more eggs. A kinda awkward fact for the dude. Urzi said if he's curious, she can show how it works, but our dude decided to skip that scene, saying he really didn't want to see that, but he had to be super clear. Fear already knew Urzabet was going to be a bit too much for a kid his age. Anyway, the spiders get added in this super cool way, so our hero's got to focus on another problem. Then he remembered bumping into that mysterious priest in the forest. This got him thinking, and he had a question for Urzi. He wanted to know if she could turn into a priest. This idea made Urzi a bit nervous, so our hero explained something went down in that forest, from when he almost got attacked and had to run to keep the story going. Urzi finally got why he asked for something so specific. Truth is, she can do it, but she needs to stay away from her spiders, or a real priest might spot her. Sacred power users can sniff out undead. Even if she looks like a priest, she'd get busted fast, but Simon said not to sweat it. The priest thereafter has a core inside him. Shocked by this, she realized the enemies mean business. Fear also said the priest could use darkness like a pro. If he's got a core, he might not sense undead. Urzi will keep an eye on the forest and nail her priest impression. If she finds anything, she'll spill the tea to our hero ASAP. Urzi promised to handle it, boosting our hero's confidence. Back in class, he noticed his classmates are all smiles, probably cause of the missions. He soon bumped into Malin, who was also heading in. Simon noticed something different about her. Malin's gonna sit next to him and said the boy's got no shame. Then she thought maybe he's just clueless, leaving Simon even more puzzled. Skipping the intros, she handed him a small package she had. Since they're in the same squad, she did it out of kindness, telling Simon not to get any funny ideas. But our boy's clueless why he got a cake. And it's not even his birthday. Malin said it's cake day, and on this day, girls give cakes to boys. Once he got the memo, Simon thanked her for the thought. Malin said she did it out of pity. If not for her, Simon and Dick would get Nada. But right after she said that, some folks came by to drop off cakes for him, making our boy super happy. Malin didn't expect him to be such a hit. Soon after, Ursula came over with a massive package. That cake's a thank you gesture, hoping they can be buds for a long time. Simon was genuinely blown away by all this. Even Malin was curious about the cake, which looked epic, asking if it was homemade. But Ursula said she bought it from a store. She just added some decorations on top. Our hero stood up, pulling something from his pocket. Taking out a handkerchief, he wiped some frosting off the girl's face. That sudden move made Ursula super nervous, and without thinking, she ended up shoving the cake at him. Then she bolted out of the room, almost running over Dick. Simon has no clue what he did wrong. Anyway, he figures Ursula will be back soon, and Dick asked if there are still seats open next to them. Now our hero gets why everyone's so hyped, partly cause of Cake Day. Malin said they also got a new monument. Pointing in a direction, we see Hector got a bunch of gifts. Simon thinks the jealous ones aren't loving it, but for Malin and Dick, it's like karma. Then Malin asked Simon if he knew it was Cake Day. Even being a country boy, Malin said he should keep up with the customs so he doesn't miss out. Anything can be an excuse to leave him behind. If there's a day for girls to give gifts, Simon figured there must be a day for the opposite, and Malin confirmed it. It's accessory day. Simon thought it's kinda unfair, but his friend said he doesn't need to give real bling. It can be a toy, but still, if he wanted, he could give real jewelry to Malin, who wouldn't mind at all. In fact, she said she's really looking forward to that day. Teacher Jane's already got the 411 that all the students made it back safe and sound, and she's super stoked to be the class supervisor. Time for the first big announcement. This week, the epic battle evaluation kicks off. The students are low-key freaking out, because this evaluation's gonna last the whole first semester. Here's the deal. Students will face off against each other, with all 14 first-year classes going head-to-head. Winners climb the pyramid, losers slide down, rankings get updated weekly, and everything rides on wins and losses. The higher you go, the more points you can lose. The goal? Keep climbing, because if you're stuck at the bottom by semester's end, you'll get a not-so-friendly invite to leave the academy. 10% get the boot now, and another 10% next semester, so students gotta focus on survival. That's the scoop from Professor Jane, since only her class has tackled the battle sim and monster showdown. Jane's got mad confidence that her class is the cream of the crop among the freshmen, and as vice principal, she's betting her students won't make her look bad this semester. With a burst of energy, Dick leaped from his chair, promising not to let her down. He's trying to hype up his classmates, leaving Malin face-palming in embarrassment. With a big sigh, Professor Jane turned to Dick, letting him know he's the one who keeps her up at night. With everyone gathered, Jane asked if they could spot the difference between fighting a monster and another student. An extra raised her hand, saying the biggest difference is the enemy's strategy. Students think more complexly. Jane agreed, but wanted to hear more opinions. Hector chimed in, pointing out that unlike monsters, They'll have limits on the magic they can use. And Jane asked for more deets. Against people, spells that take ages or are easy to dodge have major drawbacks. After eyeing the protagonist, he mentioned that summons are kinda useless in these battles. Taking down a summoner is a breeze cause their strategy's obvious. Unlike monsters, you can target the summoned creature right away. And yeah, as the envious one just said, some strategies are more of a headache. Still, there are ways to make these techniques deadly. Professor Jane gave an example with Dick's favorite enchantment. Buffing items can be clutch against close-range fighters, but if he faces someone into hematology, who attacks from afar, he's in for a rough time. It's up to the students to figure out their strengths and weaknesses so they can level up. While training, they should rock special protective gear. If they've got questions, they can hit up the monitors. It's go time. Malin's chatting with her squad about how to fight smarter. The other extras are brainstorming too. Our protagonist's flying solo. As Hector mentioned, using summons in this kind of fight might not be the move. Simon's brainstorming a workaround. Using the battalion would be a cheat code, but he can't do that in class, so he's stuck with summoning just 3 skeletons. The more he thinks, the more lost he feels, and someone noticed he's struggling. It's the monitor, swooping in to help him strategize, since she's been at the academy for 2 years. Simon admitted he's stuck on how to fight, cause his skills are all about summons. The monitor suggested trying it out instead of overthinking. Simon seemed confused, so the monitor handed him a protective vest. She said she'd be his opponent for the training. Since he's already got barrier skills, the monitor told him not to sweat it, cause she'll only use first-level spells. Once ready, Simon gave the thumbs up. She flashed a smile, conjuring magic circles in the air. The protagonist's skeletons charged into battle, ready to throw down. Simon quickly noticed the monitor summoned some shadowy arrows. It's a basic freshman move, perfect for long-range attacks. Simon realized she's sticking to beginner techniques. He ordered his skeletons to advance and shield themselves. But the summons got wrecked pretty fast. The monitor saw Simon's got mad skills controlling those skeletons. Even as a first year, she wrapped up her speech, powered up her fist, and smashed the last skeleton, all while giving props to the protagonist's strategy. After getting wrecked, Simon just stood there, staring at the bone bits floating around. But the fight wasn't over, and the monitor was all, "Focus up, dude." It was her turn to strike. Simon felt totally wiped out, and even his basic moves showed the monitor was super skilled. Now that she dusted the skeletons, she could take down the summoner too. Simon's eyes lit up with determination. His foot was charged with darkness, ready to strike back. The monitor was caught off guard by this move. A massive impact shook the place, leaving everyone else totally shocked. Simon was mega confused. Sure, he aimed right, but felt nothing. A bit away, the monitor apologized. She had to pull a complex move to dodge and suggested calling it quits. Truth is, without her spiritualization trick, she might have been toast. Now she could drop some wisdom, saying talents like Simon find solutions when pushed hard. He started with summons, but switched to combat magic when cornered, and he was gearing up for it. Even before the monitor closed in, Simon did it on instinct. Then she told him to get hyped and not jump to conclusions before testing himself in battle. Wishing him luck, she said goodbye. Our hero is now replaying Hector's words and the monitor's advice, realizing using summons in fights is going to be tough, until someone tossed a vest his way. It was Hector, the jealous one, throwing down a challenge. Others who ended up dueling were Malin and Dick with Malin claiming she went easy on him. While chatting, Malin heard weird noises. It's our hero's battle, just wrapped up with the monitor. Seeing his reaction, Malin got curious, unsure if he won. From his body language, she guessed he lost, since beating a monitor isn't easy. Then she spotted Hector, the jealous one, coming over. This made her march over to them, even as Dick called her. Right then, Hector was challenging our hero. Simon was deep in thought after the invite, but he tossed the vest back, telling the jealous one to fight someone else, since he's got no time for side characters. These words left Hector super salty. Finally, Malin showed up to back our hero. She even said Hector's acting like a kid, and if he keeps being a jerk, they'll need to call his babysitter. But she didn't expect Hector to be a pro at insults, saying Malin's just a puppet for CERN, which hit hard. Her friends saw it stung. Even Hector's crew knew he crossed a line. Taking it to heart, Malin summoned her black flames, ready to settle it with some real action, which made our hero panic. Simon yelled for her to chill. At that moment, the chaos caught another monitor's eye, but it was already under control. Hector apologized for the disruption. Dick was super annoyed, knowing Hector always acts nice in front of authority. And the monitor scolded Malin for almost doing something Professor Jane hates. After being told to get back to practice, Malin was still fuming. Ursula went to comfort her, which seemed to help. But Simon knew it was serious, until Malin said he could let go of her hand now. Everything's cool. Simon apologized, not realizing he was holding it, but Malin said it was reckless, because he grabbed black flames with bare hands, getting a bit burned. Malin told the others she'd take this fool to the nurse. Once there, Malin helped bandage his hand, but she really wanted to know why he did it. Simon said it was obvious. If she attacked, she'd get in trouble since Hector wasn't wearing proper gear. Simon didn't fully get the insult, but he knew it shouldn't have been said. Before she could explain, Simon thanked her for the bandage. and for standing up for him against Hector. In other words, she almost threw hands because of the main dude, and he literally burned his own hand to stop her. So there even now. Our main guy's charm left Malin totally shook. This overload of niceness has her all kinds of confused, poor girl. Doesn't even know what she's feeling, which is why she's beefing with our dude now. Then she slapped her hand on the guy's shoulder, saying she'd only say it once, so he better listen up. Staring into his eyes, Malin thanked him. Then she bolted out of the infirmary, leaving behind one seriously puzzled dude. Even Fear thought it was super weird. Hearing kids talk like that leaves him all kinds of freaked out. For real, Simon is Richard's kid. Later, Simon and Ursula are chilling, stressing about the next class, spiritology. Apparently, it's a mega tough subject, and they're sweating it. The teacher only teaches when he vibes with the spirits, and now, these kids are on the reserve squad. To join the class, they gotta vibe with the spirits too, and some just can't do it. The teacher's response is kinda blunt. The students gotta feel it and try harder. The teacher's intense vibe ended up spooking some students. Malin and Dick were on the training squad and learned attack spells for the upcoming battle season. Something Simon and Ursula wish they were learning, cause the spirit class seems super intense. Professor Jane and other teachers are gathered. Professor Sillage popped in to say hey to the class again and apologized for this being the first class of the semester. He had some personal stuff going on. Hematology uses blood as a tool. Some think it's the science that spills the tea on vampires and werewolves, but really, blood vibes with darkness. Since getting blood is kinda tricky, the students will get a little gadget to help. Mixing blood with darkness can cause all sorts of magical chaos. Not using blood is a waste of potential. It can drain your energy, but it's definitely the best weapon they've got. Today they're gonna use blood bullets in a real fight, which made Ursula super nervous. It's go time for the students to start gearing up. Since she's one of the students doing the demo, Simon hyped up his friend. Even though she's full of nerves, she's trying to stay focused. A target was set up in front of the students. Blood bullets were fired. The impact was wild, causing major destruction to the target. That trick the teacher showed makes the blood shrink when it hits darkness. It can also be super handy for making a magic circle. After the rundown, it was time for the students to try it out. They gotta get a little ID card needed to join these classes. Ursula's all set and ready. Unlike everyone else, the girl's a vampire. The old teacher told her to let it rip. Following the old dude's orders, Ursula fired her shot. Her tiny blood bullet caused a massive explosion. Her blood type is seriously destructive. 4 targets got wrecked with that hit, and the extras started feeling jelly of her power. This blood type has the biggest attack power out there. Only vampires have it. The old teacher said he's gonna keep an eye on this girl cause she's super talented. Words that made Ursula super happy. She went back to her friends all hyped up. It was the main dude's turn to take the test too. Simon said he's ready to fire shots. Pointing his finger at the target, our guy started focusing. He made a tiny magic circle in his hand, firing his shot quietly. At first, nothing happened at all. The extras started wondering if the bullet vanished until someone told them to look ahead. The main dude's shot showed up in the center of the target, booming after a few seconds. According to the monitor, that's a blood type they've never seen before, totally new to them. The destructive power is also huge, spreading all over the place. They'll chat about this in the next class, cause the other students need to be tested now. Since he doesn't have a set type, our guy didn't get his ID, but the monitor said she'll hook him up with one next class. Ursula was stoked that he has a new type, but our guy's not so sure about it. Dick said his skill is dope, telling the main dude not to box himself into the norm. Plus, they're all different, which ends up being a win for the squad. The teacher gives only a basic guide. He relies on his monitors. The more blood types in a class, the more monitors they need. Simon's got this brand new vibe, and he's clueless about what's next for him. The old teacher's glued to the screen, watching the main dude's demo like it's the latest viral vid. He figures out the kid's got a knack for multiplication. When blood meets darkness, it's like a snack for the shadows, making them grow bigger and badder. The energy vanished cause the blood got gobbled up, but bam, it hits the target, and the energy's back with a bang. The old prof's all intrigued. He knows vampires dig blood too, and for our guy, it powers up the shadows. That's some next level stuff to study. Now he gets why the other teachers are all over this kid. Earlier, Bahul swung by to chat with the old prof. He's got a pitch for him. There's a vampire girl in his class aiming to master curses. She's got skills, but she's a whiz at hematology. The old prof's into it. Bahul's gonna steer her towards hematology, which is a win for the old prof. Hearing this, the old prof just nods. Then he's like, Bahul's been cocky since his school days, and he better watch it around him. Bahul's all. Sorry if he came off rude. Truth is, he's got one ask for the old prof. He doesn't want him to snag the main dude as his student. Thinking it over, the old prof knows Bahul's all about himself, wanting that genius for his own squad. While he's pondering, a secretary swings by with coffee. He thanks her and tells her to gear up to jot down his latest research. It's on a new blood type. She gets he's eyeing Simon Valentia. Knowing the kid's got mad potential, he's not backing down, and he's got a message for his crew. They're diving into the battle to snag this genius ASAP. In Curse's class, Bahul gets it's tough for students to brawl, so he's dropping some hacks. He's teaching how to quickly shut down the opponent. For this, he's splitting the class into 2 squads. For those already rocking dark magic, he's got a quick curse up his sleeve. For the curse newbies, he's teaching a paralysis spell. Bahil's fine-tuned these moves, and you won't find them anywhere else. The first spell's legs down, which tires out the opponent, cramping their style. The paralysis spell's not as strong as the OG, but it's quick, perfect for a fight. Now the students gotta pick their path. Bahil's eyeing the main dude, thinking he needs a style upgrade. Plus, curses are the best way for him to unleash his full potential. Using invocations in a fight's a rookie move, and he might get in hot water in this showdown, so the prof's rooting for him to go with curses. And he's waiting for our main guy, but he's shook when Simon picks legs down. Once again, Simon's all about using a curse as backup. A monitor tells Bahil his face went all weird again. In no time, he's back to normal, having lost his cool. He takes a deep breath and thanks his monitor for the heads up. Bahil says the monitors will handle the paralysis, cause he wants to teach legs down himself, which surprises the girl. Since the prof switched it up last minute, even the monitors were ready to teach the paralysis spell. But Bahil's not sweating it. He's the boss here. All that matters to Bahil is flipping the main dude's choice. The monitors got the memo about the class switch up. Some are bummed cause they weren't ready for it, but they know changing the prof's mind is a long shot, which makes that glasses-wearing monitor even more curious. All this drama's cause of one student, our main guy. After a big sigh, the monitor knows her life's about to get wild. Bahil's already gathered with his crew. Using a curse as backup's kinda cool. Curses are clutch for buying time in a fight. Some extras are buzzing with questions about spells that take forever to cast. Bahil cuts to the chase and says invocations are the pits. After class, our dude hits the square, plops on a bench, totally wiped out. He asked Fear if specializing in invocations is a must. And the undead, knowing why our boy's bummed, said, there's no rule about it. Simon can specialize in anything and still be the commander of the battalion. Even so, this whole thing's got Simon deep in thought. Everyone says invocations are weak. Even Professor Aaron, who's in charge of that class, says so. Fear wants to know if the boy's gonna ditch the invocations class. And it seems Simon's really thinking about it. Though he's unsure, he said he won't just bail like that. Fear noticed the boy's got other worries on his mind. What Simon really wants is to win those battles using just summoning techniques. For real, everyone says summons need time and backup, that they're weak, and Simon's tired of hearing it. He can't stand hearing trash talk about something he loves so much. Fear knows the boy's all about efficiency, which is why he's having these inner battles over the comments. Even so, Fear believes the commander has already made up his mind. Simon decided to follow his own heart, and he's already plotting what's next. Victory will be his, using the power of his summons. Pulling this off will be epic. Fear loved seeing this hype. The boy needs to blaze trails others wouldn't dare, which is a sick quality. He's the commander chosen by the battalion and shouldn't be boxed in by others' opinions. Simon decided that in the battle evaluation, he'll use only his summons. Elsewhere, Bahil's losing it, yelling like crazy. He can't wrap his head around why the protagonist's wasting his talent on summons. The office monitor also asked if the professor had chilled out yet, but it seems this poor narcissist is still super salty. The poor guy can't get it. The protagonist should have seen the obvious by now. Summonings for old-timers. No matter, he could be the GOAT, but he chose something totally lame, wasting a legendary talent. Bahil says this with authority, being tight with Aaron, the summoning professor, who's now treated like a nobody. This fuels Bahil's rage big time. If there's one thing he can't stand, it's seeing talented people make lame choices. He doesn't want this to happen again. It's time to give the protagonist a reality check. The monitor suggested he go straight up honest. Bahil agreed this could be super helpful, because what he wants most now is to have the protagonist as his personal student, to make him his, no matter what it takes. Bahil's ready to go all in to make this happen, to make the protagonist's talent shine to the max. It's time to create the next Nefties. Oh man, our protagonist might need a restraining order. This professor's got the same vibe as the great Hisoka. To make this happen, Bahil's betting everything he's got, and one day they'll ask the protagonist how he reached the top, and he'll tell these poor souls it was all thanks to the great Professor Bahil. Just thinking about this gives Bahil goosebumps, which is kinda worrying for our protagonist. I'm starting to get concerned for him. Caught up in his daydreams, Bahil grabbed his assistant's arm, saying he's the kind of guy who needs to have everything he wants, just like he owns. The girl was ticked off and stomped on his foot, calling it harassment. Bahil said his successor needs to be more chill, and the girl said this place belongs to the protagonist, but Bahil said our boy's got the potential to outshine him, to be the greatest ever. What he feels now is the real urge to take a genius to the top of development. Even so, for that sensible girl, this desire of Professor Bahil is way out of line. Ignoring her opinion, the professor, who'll soon need a restraining order, said he had a genius idea. He already knows Simon's stoked about his summoning skills, which makes sense cause he's crushing it. So what he needs to change his mind is a crushing defeat. That way he'll rethink his choices. Hearing all this, the sensible monitor said this was the most ridiculous idea Bahil could have had. Now he's plotting this defeat so he can swoop in on a morally crushed protagonist. Back to our boy. No summoning classes this week, cause Professor Aaron had to travel. Which leaves Simon worried, cause the boy wanted to learn new tricks before the battles. Their chat got cut short. Info about the battles and how they'll be scored just dropped on the notice board. Simon and Dick zoomed over to scoop up the deets. Our main dude's gonna face off with a kid from Class G. Dick didn't know that last name, and he's also up against someone from Class G. He's on a mission to dig up some intel, which is smart, cause Simon's curious about who he's up against and what moves they've got. Dick's a bit worried about Simon's hype, asking if he's planning to train after class. It's kinda obvious from his vibe, but it's not super necessary. Simon's battle style is legendary for newbies, but he's saying he won't use those moves. He spills to Dick that he's sticking to summons, which got Dick all concerned. With a cheeky grin, Dick points 2 fingers at Simon, telling him to pick one. Then, pointing at Simon, Dick warns him to use combat magic in battles, but he nails Malin's voice while doing it. When he asks Simon what he thinks of the impression, Malin pops up behind him and bonks him on the head with a book. That night, Simon went for a stroll. Dick had tipped him off about a cool shop, perfect for necromancers. Outside, there are a bunch of skeletons just chilling. The shopkeeper greets Simon, asking if he's hunting for anything special. Simon's on the lookout for archers. The shopkeeper's surprised. A freshman already into this kind of summon? Bold move. It's a big deal. There are other skeleton battle classes too. Grabbing some parts, the shopkeeper's curious why Simon's into archers. Simon says he learned the hard way that giving a bow to a skeleton doesn't mean it knows how to shoot. The shopkeeper shows him the starter model, perfect for newbies. The pieces are super smooth, and the magic circle on them is top-notch. Simon instantly knows it's pricey. The shopkeeper says each box is 30 gold coins. Fear tells Simon to snag them ASAP. If a piece breaks, it can join the squad and regenerate. Taking the advice, Simon buys 3 sets but wants to keep shopping. Now that he's got his loot, Fear tells him to use it wisely. Roaming the city, Simon spots something odd. Fear catches on quick and asks if Simon found a buddy. But it's not a friend, it's Professor Bayhill, that oddball. Elsewhere, a tattooed dude's lounging on a bed. Bayhill says the operation was a win. He's curious how Heron's feeling now. The red-haired guy clenches his fists, says he feels this wild power surging through him. Bahill's stoked to hear that. Now this redhead can head back to the academy, but no one can see the tattoo. It'll vanish when the battles kick off, so he's gotta be careful. It won't show up in the doping test either. This curse lasts 2 months, and the redhead wonders why he's getting this help. Bahill says all he needs to do is follow orders. Totally crush the protagonist in the battles. Bahill tells the redhead not to sweat it. His power now is way beyond any student's. After clenching his fist, the redhead feels his darkness even more. The power's insane. He even wrecked part of the wall, just using his darkness, thanking the professor for the hookup. He even asks if Bahill wants the protagonist gone for good. Bahill's not having it, tells him to just stick to the plan, and if the protagonist bites the dust, the redhead and his whole fam will meet a super painful end. Bahill will make sure they keep suffering even after they're gone. This threat freaks the guy out. He even, has a little accident from the fear. Bahill thinks extras aren't made like they used to be, the better made ones, and those not riding the solo leveling wave are lucky. Using this method isn't his first choice, but Bahill's got bigger fish to fry. He's betting that if Simon finds out later, he'll be super thankful. Back at the dorm, Dick sees Simon made it back in one piece. Simon tells him he almost got busted by the guards. This just makes Dick stress out more, and Simon says he's gotta learn to put together that new skeleton, showing off the archers he bought from the vanilla brand. According to the guide, step 1 is marking the magic circle, but this is a trick the boy hasn't mastered yet. Eager to learn, Simon caught the eye of some other extras. After skimming the instructions, Simon's all pumped to move forward. It's all about circulation and transformation, you know? Darkness has a knack for remembering its flow, and our dude's trying to make it happen. Hand on the skeleton, he's waiting for the magic to kick in. Boom. The circle's finally complete. Dick's blown away because the main guy nailed something tough in no time. That's seriously impressive, right? Reading the guide, Dick said the first step could take 2 days, but our guy knows he ain't got that kind of time, so he's diving into the assembly with mad dedication. After a few hours, Dick crashed, his breaker tripped, bummer, but the main dude managed to whip up the first creature, a skeletal satyr archer. And it's moving super smooth, a sign he nailed the assembly, which gets our guy even more hyped. In no time, he hands a bow to the creature. Outside, he tells his summon to hit the nearest tree. The skeleton's aiming with killer precision. Simon gives the go-ahead for the arrow to fly. The arrow zooms through the air, smacking into the solid wood. Simon's stoked with how it all went down. But all day, our dude's running on empty, sleep deprivation's hitting hard. Malin noticed he's turning into a zombie. Simon admits he hasn't slept. Then Dick shows up, all anxious, asking if the archer's battle ready. He says to ditch the plan ASAP, leaving Simon totally shook. The opponent's from a famous fam, and their move's the Black Hand. Malin's never heard of it, thinks it's a secret family trick, which could be a big problem. From what she knows, it can block arrows easy, so the archer's kinda useless. While using the Black Hand, Dick found out the extras got other tricks, cause he's super skilled. Ursula says our guys got one shot, using curses in the battle. Malin's on board too. A solid exhaustion spell's all it takes. Easy win, but our main dude's already made up his mind. And now, faced with the facts, he's feeling super unsure. Until, bam, another genius idea hits him. His friends are worried, He's been in this zone for days. Our dude's buried in his notes, tuning out the world. He's obsessively driven, more than ever before. With only days till the competition, he's caught up in this wild obsession. His notes are endless, like he's about to cure cancer or something. Malin steps in, saying he's turning into one of his own summons. These battles are huge, but he needs to chill. Simon thanks her, but says they can chat later. Super worried, Malin grabs his face, hands him an energy pill, says to swallow, not chew. Surviving's key for the fight. Even with extra energy, Malin warns him not to go overboard. Feeling the power surge, Simon asks for 2 more magic pills, which makes Malin fume. Dick suggests he hit up Professor Aaron. They know he's onto something new, and help would be clutch. Simon thinks Aaron's still out of town. But Dick found out the prof's back that afternoon. Aaron's strolling through the halls, and his eyes spot something different. Simon's chilling in the corridor, waiting for someone. All hyped, he says he's got questions, and the prof jokes he's off the clock, which leaves Simon totally stunned, but it's just a prank. Simon gets invited into the prof's office, packed with books and bones. His question's simple. He wants to win battles with just summons. Aaron's surprised, sipping his coffee, asks why he's asking such a goofy question. He knows the kid's talented, no need to prove it, but he's making it hard on himself. There's an easy win. This makes Simon rethink his approach. Since he wants to be a summon pro, he wants to win using those skills. Aaron thinks hard about it, and silence fills the room. Simon thinks he might have said something cocky again. Alright, buckle up, cause this is about to get wild. So, the teacher's all hyped and asks the kid if he wants a solution or just a nudge with what he's got. And boom, that's when our dude realizes he's actually gonna get some real help. Fast forward to battle day, the arena's jam-packed, which is nuts cause students get booted from here on the daily. Our hero's pals are stressing cause he didn't crash at the dorm last night. They gotta start in the middle of the pyramid, and losing right off the bat would be a total disaster, sending them to the elimination zone. Ursula's freaking out, thinking she might not make it through this madness, but Malin's like, chill, you're doing awesome. Truth bomb, all those peeps make Ursula super insecure, and she's clueless why there's such a crowd. Malin spots some Black Alliance folks, scoping out the new talents, but she's keeping it hush-hush to avoid freaking her friend out even more. Time for our hero's showdown, and the red-haired extra's already there, tapping his foot. Our dude's running late, and the redhead's getting all salty about it. He thinks special admission kids are spoiled, so he's ready to show who's boss. Since he can't KO the hero, he's planning to leave him, limping as payback. But the ref's like, yo, we're running late. If the hero doesn't show in 5, he's toast. Out of nowhere, Dick rolls in, carrying our hero, who looks like he's seen better days. Simon, all out of breath, says sorry for the holdup. They slap protection bracelets on both, but the redhead notices our hero's looking weak. Battle kicks off, and bam, the Black Hand and Simon's skeletons are in the mix. The redhead knows the hero's magic game is strong, even with summons. To stay safe, he keeps his distance. But he's puzzled cause the hero's backing up more and more. It's a weird move. Simon's inching closer to the wall. Maybe he's cooking up something sneaky. The redhead shrugs off the trap idea and charges in, but the shielded skeletons hold their ground. Still, the redhead's darkness packs a punch. Simon realizes he's been hit with a nasty curse, and in a flash, the redhead's black hand smashes the skeleton. Malin's like, Dick's intel was off, this dude's a beast. Means only one thing, he's been hiding his true power, showing he's way stronger than the buzz. Bahel's glued to the action. And surprise, Professor Aran's there too, who's known for ghosting these battles. Bahel thinks Aran's avoiding the heartbreak of seeing summons users get wrecked, hence no disciples, no guilt. But now, he's about to witness the prodigy he wants to see get totally owned. The Black Hand's on fire. The hero's summons are getting wrecked. Simon's backed into a corner. The redhead's ready to drop his second curse, could be game over. Yet, Professor Aaron's just chilling, watching it all. Then he turns his back on the arena, like he's out of there. Bahel's like, why's he bailing? Aaron's all, this fight's done. He says he just wanted to see the outcome as a backup, but now he doesn't need to watch the obvious. Bahel's scratching his head, totally baffled, and the redhead's gearing up for another move. His magic circle's complete, cursing the hero again. Feeling all smug, the redhead thinks he's clinched it. The unknown dude beat the special admission kid, that's what the redhead's thinking. But the darkness on the hero vanishes. Simon gets back up, leaving the extra stunned. The redhead's like, just quit already. But quitting's not in the hero's playbook. Finally, phase 1 of his plan's done. Time to strike. These words make the redhead sweat a bit. He looks around, sees nothing's changed, which only amps up his nerves. And someone reminds Professor Bahil about the combat rules. Article 3, Paragraph 4. Students leaving the arena get disqualified, but nothing says you can't bring something in. A massive creature busts through the walls, crashing the battle party. Facing that massive beast, the extra was totally freaking out. This was supposed to be a freshman showdown. But that summon? Way too big for that. An earth golem. Not many get to see one of these IRL. Malin noticed the battle's taking a wild turn. Even if it's not undead, it's still a summon. It's made of earth, mud, and sand. But depending on the materials, the creature type changes too. It's a super tough spell, so freshmen can't pull it off, but not our main dude, who's got mad skills. Dick was also shook. Now he gets what went down outside the arena. Simon was burying the creature's core outside. That's why Simon started the match on defense. He needed to stall. Our guy was getting closer to the core buried underground. Malin was super impressed with this bold move. Now, the red-haired extra's up against something he can't beat. He already knew life's not fair. That's why he came to this academy. The extra wants to shake things up. He wanted to bring despair to those who've always had it easy. But facing a golem that big, not in his plans. Still, the red-haired dude's feeling a ton of rage. Using his cursed black hand, he tried to hit that massive summon, but the attack? Totally useless. Now it's the protagonist's turn to hit back, landing a totally crushing blow, nailing that poor extra. The poor dude's lucky if he shows up in another chapter. Simon was finally crowned the battle champ. The audience was also shook. Simon won just using his summoning smarts. Our hero's friends are hyped, calling him a legit genius. Slowly, everyone's getting why he's the special admission student. While being carried out, someone called for the red-haired dude. Simon said he doesn't get why this extra's got beef with him. But one thing's for sure, he can't beat the protagonist with borrowed power. Finally, the extra was booted from the arena. Now, the protagonist can dream bigger. It's time for him and his summon to bounce too. As a butterfly lands on the golem, the protagonist's friends are hyped about his win. Ursula's super into that creature, and she asked if she could climb on its head, but someone said to ask later. Malin was the one who said that. Keeping the summon going drains darkness, and the protagonist looks wiped. Right in front of them, the summon turned back into dust, leaving just its golden core. Dick asked if that's not super pricey, and wants to know how the protagonist scored it. Back at the shop where he got the skeletons, Simon said he's got 610 gold coins left, and that summon costs 700 coins. The seller cut him a deal for 650 coins, letting our guy pay 50 coins later, blowing all his mission cash. Thinking about it, he asked Dick when they could do more gigs like this. Holding the golem's core, Simon realized he learned the hard way this time. Now he gets what's key for all necromancers. Cash is a big part of this journey. In a bit, Dick's battle's gonna kick off too. He's up against a girl, and from what he found out, she uses enchantments. She uses weapons to boost her strategies, controlling them with thin threads of darkness. Dick realized getting close to her won't be a walk in the park. Using a wild strategy, Dick started spilling all kinds of info about the girl, where her fam lives, and what that place is like. Seems he knows everything about her, even her squad there, and the subjects she's into. Dick even knows the girl's body measurements, and that part made her blush. All of this is part of his plan to throw her off. That's why he's into learning so much about others. After hitting the ground with his weapon, Dick revealed he did a deep dive on that girl, but she's already fuming, chucking her weapons at him. On the way, all those swords got tangled up. Dick used the metal's magnetic properties to do this. With the girl only using weapons and no armor, this is a win for him. Dick knows exactly what he needs to do to snag victory. After focusing a bit, he caused a big boom in the middle of the arena, leaving his opponent totally dazed. In all that dust, he managed to hit her forehead with a tiny coin. And just like that, using a wild strategy, Dick snagged the win, feeling epic for pulling it off. But his friends in the stands were totally cringing at his antics. They can't even figure out why, since they're all buds. Malin's up next to bring the heat. She's about to hit the arena. On her way, she bumped into Dick, who's still buzzing from his win. But poor dude got ghosted cause his victory dance was mega cringe. Catching up with the crew, Dick asked what went wrong, and Ursula couldn't spill the beans. Switching gears, she said she had a question. Malin's opponent is a close combat pro. And eyeing Malin, the girl realized she didn't expect such a tough cookie right off the bat. But hey, it'll be fun to stomp on someone important's ego, since this girl's just a regular Joe. Whipping up some magic in one hand, Malin said this girl is super clueless. Without breaking a sweat, Malin launched fire at her opponent. That wild move was a total gamble. Simon was shook by her speed. Malin was lightning fast cause those flames are a breeze to summon. Their color's a bit off, but still pretty sick, even more powerful and a cinch to control. But the girl from the regular crowd dodged it, realizing an Ivory Tower member is no joke. Still, she thinks she's got the upper hand in this brawl. She decided to use her speed to throw Malin off her game, cause all she needs is one tiny opening, until the flames turned even darker, and Malin said the girl is super naive. But the regular girl kept zipping around, saying spells are pointless if they can't hit. Time to flip the script on this fight. Malin realized this speed was gonna be a major headache, until the regular girl popped up right behind her. The savage attack nearly grazed Malin's face. Looks like the regular girl underestimated her, thinking she couldn't handle magical combat. As she got too close for comfort, the poor extra got roasted. Malin was crowned the champ. Dick was blown away by her win. Their friend is seriously skilled. Simon would hate to go up against Malin. It'd be a nightmare. While the boys were chatting, they heard a weird noise. It's Ursula, shaking like a leaf. All her friends crushed it, and now she's feeling the heat. Cause she feels the pressure to crush it too. Seeing her freak out, the boys tried to chill her out, saying she doesn't need to stress. Even the old prof's in the arena, showing he believes in Ursula's skills. But knowing this just made her more jittery. Time for her to hit the arena and show what she's got. Her opponent's a basic extra, but his hair game is on point. Dick said this guy's not a standout, but he's got solid skills and is pretty adaptable. Malin's got faith in Ursula's win, coming from a family of powerhouses. As long as she keeps her cool, she's golden. Once in the arena, her opponent greeted her. The boy was puzzled, cause rumors say her family's all about the brawls. When the battle kicked off, the boy summoned some skeletons, and Ursula started prepping her blood magic. Malin knows her friend's damage is off the charts. One hit is all she needs to win. Comparing their skills, there's a big gap in potential. After one shot, a massive explosion rocked the place. But the extra blocked it, cause his family's got the cash superpower. With all that top-tier gear, Ursula's blood bullets got blocked. Now it's up to her to figure out how to win. After trying some arrows, the extra realized his aim's trash. So he switched to curses. Dick saw this and started yelling to warn Ursula. Totally freaked, she tried using blood again, but her bullets got stopped by the skeleton's shields. Slowly, she started getting the hang of the fight, pulling out 3 mysterious containers from her pocket, then using the blood silk move. At the same time, the extra used a paralysis curse. Both attacks got messed up. Covered in a weird substance, the extra realized it was a paralysis poison. Even struggling to move, he could still command his skeletons. The paralysis spell hit Ursula too, and now she's moving like a sloth on a Monday morning. But no worries, she's got her eyes on the prize, and nothing's stopping her. The extra playboy's freaking out. His moves are all messed up, so he whips out some arrows, and he sends them flying right at her. The arrows hit, but Ursula's still coming at him like a freight train. Then boom, Ursula grabs the dude. Up close, she flashes her fangs, and chomps down on his neck like a vampire at a buffet. His defenses are dropping faster than a Wi-Fi signal in a basement. Totally panicked, the playboy's just wishing someone would get this wild beast off him. Finally, his defense hits rock bottom. Ursula's the champ now. But after the fight, she's all, sorry about that. And the playboy's like, nah, you did great, solid move. Turns out he's fine. Thanks to some magic barrier, his neck's all good. Without it, he'd be a vampire snack, which is kinda sketchy. But what really threw him off was Ursula saying sorry. That hit harder than any attack. His heart's totally smitten. In the stands, Simon and his crew are hyped, checking. If Ursula's cool, she's all smiles, celebrating her win. But then she's like, oops, sorry for partying in front of you. Truth is, the playboy's already toast. His heart's all in for this quirky girl. By the end of the day, the squad's celebrating their wins. Malin drops the bomb that exams are next week, time to hit the books, which freaks the protagonist out, cause he totally spaced on that. Reality check, Simon made a bet with Malin. If he doesn't outscore her, he's out of the academy. Simon realizes he's been slacking. Now he's got to cram like crazy. He cracks open the books, ready to learn months worth in hours. But soon enough, he's like, whoa, this is impossible. Nothing's clicking. Over in the girls' dorm, the secretary tells Malin a student wants to see her, which is weird cause it's super early. She didn't catch his name, but he's apparently a total hottie. Outside, Malin finds out it's the protagonist. Simon compliments her hair, saying it's on point. Malin's like, cut to the chase. And Simon's all, can I join your study squad? The crew's got Dick and Ursula too. Malin's down, but she's gotta tidy up her room first. Even on a weekend, Ursula's pumped to study with her pals. Simon sees she's a study fan, and she notices he's diving into hematology. Since she's first there, Simon's ready to fire off questions. Which is awesome for Ursula. They can swap info, cause she's into summoning. The topic's zombies, and our boy's got mad knowledge. Basic stuff like that can get messed up with climate changes. But the text says it's all about heat and humidity, so they gotta tweak the speed factor. Ursula's impressed by all the smarts. She barely hears the words, cause she's feeling some primal vibes. It's Simon's first time teaching, hoping he nailed it, but Ursula's mind's elsewhere. Soon, Malin shows up, saying she's doing them a solid cause keeping the group together's tough if someone gets booted. On the table, she spots the problem they're tackling. Malin quickly lands on the same answer as our hero. But what really shocks Malin is Ursula struggling, even though she aced her last summoning test. Poor Ursula tries to explain, saying she mixes up some stuff. Malin's all chill, calming her down, while Dick joins in. He's brought a ton of gear for his next battle test. Plus, he's got the ultimate study essential, a mountain of snacks. Now they're just chilling. Simon asks why a top-tier merchant's even at the academy. Dick's got this wild plan for a future biz, and it's not just any biz, it's a delivery service academy style. Only grads from this academy can run it, no cap. Students need stuff from the city, but they can't always bounce over there. So Dick's gonna make a list of all the must-haves and drop them right at their doorstep. Talk about VIP service. Simon thinks it's genius, but he needs the admin's thumbs up. Dick's already on it, just needs to collect those orders. While they're chatting, there's a knock on the door, and they're like, who's that? Simon goes to check it out and, surprise, he knows that voice. Neftis pops by to see our dude. It's been ages since the last hangout. Smelling the sweets, the director barges in, like a kid who can't resist candy. The squad doesn't even realize she's the director. They're just like, aw, she's cute. Dick's scratching his head, confused. They ask the kid her name, find out it's Neftis, and just roll with it. Makes sense, they think directors are all scary, but she's just chillin' like a regular girl. Dick's watching closely. He's the only one who gets what's up, and the protagonist's look seals the deal. After munching on sweets, Nephthys asks if the protagonists got some free time. Outside, Simon's all, "Sorry about my friends, but the director's cool, saying the sweets were fire. She's got some tea to spill for our boy. She knows he's already got the battalion on lock." Shocked she knows, the teacher grabs his arm, whispering they might get eavesdropped. So, they bounce to a safer spot. With a teleportation spell, Simon's whisked away. He faceplants on the ground. Ouch. In a room full of toys, Simon's like, "Where are we?" A quirky voice asks if his mom's back. Lorena, in her PJs, wasn't expecting guests, leaving our boy flustered. Annoyed, Lorena's like, "Mom's always causing chaos. Now she brings a boy to my room, no heads up." But the director's all, "Chill, it's important. That's why we're here." Lorena's like, "Mom's always like this." And the director's like, "Girl, you're sleeping too much. Not ready for exams." They start bickering about family stuff, and our protagonist's feeling cornered. Desperate, Simon's missing his squad. Finally, the drama cools down, and the director's like, "Sit, I've got news. It's about the spy our hero found in the Forbidden Forest." Simon's shook, wanting the deets. Nephthys has peeps on the case, found some clues, but that's not the main thing. Serious vibes, the director warns them. The spy knows the protagonist's identity. Nephthys asks if he remembers the Cyclops event, which was way more intense than usual. Professor Jane spilled the tea to the director, and they found out the creature was sabotaged, made stronger on purpose. The spy's goal was clear: take out the protagonist and make it look like an accident. If that's true, the spy's at the academy, not HQ. Nephthys asks if the boy wants protection. Lorena's worried. If he's scared of getting booted, the director mentions Kajan, his roomie. They could hold him for a year. Simon could head back to his city till things chill, then return next year. But he's made up his mind. Even with danger lurking, he thinks staying at the academy's worth it and wants to keep learning. Lorena's visibly upset, worried about Simon's safety. Nephthys needs to mull over his decision, but since he's Richard's kid, she expected him to be stubborn too. She's got a plan to keep him safe. She puts a necklace on the protagonist. It's a powerful artifact. With chaos around the continent, Nephthys can't focus just on him, so she tells him to wear it always. When he's in danger, this artifact's got his back, and when the necklace gives a heads up about danger, he's gotta drop everything and bolt. No second thoughts. Simon promised he'd stick to that. Nephthys also told Lorena to watch over the boy, but she's already on it. She also said she should stop crashing there and join Simon's study squad, but Lorena's not feeling it, saying it'd be super awkward to join them. The boy's crew might not vibe with it. Nephthys got all emotional and started crying like a kid, because to her, her daughter's the biggest goofball ever, totally hopeless. Since that's not changing, Nephthys was losing hope until her daughter said she'd tag along with the boy. In that moment, Lorena said she could chill in the study group for an hour, totally quiet, then bounce. Simon seems to be waiting for something, and Lorena asked if he expects her to change clothes in front of him too, making our boy apologize. Back with his crew, Simon introduced Lorena to everyone. He said he bumped into her and invited her to study. Lorena's super shy, thinking she'll mess up their vibe. She suggested they just pretend she's invisible. When study time kicked off, Simon got something. Looks like his buddy's stuck on a question. It's about curses. Simon said Malin's a pro at this stuff. As soon as she heard this, Lorena asked for help with that tricky question, which made Malin break it down for her, step by step. The girl's soaking up knowledge, showing she's got mad potential too. Simon's stoked, as two totally different friend groups are clicking. They even shared some snacks with Lorena, who was all about the cookies. After a few hours, they were chatting like old pals. Plus, despite Lorena's initial vibe, she really decided to study with them. She might seem chill, but Lorena picks up stuff super fast. She's a total brainiac. At the end of the day, they said bye to Lorena, agreeing the afternoon was super productive. Simon's walking with her. It's been a month at the academy and Lorena wants to know if he's digging it. Simon said it's the best time ever. Lorena wants to know if it's worth risking it all to be here. Our boy didn't even blink before saying yes. After dropping Lorena off, he heard her thanks. But she had something to add too, and asked him not to forget it. Simon's gotta doubt everyone and trust no one. It's key for staying safe. Our video ends here. If you liked it, leave your like. See you next time. Bye bye.